Right after Shenlang took care of Su Qianqian's engagement party, he returned to the mythical turtle count's mansion, where Mother Jean and the others had come out early to welcome Shenlang. Shenlang had been a sensation at the engagement party, a fact that had already reached their ears. Mother Jean felt that Jean Mulan marrying Shenlang was the greatest blessing for the count's mansion. Then Jean Muzong also came up to greet them, stammering, wanting to ask something. Upon hearing this, Shenlang immediately understood, asking Jean Muzong, "Do you want to ask if the other author of Boundless Romantic Affairs was mentioned at today's party? If anyone praised you, right?" Seeing Jean Muzong nod, Shenlang said, "Not at all." Jean Muzong burst into tears, shouting, "Why? I may not have contributed, but I've suffered too." However, no one cared about Jean Muzong's sadness. They were all surrounding Shenlang, lavishing him with praises and unparalleled admiration. On the way back to the courtyard, Shenlang regretfully said, "Father-in-law, it's a pity that we didn't manage to drag Zhang Chong into this today." Father Jean didn't mind. Zhang Chong is no small fry. Even I'm not confident in dealing with him. You've done well to get this far. Shenlang, you've worked hard tonight. Rest well. The matters ahead, leave them to me. Hearing this, Shenlang smiled. Father-in-law is planning to seize the opportunity of noble Lord Jin's rebellion to arm wrestle with the monarch. Huh? Then, glancing at Jean Mulan with a smile full of meaning, "Wife, let's go back to sleep together." The next noon, Wang Lian woke up, looking around in confusion. "This seems to be the secret residence my uncle gave me." He touched his aching shoulder. "Seems like I've forgotten something." Soon, Wang Lian remembered, Shenlang seems to be doomed. Thinking of this, Wang Lian laughed loudly, helping the new government to overthrow the count's mansion. "This great wealth finally comes to me." But when Shenlang pushed the door and entered, Wang Lian was stunned. "Shenlang, how are you here? How are you not dead yet?" Shenlang sneered. "Never has anyone been able to cross me and live a good life afterwards. Your slandering of my plagiarism is one thing, but to defame my wife's reputation, I originally planned to give you a most unique death, but it seems heaven had a better arrangement." Wang Lian couldn't understand what Shenlang was saying. "You're already on a dead end." But when Shenlang hinted, "Mr. Wang Lian, why is there a bite mark on your calf? Were you accidentally bitten by a mad dog last night?" Wang Lian looked at his own calf and was instantly dumbfounded, immediately getting up to find a doctor, ignoring Shenlang's mention of his shoulder being bitten. However, once he got outside, he found himself surrounded by the soldiers of the count's mansion. Wang Lian was dumbfounded again. At this moment, Shenlang asked him, "Do you really not remember what happened last night? You said you made the Lord of Lu City a cuckold." Wang Lian was stunned, but recalling, "It seems I did say those words." While Shenlang had wanted to kill Wang Lian with his own hands, on the way back, Wang Lian was bitten by a mad dog. "This might be heaven's punishment for you." The next moment, Shenlang had the soldiers bring up those two mad dogs, planning to give Wang Lian a taste again. Then, releasing the dogs, immediately screams echoed over the secret residence. At the same time, in the New River County Prefect's mansion, Zhang Ji confessed to his father, "Our plan to besiege Shenlang failed." However, Zhang Chong had already discovered Shenlang's acrostic poem, but his first reaction was not happiness, but a sense of conspiracy. He immediately sent people to confirm whether noble Lord Jin was plotting a rebellion, but he couldn't get any definite news, so he decided to hand the knife to Li Wenjin. Instead of going forward himself, Zhang Chong couldn't help but admire Shenlang's capabilities. He instructed Zhang Ji to recount the events of the previous night without omitting a word. "I defeat last night was a complete disaster. Disappointing father. Please punish me." Zhang Chong indicated, "You did nothing wrong. Your response last night was correct. It's just that your enemy is too formidable." Zhang Ji closed his eyes in agony, while Zhang Chong fully recognized Shenlang's value. Having talent is one thing. The key is to have wisdom, and wisdom alone is not enough. To also be ruthless and decisive. Such a person is truly wasted at the Count's mansion. If Shenlang were with me, I am confident that within 10 years, I could ascend to the position of Prime Minister. Upon hearing this, Zhang Ji said, "Should I then try everything to kill him?" Zhang Chong shook his head. "It's not possible. He won't give us the chance." Has he consummated his marriage with Jean Mulan? Zhang Ji responded, "No. According to our inside information, they sleep in separate beds. Go call your sister Zhang Chunhua here. Let her find a way to get close to Shenlang, to sleep with him." Zhang Ji was immediately shocked at the suggestion, urgently asking, "What about Zhu Wenhua from the Orchid Mountain Viscount's mansion?" Zhang Chong was unconcerned, since there's no engagement. If we can secure a talent like Shenlang, what does the Orchid Mountain Viscount's mansion count for? And for now, we will delay the siege on the Count's mansion. Now that noble Lord Jin, who first proposed the new policies, is suspected of rebellion, Zhang Chong believes the mythical turtle Count will seize the opportunity to petition against the new policies. Zhang Chong predicts the first memorial submitted by the mythical turtle Count will be a request for the sovereign to reprimand noble Lord Jin, which undoubtedly challenges the sovereign's authority, but the sovereign cannot refuse. Then, the mythical turtle Count will submit a second memorial, accusing Li Wenjing of colluding with noble Lord Jin, and asking the sovereign to execute him by law. The sovereign's decision is what the Zhang family needs to watch most closely. If the sovereign executes Li Wenjing, it means the new policies will be put on hold. Otherwise, if Li Wenjing survives, the new policies will continue, possibly even more aggressively. This left Zhang Ji confused. With hostilities emerging, shouldn't the sovereign be easing domestic tensions? Why intensify the pace of the new policies? If the sovereign issues an edict ordering these old nobility to dispatch troops to quell the rebellion in the southern Ouyang country, and then completely exhausts these private armies, although risky, the sovereign is not without options, right? Zhang Ji's expression became serious instantly. After a moment, Zhang Chong, holding Boundless Romantic Affairs, asked, "Have you read this book?" A delicate voice responded, "I've read it 10 times. I can recite it by heart." And she was the first beauty of New River County, Zhang Chunhua, excluding Jean Mulan from the ranking. Also Zhang Chong's daughter. Listening to his daughter reciting, Zhang Chong, somewhat annoyed, hit her lightly. "Why recite such improper poetry instead of proper ones? It's indecent." Zhang Chunhua was unconcerned. "As long as I show myself as a lady of good family outside, it's fine." Zhang Chong said no more. "Have you heard of Shenlang, the author of this book?" Zhang Chunhua nodded. "I've long been enchanted by him, through his books, in my dreams." Zhang Chong then revealed his purpose. I need you to do something. Get close to Shenlang. If possible, drawn to our side. He and Jean Mulan haven't consummated their marriage yet. Zhang Chanhua was thrilled, so I don't have to marry that useless Xu Wenhua. Tempting Shenlang, I'm willing. She was happy and ready to go immediately. Zhang Chong quickly reminded his daughter, if there's a chance, you must seize it quickly and firmly. Don't waste it. Zhang Chanhua licked her lips. Don't worry, father, you're good at politics, but when it comes to seducing men, you're not as good as me. I'm the expert. Meanwhile, at the mythical turtle count's mansion, the content of the memorial was exactly as Zhang Chong had predicted. Of course, Shenlang was also aware of the consequences. He asked his father-in-law, are you really going to submit it? This is directly opposing the sovereign. Father Jean was silent for a while, then affirmed, certainly. This foundation was established by my Jean ancestors. Why should it be taken away just like that? I may not be very capable, but I will not be cowardly. Shenlang was somewhat surprised upon hearing this, but given the current situation, he felt his father-in-law was making the right decision. Showing weakness was not an option, and Shenlang reassured his father-in-law to proceed with the submission, having a malicious countermeasure in reserve. After Su Qianqian's engagement party, mythical Turtle City was unusually quiet, everyone waiting for the sovereign's decree. Shenlang found himself in a rare state of leisure, which, without causing trouble, left him feeling quite bored. At that moment, Shenlang was informed by the steward that Zhang Chong's daughter, Zhang Chanhua, had come to visit him. Shenlang's face turned pale instantly. Seeing Jean Mulan's ambiguous smile, Shenlang hurriedly explained, I don't know any Zhang Chanhua. I'm innocent. Jean Mulan teasingly said, that's the #1 beauty of New River County. Shenlang retorted, that's all hyped up. My dear, let me tell you, all these titles of #1 beauty, #1 talent, are all hype, all fake. Jean Mulan was somewhat looking forward to Shenlang praising her, but then Shenlang said, the #1 handsome man in the world, that's real. That's definitely not hyped. Hearing Shenlang praising himself, Jean Mulan was at a loss for words. The next moment, Shenlang changed the subject. My wife's waist is the most beautiful. I've seen countless people, if not 3,000, then 5,000. So, my dear, your waist can captivate my soul. What's there to worry about? These words made Jean Mulan's face turn red instantly. Hearing Shenlang about to continue with embarrassing words, Jean Mulan quickly covered Shenlang's mouth, signaling she got the message. Taking the opportunity, Shenlang kissed the palm of Jean Mulan's hand, causing Jean Mulan's heart to flutter. She quickly changed the subject, saying, let's go meet that #1 beauty of New River County. As for Shenlang, he had long understood Zhang Chong's intention to use a beauty trap against him. Shenlang found it amusing. With Jean Mulan, a great beauty here, how could I be tempted by a title that's been hyped up? However, when Shenlang met Zhang Chanhua, he was immediately astonished. This lady isn't hyped up. She ranks by genuine merit. Her appearance is indeed impressive. Every one of her movements, every expression, is like textbook standard. Truly a lady of good family. Truly the demeanor of a talented woman. And when Zhang Chanhua saw Shenlang for the first time, she was equally astonished. I've seen many handsome men, but someone as handsome as him is really rare. Upon seeing Shenlang staring intently at Zhang Chanhua, Jean Mulan was already quite annoyed, but then Zhang Chanhua suddenly took Jean Mulan's hand, calling her sister and enthusiastically praising Jean Mulan, while belittling herself. However, Jean Mulan was not swayed. Why have you come today? And specifically to see my husband, Shenlang? Zhang Chanhua explained. Perhaps the servant misunderstood. I said I wanted to see Mr. and Mrs. Shenlang. As for my purpose, it's because I've come across something wonderful, a perfume extracted from iceberg snow lotuses. I specifically brought it for you, sister, believing it would be wasted on myself. Following this, the two equally beautiful women entered into casual conversation. Throughout, Zhang Chanhua did not speak a single word to Shenlang, nor did she glance at him, leaving Shenlang somewhat puzzled. Wasn't she supposed to use a beauty trap on me? Before long, Jean Mulan directly asked, Miss Zhang Chanhua, do you have any other matters? Clearly implying it was time for her to leave. Zhang Chanhua meticulously performed a farewell courtesy. No, that's all. I just missed my sister and came to visit. Before leaving, Zhang Chanhua suddenly said, by the way, sister, I recently wrote a poem. Could you critique it for me? Please don't laugh if it's poorly written. Jean Mulan straightforwardly admitted she didn't understand poetry, growing increasingly displeased with Zhang Chanhua. Zhang Chanhua indicated, it's okay, I just wrote it casually. Then Zhang Chanhua recited the poem, gazing northward atop the invite, deep in mist and rain. Turning back, I lament the ugly moon at the sky's edge. With you, I'm separated as if by the distance of Wu and you. Pillows of jade mark the times of our parting. At night, I wander to the spear gate, feeling melancholy, yet I circle the corridors, sleeping alone once more. Past days are but empty memories. My soul returns to the desolate bridge, my spirit to the spring. After finishing, Zhang Chanhua looked at Jean Mulan full of expectation. How do you think of it, sister? Jean Mulan, at a loss for words, politely responded, it's quite good. Zhang Chanhua thanked Jean Mulan for the compliment, and then she left. Shenlang listened to Jean Mulan wondering, why would she write such a chaotic poem? But Shenlang realized, it was an acrostic poem. The hidden message was, inviting you to meet at the covered bridge during the hour of Cho, 1 to 3 a.m. At the covered bridge, not far away, in the deep of night, a lone man and woman. Shenlang quickly stopped himself from thinking further, worrying it might not pass censorship. That vixen is indeed tempting, but if I really went, I'd become a laughingstock. How could I be easily seduced by a mere girl? He immediately went to Jean Mulan's room, sharing the acrostic poem with her. My dear, this is serious. That shameless vixen, Zhang Chanhua, is actually trying to seduce me. Unexpectedly, Shenlang noticed a piece of paper on Jean Mulan's desk. Realizing his wife had already discovered the acrostic poem, Shenlang, breaking out in a cold sweat, pretended to be upright. My dear, do you see how decent and faithful I am? Jean Mulan countered, if you hadn't thought about it, why would you write down the poem? How did you discover the hidden message? It shows you still paid her attention. You still had fanciful thoughts. Seeing Shenlang looking as if he was about to cry, Jean Mulan smiled and gently kissed his cheek. Consider yourself good. Meanwhile, back at the Zhang family mansion, a maid asked, weren't you supposed to invite young Master Shenlang to the covered bridge? Why haven't you left? Zhang Chanhua smiled slightly. He won't come. If he actually did, I would have lost respect for him. The maid was confused. Then why Why invite him? Zhang Chunhua confidently said, just to tease him a bit, to test Chen Lang's character, and to let Jean Mulan know, I'm planning to steal her man. I really hope Jean Mulan would explode with anger. I hope she's a truly upright woman. Although he didn't get to meet with Zhang Chunhua, Chen Lang encountered something much better. It turns out Big Fool woke up, making Chen Lang extremely happy. At the same time, Big Fool's physical constitution left Chen Lang secretly astonished. Having been so severely injured before, he had nearly fully recovered in less than half a month. At this moment, Chen Lang cleared his throat. Don't call me second fool anymore. You should call me young master. Okay, second fool. Chen Lang was speechless. Call me young master, not second fool. No problem, second fool. Jean Mulan couldn't help but laugh, then corrected Big Fool. From now on, call him young master Chen Lang. Understand? This time Big Fool didn't get it wrong, which made Chen Lang furious, doubting this gorilla is feigning stupidity. Then Big Fool asked Jean Mulan, where are my father and mother? Jean Mulan responded, they've gone on a long trip. You can live here from now on. Many people want to bully Chen Lang, and he needs your protection. Big Fool stood up abruptly. He didn't want to live at someone else's place, but hearing that someone wanted to bully Chen Lang, that was unacceptable. Who wants to bully second fool? They can hit me, but they cannot hit second fool. Actually, Chen Lang has never known why Big Fool has been so good to him since childhood. The reason is quite simple. From a young age, no one ever gave Big Fool candy nor wanted to play with him. Only Chen Lang was willing. For someone in loneliness and cold, a bit of sweetness is enough to be cherished for a lifetime. Moments later, in Jean Mulan's room, Jean Mulan planned to test Big Fool's bones tomorrow, suspecting he has great martial arts talent. Chen Lang also looked forward to it, suddenly feeling, wait, isn't this the talent of a protagonist? Why don't I have it? Tomorrow, I'll test myself too. Chen Lang, must have an even more incredible talent. I must be a once-in-a-century, no, once-in-a-millennium martial prodigy. Then Jean Mulan issued a hint it was time to leave. Husband, it's getting late, time to rest. Chen Lang, back in his own room, was quite bored, but suddenly he heard the sound of water, immediately making him curious. Could Jean Mulan be taking a bath? Chen Lang started to debate whether or not to peek, but 2 minutes later, he was already climbing the wall, prepared to spy. He even brought a book with him, thinking if caught, he'd claim he was just reading under the moonlight. He caught sight of Jean Mulan heading towards the bathroom, nearly causing him to faint from the shock. Just then, a loud and urgent voice called out, by the sovereign's decree, Chen Lang, receive the order. Startled, Chen Lang dropped the book, which immediately made Jean Mulan turn and look, leading to a direct eye contact with Chen Lang up on the wall. Chen Lang panicked, thinking, I'm dead. The two locked eyes silently for a long while, until Jean Mulan finally reacted and quickly returned to her room. Chen Lang didn't understand why Jean Mulan didn't scold him. All he wanted now was to escape quickly. Soon after, Chen Lang arrived in the Count's mansion's hall, meeting the eunuch who came from the capital. The eunuch was displeased with Chen Lang for making him wait. Master Shen, you take your sweet time with the sovereign's decree, making me wait so long. Chen Lang hurriedly offered a pouch of money. Please calm your anger. Eunuch, take this money for tea. The eunuch felt the heavy pouch, finding at least 100 gold coins inside. He didn't expect Chen Lang to be so generous, but sneered inwardly, thinking money can save you from disgrace. Then the eunuch read the sovereign's decree. On this auspicious day, Chen Lang is recognized for his meritorious service in exposing Sha Jin's rebellion, hereby granted the title of Imperial Academy Scholar. Jean Mulan, upon hearing this, instantly turned cold, granting him the title of Imperial Academy Scholar. Is this to humiliate my husband? The Imperial Academy was meant for those who couldn't pass the civil examinations but still sought official titles. It was originally for noble and official sons. Later even businessmen's sons got in through connections, causing discontent among the nobles. Unable to ignore the substantial benefits from the fees these merchant sons paid for fame, the Imperial College was established for noble sons, and the Imperial Academy thus became a diploma mill for the wealthy. It was now the lowest rung in the academic hierarchy, with Chen Lang's accomplishments of saving Princess Ning Luo and exposing noble Lord Jin's conspiracy. Being granted the title of Imperial Academy Scholar was a slap in the face to the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, along with the obligation to express gratitude. Chen Lang remarked, we don't have much time left for peace, maybe 5 or 6 days of quiet at most. As he spoke, Chen Lang began to admire himself again. I, a person of kindness, dislike nothing more than to retaliate and harm others. It's this world that has forced me to change. But before he could say much more, Jean Mulan and Father Jean had already disappeared, leaving Chen Lang in frustration. My eloquent speech wasn't even finished. The next night, Chen Lang noticed the light in Jean Mulan's bathing loft was on. This time, Chen Lang was bolder, coming outside intending to peek. Just as he was about to look in, the window slammed shut. Chen Lang was infuriated. Jean Mulan, how could you do this to me? What do you mean by this? It's too much. So, the next morning, Chen Lang slammed his hand on the table. I'm not eating. Then he confronted Jean Mulan. Mulan, do you despise me because I come from a humble background? Jean Mulan hurriedly said that wasn't the case. Chen Lang continued to ask, is it because you think I'm greedy for wealth and status, coming to your house to live off you? Jean Mulan quickly clarified, how could that be? My husband, don't think too much. But Chen Lang didn't stop, asking Jean Mulan again, or is it because I'm weak, don't know martial arts, have no title, and am unworthy in your eyes? Jean Mulan, confused about what was wrong with Chen Lang, cautiously approached him. My husband, I really like you. Did I accidentally make you misunderstand something? At these words, Chen Lang loudly questioned Jean Mulan. If you don't despise me, then why did you close the window when you were bathing? Do you think I would peep? Do you think I'm morally corrupt? Is there no trust between us as husband and wife? Finally, Jean Mulan understood what was bothering Chen Lang. She clenched her fist, preparing to loosen Chen Lang's muscles a bit. I haven't even settled the score with Chen Lang, and now he's making counter-accusations. Following that, Chen Lang's screams echoed throughout the Count's mansion. After breakfast, the results of Big Fool's bone testing finally came out. One of the top 6 martial arts experts in the Yu Kingdom confirmed Big Fool was a martial prodigy seen once in a century, with even higher talent than Jean Mulan. Chen Lang eagerly asked the expert to assess him. Great master, could you see if I'm a once-in-a-millennium martial arts genius? The expert looked at Chen Lang for a while, Embarrassed to speak the truth, he diplomatically said. Inscrutable, truly inscrutable. Even a master like me cannot see through. With the expert's confirmation, Shenlang laughed triumphantly, leaving the expert speechless. After being affirmed by the expert, Shenlang declared to Jean Mulan, "My dear, I want to practice martial arts." Upon learning of Shenlang's intention to practice martial arts, Jean Mulan was very happy, unaware that Shenlang's purpose for practicing martial arts was for revenge, planning to torment Jean Mulan 100 times over. Of course, he claimed noble intentions. "My aim in practicing martial arts is, of course, to protect my dear wife, as well as my mother-in-law and father-in-law." Hearing this, Jean Mulan asked Shenlang, "Oh, then do you have any specific goals and requirements?" Shenlang looked up at a 45-degree angle and stated firmly, "My requirement is simple. Practice for half an hour every day. No need to overexert myself. Within a year, I'll be able to defeat a certain powerful enemy." Jean Mulan suspected that the enemy was herself. Shenlang quickly assured her it was not, diverting the topic. "My main reason for wanting to practice martial arts is because the Grandmaster said I was inscrutable and completely impenetrable. Only a 1 in 10,000 martial arts prodigy would be indiscernible to a Grandmaster." An hour later, Shenlang was trembling and lying on the ground, his soul seemingly ready to ascend. He hadn't expected that just holding a horse stance would defeat him so thoroughly. Let whoever wants to practice martial arts do it. Faced with Jean Mulan's desire to continue, Shenlang hurriedly claimed he had something else to do, putting off martial arts practice for another time. Meanwhile, at the prefect's mansion, Inspector Li Wenjin was having a hard time in prison, filled with fear every day. Finally, the imperial decree arrived, read by the same eunuch. By the sovereign's command, Li Wenjin, for his dissolute behavior and misconduct, is fined 1 year's salary as a warning to others. So decreed. Li Wenjin was stunned, unresponsive even as his shackles were removed, for the punishment was surprisingly light. He had thought his death was certain. Quickly coming to his senses, Li Wenjin felt as if great fortune was beckoning. "The monarch values me so much. I am destined for high status and power." Zhang Ji also came to congratulate Li Wenjin, ordering people to bathe and dress him, and Li Wenjin's demeanor became more defiant. "I will take my revenge fiercely. Shenlang, Jean Mulan, you are doomed." Meanwhile, inside the Count's mansion, Father Jean was furious, clearly having learned that not only had Li Wenjin not died, but his official position and honor had not been stripped away. This indicated that the new policies would not only continue but also intensify. Father Jean was uncontrollable with anger. "My family's legacy wasn't granted by the sovereign. It was fought for with the blood of the Jean ancestors." Shenlang urged his father-in-law to remain calm. "I was already given the title of an Imperial Academy student before. This outcome was to be expected. Can you assure me that you can preserve our ancestors' legacy?" Shenlang confidently affirmed that they could. Father Jean, filled with worry, said, "After all, we are within Yu Kingdom. Once the sovereign sets his sights on us." Shenlang remained composed. "I have already prepared a countermeasure. Father-in-law, we will not lose. Just make some preparations. Li Wenjin will soon come after us. Tonight, we will put an end to this mad dog." As if on cue, the steward reported Li Wenjin was coming with troops to arrest someone. Outside the Count's mansion, Father Jean confronted Li Wenjin. "Inspector Li, what brings you here with such a force? To arrest Jean Mulan?" Li Wenjin responded indifferently. Father Jean exploded in anger. "What crime has my daughter committed that requires you to come with troops to arrest her?" Li Wenjin sneered. "What crime? Causing death by disturbance." This statement caused an uproar among the onlookers. The mythical turtle Count was known for cherishing his people. Li Wenjin then declared, "Under Jean Mulan's command, the cavalry disregarded the law, galloping through the streets, injuring 13 civilians and killing 5. As he said this, he had the injured and dead brought forward. Shenlang cursed internally. "Bastard, Li Wenjin is ruthless. To enforce the law through such a setup, he actually harmed civilians and then framed the Count's mansion." Jean Mulan stepped forward and asked, "Where are my cavalry?" Li Wenjin chuckled. "Trampling innocent civilians in the streets. They've already been arrested. After reporting to the prefect and the governor, they will all be executed." Shenlang's gaze sharpened. "The cavalry of the Count's mansion are always cautious. When I deliberately tried to provoke Jean Mulan, I only ended up with minor injuries. The claim of death by collision is utterly unbelievable." Li Wenjin proceeded to take Jean Mulan away. "As a general, she must bear joint responsibility." Li Wenjin's laughter was filled with satisfaction. "It feels so good. After being scared for over 10 days, I can finally take my revenge." He continued to threaten Jean Mulan. "If you don't come with us, and something happens to your cavalry, don't blame me." And among those cavalry leaders is a woman. Shenlang had met that cavalry leader, named Jean Sword Lady, a most loyal family retainer. Jean Sword Lady was highly skilled in martial arts, but was very shy, blushing every time she saw Shenlang. The consequence of a female general falling into enemy hands, if not rescued promptly, could be dire. Jean Mulan truly loved her troops as her own, especially since Jean Sword Lady was her confidant. As Jean Mulan was about to step forward, Shenlang stood in front of her, melting her heart in an instant. Shenlang then began to taunt Li Wenjin. "Brotherly, haven't you learned your lesson? Do you want to make your parents mourn their child?" Li Wenjin disdainfully replied to Shenlang, "Have you ever heard the saying, in the face of absolute power, all schemes and tricks will be crushed?" However, Shenlang acted as if he hadn't heard. "Ah, Li Wenjin, you'd better run. They're coming for you. Someone went to the prefect's mansion 3 hours ago, but it was empty. Now they're heading towards the mythical turtle city." Li Wenjin was momentarily stunned, not understanding Shenlang's gibberish. Shenlang spread his hands. "Li Wenjin, you're done for. You won't see tomorrow's Sunday." Li Wenjin was taken aback. "Is that supposed to be a joke? Who would dare kill me? The sovereign fined me a year's salary, but then sent my parents an amount equivalent to 3 years' salary. Do you know what that means?" Ignoring Shenlang, he ordered his men to take Jean Mulan with them. However, at that moment, rapid hoofbeats sounded. They were dressed in black, each one wearing a mask. These were the experts from the Blackwater platform, directly under the sovereign's command, belonging to no other authority. Li Wenjin was shocked. "What's this? Blackwater platform's experts being deployed. Where is Li Wenjin?" Li Wenjin hurried forward, eager to have the Blackwater platform assist him in handling the case, to capture Jean Mulan and the others. However, after confirming it was Li Wenjin, the people from Blackwater Platform ordered him, Lord Li Wenjin, please disperse everyone. A moment later, Blackwater Platform informed Father Jean, whatever happens next, pretend as if you have seen nothing. Upon hearing this, Li Wenjin trembled all over, and the leader of Blackwater Platform directly commanded, take Li Wenjin away for execution by dismemberment. Li Wenjin was going mad, shouting, it's unjust, the king had just pardoned me. How could the king's decree change overnight? However, this rapid turn of events was merely a minor scheme by Shenlang. It turned out that half a month earlier, Shenlang had already started to make arrangements. He sent dozens of people with a vast amount of gold coins to the capital. According to his investigation, the year Li Wenjin graduated as the top scholar, he had fallen for one of the top courtesans in the capital, Yuan Yuan, to become a favored guest of Yuan Yuan. Li Wenjin even outshone all his rivals and wrote an exceptionally beautiful poem, winning the top honor. Li Wenjin thought this would win him the beauty's favor, but unbeknownst to him, Yuan Yuan did not care for him at all. Though he spent an entire night in the same room as Yuan Yuan, nothing happened, and when he wished to see her again, she refused to meet him. Just then, after the publication of Shenlang's boundless romantic affairs, Yuan Yuan saw it and came to Shenlang asking for a poem, hoping to use it to gain an opportunity to perform at the Empress Dowager's birthday celebration. A scheme then formed in Shenlang's mind. Next, Shenlang anonymously sold a poem titled When Will the Moon Be to Yuan Yuan, which led her to win first place and gain the opportunity to perform in the palace. He also designed a set of sexy and splendid dresses as performance costumes for Yuan Yuan, resulting in a sensational appearance. Lastly, Shenlang bribed a painter to depict Yuan Yuan in the painting of the Empress Dowager's birthday celebration in an exceptionally dazzling manner, outshining all others. Hearing of Yuan Yuan's talent and seeing her beauty in the album, the king summoned Yuan Yuan to the palace. As a famous courtesan, Yuan Yuan easily won the king's favor, leading the king to lose control, and something happened between them. At this time, the story of Li Wenjing's poem for the beauty reached the king's ears. It was rumored that Li Wenjing's poem had moved Yuan Yuan, and he had become her favorite guest. Thus, the king flew into a rage, feeling deceived, and immediately ordered an investigation of Li Wenjing's residence. They found a portrait of Yuan Yuan, and most crucially, under Li Wenjing's bed, they discovered a figurine pierced with silver needles, bearing the birth date of the crown prince. It turned out Li Wenjing had once been punished by the crown prince and harbored resentment towards him. The king had intended to deal with Li Wenjing slowly, but the news leaked to the crown prince. The king made a decisive decision, dispatching experts from Blackwater Platform without any decree or charges to execute Li Wenjing by dismemberment on the spot. Li Wenjing cursed Shenlang. Shenlang, what have you done that led the king to kill me? Tell me, so I can die understanding. Shenlang, looking innocent, replied, Brotherly, I really don't know what you're talking about. How can I not understand a word? Brotherly, I spend all day at home fooling around with my wife, my back aching. How could I have the time or energy to harm you? However, no matter how Li Wenjing screamed, the outcome did not change in the slightest. Following the king's decree, Li Wenjing would be dismembered while being kept alive with ginseng soup until he entered the capital and could finally die. After Shenlang thoroughly sent that inspector to hell, he returned home and sang about how lonely it is to be invincible. Then he got close to Jean Mulan, suggesting a riddle for Jean Mulan to guess. Jean Mulan outright refused, believing Shenlang's riddles were never serious. But seeing Shenlang's disappointed look, the soft-hearted Jean Mulan eventually agreed. Shenlang, seizing the opportunity, said, in murk and ink seeking a white crown, a wife's charitable heart kindness shown. Today breeds a change anew, hearts entwined under the moon's glow true. Guess what the riddle is? Jean Mulan, who was pondering, was suddenly interrupted by the butler bursting in. He reported to Jean Mulan, the cavalry from the count's mansion has been detained. The deputy leader of 1,000 households from Salt Mountain in charge refuses to release them, demanding Shenlang to personally plead with him. Shenlang was curious about who this deputy leader of 1,000 households was. After an explanation from the butler, it turned out to be Linjua, the son of the Lin family head who had initially tricked him, who had passed the military examination and had just taken office as the deputy leader of 1,000 households at Salt Mountain 2 days ago. Indeed, it's a small world full of enemies. Shenlang hadn't even sought them out for trouble, yet now they were coming to him seeking death. A mere deputy leader of 1,000 households naturally wouldn't dare to oppose the count's mansion of the mythical turtle. However, Linjua was different because, like Shenlang, he had also married up. He became the son-in-law of Peaceful Stability Count Wu Zhaochong, soon to marry the 300-pound third daughter of Peaceful Stability Count's mansion, thinking this was the only way for his Lin family to stand against Shenlang. But in other respects, Linjua did not lose out. Wu Zhaochong was the second army commander of the province of the Southern Journey, controlling tens of thousands of troops, his power not inferior to the mythical turtle count's mansion. Wu Zhaochong directly promoted Linjua to the position of leader of 1,000 households. Thinking of this, Linjua laughed heartily. As for marrying the 300-pound count's daughter, he conveniently forgot about it. Now, what he most wanted was not to see Shenlang, but to show off in front of Wang Lian. Back when Wang Lian had passed the imperial examination, he had not hesitated to show off in front of him. It was just a pity that Wang Lian had vanished from the face of the earth. At this moment, his subordinates reported to him, Shenlang has arrived. A moment later, in the side hall, Shenlang outwardly greeted him, but inwardly mocked. Others live off women, enjoying delicious and fine dishes, yet what you're indulging in is a bowl of lard. And Linjua began to put on airs, to which Shenlang directly said, Li Wenjing is dead. These words instantly made Linjua's eyes bulge in shock. Before he could recover, he heard Shenlang request, there must be more to the incident of harming the common people. Please, Lord Lin, release the innocent cavalry of my mythical turtle count's mansion. Linjua immediately refused. They trampled someone to death, but won't admit it. We're moving to torture for interrogation tonight. Shenlang frowned. Your leader of 1,000 households doesn't have the authority to torture, does it? Among those trampled to death were family members of soldiers from the leader of 1,000 households, so I suspect it was murder. I am qualified to conduct torture. Seeing Shenlang remain silent, Linjua, smugly smiling, said, I hear the leader of this cavalry is a female knight named Jean Sword Lady. I really don't don't have the heart to be harsh, but that doesn't mean they can't be spared. Lin Zhuo gave Shenlang two options. First, take the people by force, but that would be rebellion. Second, Shenlang needs to bow and apologize to me in public. On the day Tianheng died, my father had even prepared his will and told me to hide in the capital and not return. Do you know how much shame I felt? So, it was clear Lin Zhuo wanted revenge. The first option was, of course, not viable. Lin Zhuo, full of confidence, knew that the king saw the mythical turtle count's mansion as a thorn in his side. Taking such action would give the king a reason to move against the mythical turtle count's mansion, but having Shenlang publicly apologize was even less likely. Shenlang had already figured out how to deal with this guy. With that, Shenlang took his leave. I'll go back and think it over and give you an answer tomorrow. How about that? Lin Zhuo agreed, confident that Shenlang had no other options, and waiting to humiliate Shenlang thoroughly. After leaving the leader of 1,000 households, Shenlang, through this round of conversation, understood the moment the king's signal comes, it seems peaceful stability count might also be inclined to join hands with Zhang Chong, plus the mythical turtle count's mansion's sworn enemy, Jin Hai Count. Well then, is this going to be an ambush from all sides? But Shenlang was not panicked at all. To break through this tactic is truly effortless. Meanwhile, at another mansion, the Wang Lian whom Lin Zhuo missed so much was actually not dead. Shenlang didn't let the mad dog bite into death. It was just rabies that made him suffer unbearably. He could only rely on Shenlang's painkillers to barely survive. When Wang Lian saw Shenlang, he threw himself at him, not to attack Shenlang, but to beg for painkillers. His hatred for Shenlang had been completely worn away. Shenlang said, "You can have the painkillers, but you need to do something for me." Wang Lian chose to agree without hesitation. Shenlang told Wang Lian, "Your good friend Lin Zhuo is back, anxiously wanting to see you. So, give him a surprise. Get a little drunk on wine tonight, and it's quite normal to bite him on the neck in a moment of passion, then fall asleep in each other's arms." How about this story? Wang Lian felt a chill in his heart. As night fell, Lin Zhuo was reuniting with his father, promising him, "The glorious days for our Lin family have arrived. As for that Shenlang, don't worry, I'll take care of it." Lin Zhuo's father believed in his son. As they were preparing to return to the Lin residence, a commotion arose. A servant reported to Lin Zhuo that someone claiming to be his close friend wanted to barge in. Hearing Wang Lian's shouts, Lin Zhuo immediately ordered not to stop him, thinking this triumphant return is finally going to be perfect. Soon, seeing the disheveled Wang Lian, Lin Zhuo couldn't feel better. Wang Lian used to show off in front of him all the time. He then feigned concern and asked Wang Lian, "Why are you like this? Brother Wang, we are close friends. Why be so formal? How can I accept such a grand gesture?" Wang Lian's acting exploded, spilling all the details, including the incident of cuckolding City Lord Lu. So now he was seeking Lin Zhuo's shelter, or else he would surely be killed by the City Lord Lu. Lin Zhuo was first surprised, then asked Wang Lian, "Do you want to work as a clerk by my side?" Wang Lian immediately addressed Lin Zhuo as his lord, which immensely pleased Lin Zhuo. Nothing was more satisfying than having someone who used to be above you become your servant. Then, a delighted Lin Zhuo hosted a welcome feast for Wang Lian. Wang Lian hadn't forgotten the task Shenlang had given him. After seeing Lin Zhuo drink the doctored wine and become dizzy, wanting to say something but passing out instead, Wang Lian laughed, opened Lin Zhuo's collar, opened his mouth wide, and bit down on Lin Zhuo. The bitten Lin Zhuo woke up the next day, only to find the man Wang Lian in his bed, which terrified him to the core. He demanded to know why Wang Lian was in his bed, unaware that Shenlang had secretly dispatched someone in the name of the Salt Mountain leader of 1,000 households to send a message to the Lin residence. When Wu Xiaolin arrived at the leader of 1,000 households, he happened to witness the disgraceful scene between Lin Zhuo and Wang Lian, shocking the old man nearly to death. Just as Lin Zhuo tried to explain it was a misunderstanding, Shenlang had already arrived, exclaiming, my eyes are going to be blinded. I'm still a child. How could I be subjected to the scene?" Lin Zhuo had no time to deal with Shenlang, facing Wu Xiaolin's stern accusations. "Lin Zhuo, how shameless can you be?" He pushed Wang Lian away, hurriedly dressed himself, then knelt on the ground, pleading innocence to Wu Xiaolin. "Uncle, I was framed." But then Wang Lian turned the tables. "Sir, please stand up for me. These past few days, Lin Zhuo has been sending people to find me. I thought it was for something important, but this beast, upon meeting, drugged me, and then, before Wu Xiaolin could respond, Shenlang stepped forward. "Wang Lian, although you are my enemy, I am naturally just and cannot stand by and watch this tragedy unfold. I will send guards from the mythical turtle count's mansion to protect you as we accuse him, to the governor's mansion to file a complaint." By now, Lin Zhuo knew it was Shenlang setting him up. Of course, Shenlang wouldn't admit it. "I came today to give you my response, but I didn't expect to witness such an eye-scorching scene. Brother Wang Lian, let's go to file a complaint." Wu Xiaolin immediately asked Shenlang to wait. "Shenlang, what do you want?" Shenlang inwardly smiled. Several cavalrymen from the mythical turtle count's mansion were detained by Lin Zhuo for no reason. "I'm here to get them back." Wu Xiaolin got the hint, instructing Lin Zhuo to release the men. Hearing this, Lin Zhuo was furious but had to face reality and release them. Shortly after, all the detained cavalrymen from the count's mansion were freed. Shenlang added a final blow to Lin Zhuo. "Lord Lin Zhuo, Wang Lian is too pitiful. I'm worried you might kill him to silence him, so I'm taking him with me as well." So, taking Wang Lian with him, they left. However, Shenlang wouldn't let Lin Zhuo off so easily. Bigger plans awaiting Lin Zhuo. At this time, Wu Xiaolin sensed something was amiss. He noticed that Wang Lian seemed to fear the light, and then, seeing Lin Zhuo seeking help, Wu Xiaolin, being the elder brother of peaceful stability Count Wu Xiaochong, naturally knew Wu Xiaochong well. He prepared a series of excuses and plans for Lin Zhuo, demanding triple the original amount of money. However, Lin Zhuo didn't notice that Wu Xiaolin's eyes occasionally rested on a wound on his neck. On the other side, inside the mythical turtle count's mansion, Shenlang signaled to Father Jin, "I have fulfilled my mission," and brought back Jin's sword lady and the others. Father Jin was extremely satisfied, but the comparison made him lament his own foolish son's shortcomings. At this moment, Shenlang began to inquire of Father Jin, "Father-in-law, that Wu Xiaolin seems a bit unusual." Father Jin shared the information with Shenlang. Wu Xiaolin, over 20 years ago, competed with peaceful stability Count for the position of heir. His failure was due to his inability to produce offspring, lacking in air. Before Shenlang could sympathize with his unfortunate situation, the steward came to report, "Master, son-in-law, there are villagers and elders from the estate asking to see you." Shenlang wondered which family was causing trouble this time, and followed to the outside of the count's mansion. Soon after understanding the situation, it turned out the reason for the villagers' commotion was a significant harvest of silkworm cocoons. Yet not a single merchant from mythical Turtle City was willing to buy them. This shocked Shenlang and the others, knowing that out of the 100,000 farmers in the mythical Turtle Count's estate, 70,000 relied on sericulture for their livelihood. If the cocoons couldn't be sold, it meant these 70,000 people would lose their means of subsistence, leading to major trouble. Moreover, a quarter of the Count's mansion's annual income came from taxes on the cocoons. The Count's mansion's finances would also be in dire straits, possibly leading to a complete breakdown in the financial chain. Now, the issue was that cocoons couldn't be stored for long. They had to be processed within a certain period, or else the moths would break through the cocoons from the inside. The villagers told Shenlang, "The Su family and the Lin family both refused to buy our cocoons, and the silk merchants from other counties who usually come every year haven't shown up either." The Su family head and his daughter even said that if they were to buy our cocoons, it would have to be the son-in-law himself going to negotiate with them. Shenlang understood it was another plot against him, but he reassured the villagers, "I will handle it. You really aren't afraid of death, are you? Linjua was just played by me to near death, and yet the Su family dares to set a trap for me." An hour later at the Su residence, Shenlang arrived and calmly asked them, "So, you have the guts to provoke me again?" It turns out the Su family had previously used Shenlang's recipe for golden silk, which, after being presented to the crown prince, was greatly liked, earning the Su family a royal inscription. Their demand this time was simple, for Shenlang to hand over the recipes for purple and rainbow dyes. In return, they would buy the silkworm cocoons, but at half price. They also advised Shenlang not to resist, as the entire province of the southern journey would not buy their cocoons. They gave Shenlang 3 days to consider. Shenlang scoffed, wishful thinking, and then turned to leave. Later, back at the Count's mansion, Shenlang, having shed his worries from the Su residence, cheerfully played chess with Jean Mulan. However, Jean Mulan suddenly questioned Shenlang, "Husband, what were you doing last night?" Shenlang broke into a cold sweat. "I didn't do anything, just teaching little Bing to read." "That's called teaching? Since when does teaching involve embracing and mouth to mouth? By the way, you seem to have said something about me. I didn't quite catch it clearly. Something about occupying the toilet but not using it. Otherwise, little Bing's child would already be several months old." Shenlang immediately tried to deflect blame onto little Bing, adopting the demeanor of a scoundrel. "My lady, it was all her. All Bing are coming to provoke me. You know I always keep myself clean." However, Jean Mulan was not persuaded, clenching her fist and advancing towards Shenlang. The next moment, screams echoed across the Count's mansion. The 3 days given by Su Qianqian quickly dwindled to just 1 day. Rumors spread new every day across the domain. Shenlang sought out another silk business, the Lin family, but given the previous incident with Linjua, the Lin family certainly would not help Shenlang. They even passed the information to the Su family, urging them to remain vigilant against Shenlang. Su Qianqian could hardly suppress her smirk, confident that Shenlang would have no choice but to plead with her. As expected, with no one buying the cocoons for a long time, the villagers could no longer hold out. Soon the cocoons would be ruined, and they came en masse to the Count's mansion begging Shenlang for help. Shenlang assured them, no matter what humiliating conditions the Su family proposes, I, Shenlang, will agree to them, just so everyone can have food to eat and money to earn. Hearing Shenlang's words, the villagers were deeply moved, thanking Shenlang for his great kindness. Shortly after at the Su residence, Shenlang handed over the formulas for the purple and rainbow dyes to Su Qianqian. Seeing this, Su Qianqian wanted to burst into laughter, feeling she had finally won a round, but Su Qianqian stated, "To buy your cocoons, this is not enough. You must apologize to me for the harm you've caused me in the past." Shenlang complied. "Qianqian, I was wrong, truly wrong. Please, for the sake of our past, forgive me this time. Let me off." However, Su Qianqian, seizing the opportunity to demand more, insisted that Shenlang burn all copies of Boundless Romantic Affairs. Shenlang argued reasonably, "I can publicly burn Boundless Romantic Affairs, but you must purchase the cocoons at the full price." Su Qianqian laughed. 60% of the original price. Take it or leave it. And the book must be burned at our Su residence. I want to watch you burn your own book." Left with no choice, Shenlang agreed. Subsequently, Shenlang, as promised, personally set fire to thousands of copies of Boundless Romantic Affairs in front of Su Qianqian. The Su family finally began to purchase the cocoons, although only at 60% of the price, forcing the farmers to sell with tears in their eyes. Even so, Su Qianqian only bought 300,000 pounds of cocoons, announcing to everyone, "Rest assured, we will buy the remaining cocoons as well, but still need to negotiate with Mr. Shenlang." Su Qianqian was determined to torment Shenlang thoroughly this time. Upon receiving the first batch of cocoons, Su's workshop began to work overtime, boiling water for silk extraction. The workshop's temperature soared above 45 degrees Celsius, enveloping every area, including the cocoon storage room. For some unknown reason, the cocoons suddenly caught fire, and despite all efforts to douse it, the fire was unstoppable, eventually consuming everything in a massive blaze. Meanwhile, from the tower of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, Shenlang watched the direction of the blazing fire, feeling exceedingly pleased. The night before Su's family began purchasing the cocoons, Shenlang had secretly filled some of them with white phosphorus, which ignites at temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius. By mixing these phosphorus-laden cocoons into Su's workshop, the outcome was inevitable. While explaining the use of white phosphorus to Jean Mulan, Shenlang also took the opportunity to grow closer, even managing to steal a kiss on Jean Mulan's cheek. This time, Shenlang won big. Not only did he win the people's hearts and kiss Jean Mulan, but he also ensured the destruction of the Su family. All his actions, including the dye formula, were merely diversions. At the time of the fire, the head of the Su family was hosting a banquet, celebrating their acquisition of the mythical Turtle Count's land cocoons at a mere fraction of their value. Su Qianqian noticed something amiss when the distant fire caught her eye. sky, pointing towards their workshop. An unbelievable thought crossed her mind, which was confirmed the next moment when several servants rushed to report the workshop is on fire. Everything's gone. The head of the Su family couldn't believe it, questioning how a fire could start in a place filled with water tanks and vapor, even going as far as to berate the messenger. The servant, trembling, suggested, "Master, you'll see if you go look." With no other choice, Su Qianqian ordered the carriage prepared. Upon arriving at the workshop, they were stunned into silence by the sight. Decades of the Su family's industry were reduced to ashes. An agitated Su family head demanded of the workers, "Why didn't you put out the fire?" The workers, feeling wronged, explained, "We couldn't. Several storage rooms caught fire simultaneously, and it was a strange fire. Water couldn't extinguish it." The head of the Su family was devastated, completely numb from shock, and immediately blamed Shenlang for the destruction of his workshop. He demanded the city Lord Lu to bring guards and arrest Shenlang at the count's mansion. The city Lord Lu outright refused, questioning the Su family head for evidence. At this moment, he truly felt the ruthlessness of Shenlang. The refusal from the city Lord Lu only fueled the Su family head's agitation. He exclaimed, "Are you afraid? I'm not. Behind me stand the prefecture and the governor's offices, and I have the prince's calligraphy." Su Qianqian quickly comforted her father, saying now was not the time to pursue blame. They had already taken a significant deposit from Western region merchants and would have to compensate if they couldn't deliver on time. Though the Su family's main workshop was destroyed, the prestige of their brocade and embroidery pavilion must not fall. Losing their reputation and credibility would truly be the end. This sobered the Su family head, who prepared to discuss borrowing a workshop with the Lin family. However, the head of the Lin family had already arrived, offering his workshop to the Su family unconditionally, on the condition that they unite against Shenlang afterward. Despite Su Qianqian securing the Linmo workshop, the Su family faced a more severe challenge. Having aggressively expanded this year, they had nearly bought up all the cocoons in the province of the Southern Journey. Now, with the cocoons gone in the fire, they would have to buy from the mythical Turtle Count's mansion to fulfill their contract with the Western region merchants. The mythical Turtle Count's mansion had just enough cocoons, 3 million pounds, along with Su's silk inventory, to barely meet the demand. So, in an ironic twist, they found themselves needing Shenlang's help. Inside the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, a young maid struck a seductive pose for Shenlang to model. Shenlang didn't disappoint, creating a portrait that was not just lifelike but beautified and filtered. As they excitedly discussed the artwork, the butler informed Shenlang, "Sir, Su Qianqian has arrived." Hearing this, Shenlang's lips curved into a smirk. Finally, she has come. A moment later, in the grand hall of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, Su Qianqian was dressed stunningly beautiful. Her attitude had also done a 180-degree turn towards Shenlang. Shenlang smiled inwardly at the sight of Su Qianqian's attire. "This is exactly how I described her in Boundless Romantic Affairs. It's like a cosplay of the real world." "Su Qianqian, you really know how to play along. Do you think this is how I wish to see you in my heart?" Su Qianqian then took out Shenlang's Boundless Romantic Affairs. "Master Shen, I've read this book from cover to cover 11 times. It's excellently written. The poems and stories I wrote before are simply embarrassing in comparison. When will the second volume be released? I'm eagerly looking forward to it." Shenlang was calmly drinking tea, unmoved. Seeing this, Su Qianqian's tone became even more coquettish, pleading pitifully with Shenlang, "Master Shen, a single night of marriage equals 100 days of grace. I realize my mistake and admit my wrongdoing. Please, forgive me." Shenlang simply gestured for Su Qianqian to sit down and then got straight to the point. "I know why you're here and that you have no intention of repenting. You're just trying to temporarily overcome the Su family's difficulties and save its reputation. But I don't mind. Business is business. After all." Su Qianqian maintained a smile throughout, neither explicitly denying nor admitting anything, but made her intention clear. "We are willing to buy 3 million pounds of cocoons at 1.5 times the price." However, Shenlang immediately asked for triple the price, catching Su Qianqian off guard. "Such a lion's mouth. With triple the price, you're looking to drain all the money we have left." Of course, Su Qianqian would not agree. When she tried to argue her point with Shenlang, he lightly said, "If you don't buy, we can set up our own workshop." Su Qianqian remained calm. "Do you have a workshop? Do you have workers?" Shenlang responded, "After the Su family goes bankrupt, won't we? As long as there are workers, there will be workshops. Your workers will become ours." This completely broke Su Qianqian's composure. She stood up to question, "Shenlang, are you really leaving no way out for the Su family?" She also made it clear to Shenlang, the decisive battle to besiege the mythical Turtle Count's mansion is about to begin. As long as you agree to the 1.5 times price, I can ensure your parents and brother will be safe. Upon this, Shenlang issued an order to leave, clearly unwilling to continue the discussion. Su Qianqian panicked and raised the price to twice the original amount, but Shenlang still did not agree. Frustrated, Su Qianqian tore up Boundless Romantic Affairs. Considering the price of fresh cocoons was 20 copper coins per pound, and 1 gold coin could buy about 100 pounds, buying 3 million pounds of golden cocoons at the original price would cost only 30,000 gold coins. Now, Shenlang had raised the price to 90,000 gold coins, which was the limit the Su family could afford by mortgaging their properties and shops. Shenlang was determined to drain the last drop of blood from the Su family. Su Qianqian understood this very well, but had no choice but to agree to Shenlang's demands. "Triple it is then, all for you. Shenlang, take this money with you to the grave." The Su family mortgaged over a dozen shops and their house, borrowed 60,000 gold coins from the Hidden Origin Society, and finally gathered enough money to buy the 3 million pounds of cocoons. The people were immensely grateful to Shenlang, and the Count's mansion earned 18,000 gold coins in taxes alone, achieving a win-win situation with the residents of the territory. Meanwhile, Lin Zhuo, turned into a mad dog, was frantically attacking the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Under Wu Xiaoling's strategizing, he smoothly passed the challenges of peaceful stability Count Wu Xiaochong, and even got promoted to Northern Guard Marquis Vanguard Commander. Returning to mythical Turtle City, Lin Zhuo devoted himself to carrying out his father-in-law's in-laws' arrangements, causing trouble at the borders of mythical Turtle Count's mansion's territory without rest. Whether they were villagers crossing the border or soldiers, he captured them all. Manhwa, who was severely tricked by Shenlang, had become a complete mad dog, viciously biting at mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Several dozen conflicts had erupted in a few days, but each time a situation was about to escalate, it was forcefully suppressed by Jean Mulan. But Manhwa wasn't the only pressure mythical Turtle Count's mansion faced. It included the pressure from established noble leader Distant Guard Marquis Sunan, the lady of mythical Turtle Count's mansion's own brother, who betrayed mythical Turtle Count harshly. When the new policy winds blew, he tentatively asked to resign due to illness, which the sovereign granted. Recently, the sovereign ordered his restoration as the Grand General of the army and appointed him as the protector of the Crown Prince, which he eagerly accepted and immediately entered the capital, directly causing a significant blow to mythical Turtle Count. At the same time, Zhang Chong was making connections everywhere, creating more enemies and difficulties for mythical Turtle Count. For instance, he went to Northern Guard Marquis Nandong Ao, one of the 5 great leaders of the Yu Kingdom's military and a martial arts master. Zhang Chong's purpose was to persuade Northern Guard Marquis' heir, Nandong Xia, to lead an army into the southern Ouyang country to quell the rebellion, serving as the vanguard. Among the younger generation of nobles in the south, Tang Yan of Jin Hai Count's mansion is #1 in swordsmanship. In terms of horsemanship and leading troops, it is Nandong Xia, the heir of Northern Guard Marquis, who ranks first. Nandong Ao, though a warrior, instantly understood Zhang Chong's intention. If he were to lead by sending out his private army to quell the rebellion in southern Ouyang country, it would give the emperor an excuse to have other nobles also dispatch their private armies. On the battlefield of southern Ouyang country, it would be a chance to significantly weaken the old noble families. Thus, Northern Guard Marquis Nandong Ao, no longer neutral, would become the target of public criticism. However, Zhang Chong offered too much. He could make Nandong Ao's second son, Nandong Ping, serve as his chief clerk. After all, Nandong Ping was only a palace central official, a mere 7th rank officer, while the highest rank for a chief clerk in the prefectural government office was 6th. This meant Nandong Ping could be promoted 3 levels directly. With both the heir and the second son gaining significant advantages, it was difficult for the Northern Guard Marquis to refuse. Then, Zhang Chong met with a member of the Hidden Origin Society, Xu Tinyu, and they finalized their plan to deal with the mythical Turtle Count's mansion and the division of spoils that would follow. However, at this moment, Zhang Chong's son, Zhang Ji, came to report, "Father, there has been an incident. Su Guangyun's large workshop was completely burned down in a fire. Our reserve funds are gone." It turned out that due to Shenlang's manipulation, all of Su's family gold was blown up, nearly bankrupting them and thus leaving Zhang Chong, who was troubling the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, without subsequent funds. The people from the Hidden Origin Society immediately understood Zhang Chong's marriage alliance with the Su family was just for the Su family's money. Therefore, he said, "Lord Zhang Chong, my family has a younger sister, 18 this year, beautiful as flowers in the moon." The signal released was clear to Zhang Chong, but he showed no interest and instead stood up to leave. On the way out, Zhang Ji asked his father, about the intention of that Hidden Origin Society just now. Zhang Chong, knowing what his son wanted to say, interrupted him. "The money from the Hidden Origin Society is not so easily taken, unless absolutely necessary. Do not take it." Zhang Ji also understood, "But father, the operation of becoming the glamorous province subordinate commander is about to be scheduled, and it requires a lot of gold coins. If the Su family can't provide this money, it will delay important matters." Hearing this, Zhang Chong stopped in his tracks and countered Zhang Ji with a question. "Do you truly like Su Qianqian?" Zhang Ji was momentarily stunned, then nodded slightly. So, Zhang Chong also told his son, "Don't take breaking off an engagement lightly. It's too damaging to one's reputation. Su Qianqian is a formidable woman and can certainly be a virtuous wife for you. Give the Su family another chance. As long as their family name stands, they will surely overcome this crisis. As for the money I need for my operations, we can have the Su family borrow from the Hidden Origin Society. But if the Su family doesn't get through this crisis, then they won't be of any value." Suddenly, Zhang Chong asked his son, "Who is more skilled in martial arts, you or Jin Mulan?" Zhang Ji thought for a moment. It should be evenly matched. Zhang Chong then planned for Zhang Ji to go and spar with the martial fanatic Tang Yan, and he must give it his all. It was essential to confirm if Tang Yan was as strong as rumored. The Northern Guard Marquis' house, Distant Guard Marquis' house, Jin Hai Count's mansion, and the Hidden Origin Society all wanted a piece of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. In such a critical moment, Shenlang was busy painting. It turned out that Jin Mulan was jealous after seeing the portrait Shenlang had painted for a maid and wanted one for herself. Shenlang did not miss this opportunity. Using painting as an excuse, he kept asking Jin Mulan to pose in enticing positions. But then, the steward came to report, "Miss Su Jianting from the Distant Guard Marquis' house requests an audience." Shenlang was infuriated by the interruption. The names Su Jianting and Distant Guard Marquis' house were taboo in this household. Su Jianting was not only Mulan's cousin, but also her betrothed in a childhood engagement. However, 8 years ago, the marriage contract was torn up. Since then, the relationship between the two families had completely cooled, almost to the point of a break. Shenlang did not hesitate to add his name to the list of enemies. "This man is a former rival and love of mine." Moments later, in the Count's mansion's hall, when Su Jianting saw Jin Mulan coming, he was immediately attracted by her beauty and instantly regretted the tearing of their marriage contract years ago. As for Shenlang, upon seeing Su Jianting, his displeasure was written all over his face. After both parties had ceded, Mother Jean also expressed her dissatisfaction with Su Jianting. "Are you here to mock our Count's mansion?" Su Jianting gave an awkward snort and explained his main purpose. "My grandmother misses Mother Jean and Jean Mulan. She would like to invite them to visit." Mother Jean clearly understood the underlying meaning. "They want me and my daughter to take refuge there." Mother Jean firmly refused. "Now in life, I am a person of the Jean family, and in death, I will be a ghost of the Jean family. The moment you made that decision years ago, I was no longer a daughter of the Su family. Father Jin was moved by her words. Su Jianting didn't say anything further but turned his gaze to Jin Mulan. I would like to spar with her. Jin Mulan sought Shenlang's opinion. Shenlang knew the real purpose of the Su family was to test Jin Mulan. However, Shenlang did not refuse. The next moment, the two in the courtyard began their intense duel. Shenlang, using his ability to analyze, noticed that Jin Mulan had become much stronger than when she fought Tianhan. Even so, Jin Mulan seemed to struggle a bit against Su Jianting's attacks. It appeared that Su Jianting's martial arts skills should not be underestimated. After several rounds of competition, Su Jianting clasped his fists. Cousin, you have my thanks. I once crossed swords with the martial fanatic Tang Yen. His move, Meteor from Beyond the Heavens, I faced 10 times but could not withstand even once. After saying this, he bid farewell to Mother Jin and the others. Jin Mulan, wiping the sweat from her face, remained silent. After seeing Father Jin and Mother Jin leave, Shenlang came forward to check on the injuries in Jin Mulan's hands. Jin Mulan threw herself into Shenlang's arms, showing her vulnerability to him for the first time. Husband, I couldn't even defeat Su Jianting. How can I defeat the even stronger martial fanatic Tang Yen? If I lose to Tang Yen, then we would have lost 1 out of 3 challenges, and we might lose the Isle of Gold Mountain forever. Shenlang held Jin Mulan tightly. My love, I promise you, you will win the battle against Tang Yen. In the struggle for the Isle of Gold Mountain, we will be victorious. I will train you to be an unparalleled master. Actually, the feud between Jin High Count's mansion and the mythical Turtle Count's mansion originated 180 years ago. At that time, the Jin family had a man who was resurrected from the dead. In just 5 years, he transformed from a nobody into a top expert. He led a large army to fight in the south and the north, thrashed Wu country, crushed Chu country, and almost never tasted defeat. At the age of 39, he became the crown prince's protector and the grand general, expanding the Jin family's territory to 5,000 square kilometers. Compared to the Jin family at that time, Jin High Marquis seemed dim and was even demoted to a count. The Isle of Gold Mountain was originally the territory of Jin High Marquis, but a group of very powerful pirates took over the island. Count Jin Zhou of the mythical turtle led a large army and beat those pirates out, reclaiming dozens of coastal islands and ending the chaos at sea. To commend Jin Zhou, the monarch of that generation granted the Isle of Gold Mountain to the Jin family. Later on, as the Jin family's fortunes waned, the people of Jin High Count's mansion grew stronger with each generation. In the battle for the Isle of Gold Mountain, they almost fought their brains out. The fortune of Jin High Count's mansion has continued to this day. In this generation of the Tang family, there is Tang Yun, the third top scholar in the imperial examination, and Tang Yen, the #1 young master in the south. In this battle for the Isle of Gold Mountain, the Tang family is almost certain to win. So, Jin Mulan uncertainly asked Shenlang. Really? Shenlang countered Jin Mulan. Humph, what's wrong? You don't believe your husband? Jin Mulan hugged Shenlang again and said, I believe, in my heart, my husband is capable of anything. Shenlang then overstepped. Then, my lady, you might as well not close the window when you bathe tonight. Your husband definitely won't peek. This made Jin Mulan immediately leave Shenlang's embrace, visibly annoyed. It was so romantic just now, and you had to ruin the mood thinking about those things. Inside Peaceful Stability Marquis' mansion, Peaceful Stability Marquis was originally discussing the profits after dealing with the mythical turtle Count when suddenly his third son rushed in to tell him, Linjua has rabies and is bound to die. Moreover, Linjua, who showed symptoms, not only bit me but also infected a few women in the house at some point. Enraged, Jing and Marquis had all the infected people captured, including his own son and concubines. Wu Xiaoyin, who was in charge of the capture, glanced at them and then ordered the guards to act. The next moment, torches ignited the wood, and then the door was sealed shut. They intended to burn the oxygen to suffocate everyone to death, but unseen by others, Wu Xiaoyin revealed a satisfied smile. So it really is rabies. What a good method. This time, so many of Wu Xiaocheng's family members died, saving me a lot of effort. The next day, outside the mythical turtle Count's mansion, on a small path patrolled by Jin Sword Lady, Linjua was lying in ambush. He felt that Shenlang seemed to care a lot about this woman, so he decided to capture Jin Sword Lady, not only to torture her severely, but also to infect her with rabies. Unexpectedly, in the next moment, a long sword pierced his heart. Struggling, he turned his head and saw Peaceful Stability Marquis' adopted son, Wu Yuanbao. Because of you, out of the Count's 9 sons, 3 have died, and among the 13 concubines, 4 have died. So, Linjua's fate need not be mentioned. Meanwhile, at Jin High Count's mansion, they also received a challenge for a duel from Zhang Ji. The absent-minded man in front of them was the famous martial fanatic Tang Yan. Jin High Count told him that he must give his all in this match. Tang Yan absent-mindedly responded. His gaze was fixed on an ant on the table, admiring its strength to lift over 50 times its own weight, something he couldn't do. If he could learn this technique, his martial arts would advance further. A moment later, at Jin High Count's martial arts competition arena, although Zhang Ji had always been outmatched by Shenlang, he was still very strong. He passed the martial scholar exam at 17 and became the commander of the mythical Turtle City's defense army in his 20s, holding the rank of guerrilla general. Upon arriving in mythical Turtle City, he immediately challenged Tian Heng and defeated him with one move. However, facing Tang Yan's meteor from beyond the heavens, a move used millions or even tens of millions of times, Zhang Ji tasted defeat, being thrown out with serious injuries on both arms. Tang Yan didn't even glance at him, continuing to ponder how to learn the ant's technique. Afterward, Zhang Ji returned to his father's side, clenching his teeth to report the outcome. 14 years practicing only this sword technique, truly invincible. Zhang Chong laughed upon hearing this. In the battle for Isle of Gold Mountain, the mythical Turtle Count's mansion is destined to lose. If the Su family really falls through, then breaking off the engagement is the only option left. Unexpectedly, the textile industry of the Su family progressed remarkably well. Upon returning, Zhang Ji breathed a sigh of relief. However, Su Qianqian was unaware of Zhang Ji's thoughts and thanked Zhang Ji for sticking with the Su family through thick and thin, which reassured Zhang Ji. Once the Su family gets through this tough time, we can mortgage the Su family's brand and shop again, surely securing a good sum of gold coins. The position my father-in-law desires is almost guaranteed. Hearing this, Zhang Ji patted Su Qianqian on the head, proud of the woman he had chosen. It seemed as if the one who had regrets about the marriage wasn't him, and the success of Su Qianqian was all thanks to the dye formula provided by Shenlang. The Su family repeatedly verified Shenlang's formula, and whether it was exposed to the sun or washed at high temperatures, the color did not fade. The extremely beautiful purple and rainbow-colored silk alone earned a deposit of 50,000 gold coins. Thus, they dyed all their silk purple and rainbow-colored in pursuit of covering the debts from buying silkworm cocoons. Such bold moves not only stopped the Su family's losses, but even turned a profit. So, even though Zhang Chanhua and others advised that it was too risky, Su Qianqian insisted on using Shenlang's two formulas for the silk, and her delivery date was just a few days away. While Su Qianqian was busy with preparations, Shenlang had already prepared the next few moves for the battle for the Isle of Gold Mountain. First, he helped Jean Mulan enhance her inner strength to address the issue with Tang Yin. Jean Mulan, facing Shenlang, clearly knew where she had been secretly hurt and was also very surprised. Shenlang was quite proud. Not only do I know, but I can also heal the hidden injuries. However, my lady, why is your inner strength true energy purple? This surprised Jean Mulan even more. My lord, you can actually discern bloodlines with the naked eye. This caused Shenlang to be puzzled. It turns out that in this world, inner strength true energy indeed has color distinctions. The purple energy flow Shenlang saw represented that Jean Mulan possessed a purple talent bloodline of a very high grade, suitable for swordsmanship and battlefield martial arts, and the highest grade of bloodline is the golden bloodline, which Jean Mulan had never seen before. However, the next moment, Shenlang saw it. Big Fool was preparing to follow the great master Zhong Chirong to the mountain to cultivate and bid farewell to Shenlang. Shenlang unconsciously scanned Big Fool's bloodline, and it was as if a voice echoed in his mind. Golden bloodline. Big Fool possesses a top-tier bloodline talent, which is no wonder the Grandmaster took one look at Big Fool and took him as a disciple. However, Shenlang realized that just a slight improvement in Jean Mulan's inner strength was not enough to defeat Tang Yin, so he shifted his focus to Meteor from Beyond the Heavens. Meteor from Beyond the Heavens is the treasured technique of Sky's End Sea Pavilion, and the Southern Sea Sword King, Li Qianqiu, also made a name for himself with this move, ranking among the Grandmasters. Even Grandmaster Zhong Chirong explicitly told Jean Mulan that she couldn't possibly be Tang Yan's opponent. Young people of this generation simply cannot defeat Tang Yan. Perhaps Big Fool might have a chance in 5 years, but Shenlang still believed he could find a way to counter Meteor from Beyond the Heavens. While looking for a way to overcome Meteor from Beyond the Heavens, he accidentally learned that the martial arts heritage of this world originated from the ancient world. Thousands of years after the destruction of the ancient world, humans not only unearthed the 4 books and 5 classics, but also various martial arts manuals. These manuals were engraved in soft jade scrolls or carved into jade bricks, and just an inch-thick jade brick could contain over 200 layers, each layer having hundreds of characters and 2 to 3 diagrams. Shenlang was amazed. Wow, goodness, isn't this just like a hard drive from another world? To solve the mystery of Meteor from Beyond the Heavens, Shenlang went through almost all the private collections in the Count's mansion. However, even after finishing the books of his cheat-like ancestor Jin Zhou, Shenlang still couldn't find a way to counter Meteor from Beyond the Heavens. Thus, Shenlang chose to go directly to Sky's End Sea Pavilion. A few days later, Shenlang and Jean Mulan arrived at their destination. He knocked on the door of Sky's End Sea Pavilion and shouted to the master inside, "Master, we wish to enter Sky's End Sea Pavilion to study." A voice came from the other side of the door. "Do you have an invitation from our pavilion?" "Of course not." So Shenlang turned to Jean Mulan. "My lady, with your high martial skills and noble status, you must be a member of Sky's End Sea Pavilion, right? We can enter directly, can't we?" However, there was no such thing as membership, and only various academic grandmasters, like Jean Mulan's teacher Zhong Chuk, had the privilege to receive an invitation. Hearing this, Shenlang had no choice but to resort to his last strategy, which was to accept the academic challenge of Sky's End Sea Pavilion. As long as one could solve any one of the ultimate puzzles, they could become a guest of the pavilion. After Shenlang finished speaking, an elderly man came out. He sized up Shenlang and asked, "Are you sure you want to accept the challenge?" Shenlang confidently affirmed, "Of course." The elder's gaze then shifted to Jean Mulan, and upon knowing that Shenlang was her husband, he couldn't help but exclaim, "It's not easy for someone as physically weak as you have survived until now. However, to accept the challenge, you need 500 gold coins." After Shenlang took out a bag of gold coins, the elder motioned for the two to follow him. As they walked, the elder informed Shenlang, "There are 3 of Sky's End Sea Pavilion's 10 great challenges left. These 3 challenges have remained unsolved for 3 years. Now, there are only challenges in martial arts, astronomy, and philosophy left. Which one will you choose?" After some thought, Shenlang immediately dismissed martial arts, and philosophy was out of the question too, as it was too abstract and debatable to clearly determine right from wrong. So, Shenlang chose astronomy. Upon hearing this, the elder handed the question to Shenlang. Shenlang took it and looked at it with Jean Mulan, only to see 5 words on the paper. "How big is the sun?" After 2 minutes, the elder was about to say, "Don't waste time if you can't solve it." Shenlang then stated, "I've already solved it," and began to demonstrate his method. He used the pinhole imaging technique to measure the distance from this planet to the sun, which is 109 times the diameter of the sun, also confirming to Shenlang that he was not on Earth, since the ratio on Earth is 107 times. Next, Shenlang placed a ruler straight on the ground, and at precisely noon, measured the length of the shadow cast by a bamboo stick in the sunlight, recording it. 3 days later, at noon, he planted the bamboo stick in the ground again to measure the length length of the shadow, at a place 2,000 miles away. At noon when the sun shone directly, the length of the bamboo's shadow was different, with a centimeter level difference. The difference in shadow lengths between the two places, in the 2,000 miles distance, using the Pythagorean theorem, could calculate the distance between the sun and this world. Then, dividing this distance by 109, the diameter of the bright could be calculated. The elder, upon hearing this, was astounded. Such a method was unheard of and unseen before, and even more accurate than their methods. The elder's attitude immediately became respectful, inquiring the diameter of the sun from Shenlang. 2,890,000 miles. This answer shocked the elder even more. Upon learning Shenlang was only 18 years old, he exclaimed, "Too outstanding, a genius, an absolute genius. Ah, I thought this weak young man was unworthy of you, but now I feel you are unworthy of him." Since Jean Mulan did not qualify to enter Sky's NC Pavilion, only Shenlang was led inside by the elder. The elder called for a person named Lady Yu to receive the guest. The slovenly dressed lady turned around with some displeasure, but upon seeing Shenlang's handsome face, she disappeared in a whoosh, and when she reappeared, she had undergone a 180-degree transformation. Turning into a mature lady, she boldly asked Shenlang, "Young master, which book would you like to borrow? Would you like some tea or some pastries?" Shenlang, somewhat embarrassed, stated, "I want to see Meteor from Beyond the Heavens." The lady smiled charmingly. "Sure, I'll get it for you right away." Meanwhile, at the Su family's residence, it was the day they were to deliver their goods. The Western region merchants were extremely satisfied with the rainbow silk, and upon seeing this, Su Qianshan smiled inwardly. "Now it seems we've turned misfortune into a blessing. Not only can we capture the market within the Yu Kingdom, but we can also take over the Western region's market." At this moment, Su Qianshan ordered her servants to present the clothes made of rainbow silk as a gift to the Western region merchants. After seeing the Western region merchants go to change, Su Qianshan finally took a breath of relief. With this, the Su family has weathered the storm, and my father-in-law has enough money to pursue the position of glamorous province subordinate commander. Thinking of this, Su Qianshan mockingly thought of Shenlang as foolish. He gave away the formula so easily. Unexpectedly, the next moment, a scream came from the changing room. When Su Qianshan pushed the door and entered, she saw the skin of the Western region merchants was covered in red spots, and some were even having difficulty breathing. Su Qianshan thought she had earned 2 formulas from Shenlang, but those formulas turned out to be a ticking time bomb. Shenlang had early on added up to 9 ingredients known to cause allergies in Westerners to the formula, and Su Qianshan, pressed for time, only tested the durability of the formula, without the leisure to identify which substances were superfluous for dying. Thus, Shenlang's allergy package could be said to be a major weapon against Su Qianshan's partners. The patriarch of the Su family, bloodshot eyes, exclaimed, "Shenlang, it must be your doing. I won't let you go even as a ghost." Understanding everything, Su Qianshan's face darkened, as if she could imagine Shenlang's smug expression. "Ah, the Su family is completely ruined now. With just a little trick, Shenlang, took you down. Should I lend you another bag of gold coins?" At this moment, Su Qianshan could no longer hold herself up and collapsed, her face covered in tears, throwing herself into Zhang Ji's arms, sobbing loudly. Unbeknownst to her, aside from ordering people to suppress the scene, Zhang Ji's gaze towards Su Qianshan was already contemplating calling off the engagement, for the Su family was truly beyond salvation now. Inside the library of Sky's NC Pavilion, after Shenlang perfectly solved the astronomical question of Sky's NC Pavilion, he easily obtained the treasured meteor from beyond the heavens. This made Shenlang feel, it seems like the scholars of Sky's NC Pavilion don't care about meteor from beyond the heavens at all, and Shenlang's handsome appearance also won the favor of the elder sister, who kept launching flirtatious advances at Shenlang. "Little brother, guess how old sister is?" Shenlang directly activated his divine eye to precisely identify her age, 23.5 years old, but the elder sister would never admit it. Giggle, "I'm only 18. This made the scholars of Sky's NC Pavilion somewhat unable to watch. "You've been saying you're 18 for the past 18 years, and you're still 18 now." The 2 scholars didn't dare to speak out loud, but coughed while thinking, usually commanding us around. Now that a slightly handsome young man comes along, you're all over him. Where's your dignity and pride? Facing the 2 scholars, Zhang Yuan immediately changed her demeanor. "Hey, what's all the coughing about? Got tuberculosis? Cough somewhere else." "Little brother, that old thing was coughing and polluting the air just now. I've made him leave. Can't let you catch any diseases." The elder sister also told Shenlang, apart from the Southern Sea Sword King, no one else has been able to decipher meteor from beyond the heavens. There was even a grandmaster who spent a year and a half here and still got nothing. Shenlang knew this person, who was Big Fool's master, Zhongchuk, but this was not a problem for Shenlang. A scan with his titanium alloy dog eyes would suffice. Then recording everything in his brain, the complexity of it also made Shenlang understand why those who specialize in deciphering secret manuals usually don't practice martial arts, because they simply don't have the spare energy. An hour later, Shenlang had finished deciphering everything, and he also made his farewells to the elder sister and others. On the way back to the Count's mansion with Jean Mulan noticed the scent of another woman on her husband. Shenlang became somewhat flustered, starting his evasive explanation. No, my lady, you're mistaken. That's the smell from the jade bricks." Seeing Shenlang still not admitting, Jean Mulan jumped onto another horse, leaving Shenlang to ride alone. Shenlang hurriedly explained, "My lady, it's not my fault. That woman insisted on getting close to me and even wanted to sit on my lap. I sternly stopped her, otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable." Jean Mulan snorted lightly, clearly not believing Shenlang's words. Seeing this, Shenlang started his performance. "My lady, I might fall off if I ride alone." Seemingly convinced by Shenlang's sincerity, Jean Mulan could only reach out to hold Shenlang, and Shenlang took the opportunity to hold Jean Mulan in his arms. Then he started his sweet talk again. "My lady, you are truly kind. In my heart, you will always be the only one. Other women are just like wildflowers by the roadside. I, Shenlang, would never pick them. At most, I'd accidentally brush past and catch a bit of their fragrance." Jean Mulan was charmed into blushing and dared not look at Shenlang. Such a guy guy, managing to make cheating sound so refined and elegant. Seeing Shenlang still clinging to her, Jean Mulan was about to ask Shenlang to leave, when Shenlang looked up at her and asked, "My lady, have you bathed today?" Having been on the road all day, Jean Mulan, of course, hadn't bathed, prompting Shenlang to display a look of disdain. Jean Mulan quickly sniffed herself. "I haven't bathed for just one day. How could I smell?" Later, at a lake, Shenlang curiously asked Jean Mulan, "My lady, why are we stopping here?" Jean Mulan's face turned slightly red. "To bathe, so you won't disdain me, ancestor." Meanwhile, elsewhere, Zhang Ji relentlessly relayed everything that had happened at the Su family, verbatim to his father, and shortly after, an envoy from the Hidden Origin Society, Xu Tinyu, came to visit. He told Zhang Chong, "As long as your son marries my cousin, she will bring a dowry of 100,000 gold coins, with no strings attached." However, Zhang Chong chose to refuse. "We have a marriage agreement with the Su family, and will not break it lightly," and he instructed his son to go back and comfort Su Chanqian. "Tell her, our Zhang family will neither break nor call off the engagement." The envoy from the Hidden Origin Society also said, "You must hurry back." According to common belief, the time for someone to consider suicide is within 48 hours of a breakdown. After this period, even in despair, they won't think of dying. Zhang Ji was silent for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Riding swiftly, Zhang Ji returned to the Su family by night. Upon seeing Zhang Ji, Su Chanqian immediately started apologizing. Zhang Ji comforted Su Chanqian. "Take it easy. It's alright. Don't think too much. Just rest well." Su Chanqian was moved by his words. "If the Zhang family wants to call off the engagement, I would understand. I will publicly declare that all faults lie with me." Zhang Ji shook his head. "Don't be silly, darling. I wouldn't do that." Then he stroked Su Chanqian's head. "Chanqian, don't worry about it. A good sleep will make it better." Obediently, Su Chanqian closed her eyes. Later, Zhang Ji went to visit Su Chanqian's father. The patriarch of the Su family was also very emotional upon seeing Zhang Ji. Having not slept for days, he implicitly refused to admit defeat in his words, even contemplating reneging on the deal with the Western region merchants, while also promising Zhang Ji, after taking down the mythical turtle count, he did not want any share of the profits from dividing the mythical turtle count's assets, planning to sell everything to pursue an official position for Zhang Ji's father. Zhang Ji didn't say much, but advised his father-in-law to calm down and take his medicine. When the patriarch of the Su family took the medicine handed over by Zhang Ji, he drank it in one gulp. Unexpectedly, the next moment, he started bleeding from all orifices and collapsed to the ground, stammering, "The medicine, was there poison in it?" Then, perplexed, he asked Zhang Ji, "Why? If you could divorce, why kill me?" "Father-in-law, I could be widowed, but cannot break off the engagement. The Zhang family values integrity." This statement made everything clear to the patriarch of the Su family. With his last bit of strength, he glared at Zhang Ji. "You are even more ruthless than Shenlang." Before dying, the patriarch truly regretting having made ties with such a wolf as Zhang Chong. Then Zhang Ji took out a forged will, placed it in a safe, and returned to Su Chanqian's room. He glanced at Su Chanqian. His trembling hand ultimately didn't touch Su Chanqian's pretty face. He silently said to her, "Chanqian, you're so smart, so beautiful. I truly like you. Sleep, Chanqian. After you fall asleep, all troubles will vanish." After Zhang Ji stepped outside, several figures in black doused the Su family's courtyard with oil. The next moment, a great fire blazed up instantly, and this fire, as Zhang Chong stated, was their way of not breaking the engagement. Soon, Su Chanqian's cries for help could be heard from inside, but the door was locked, and Su Chanqian couldn't escape. In disbelief, she yelled, "Husband, save me. It wasn't you who set the fire, was it?" "Zhang Ji, why are you doing this?" "Zhang Ji, you're so cruel. Even more so than Shenlang. I must have been blind." With an expressionless face, Zhang Ji muttered, "Chanqian, life is too full of suffering. Have a good sleep, and there will be no more pain." The great fire at the Su family's residence finally drew attention from the outside, and by the next day, news of the Su family's fire had spread throughout mythical Turtle City, despite City Lord Lu personally leading hundreds of soldiers to fight the fire, and Zhang Ji making multiple attempts to rush into the flames. He was unable to save his fiancée. The patriarch of the Su family, Su Chanqian, and the third son of the Su family either committed suicide or were burned to death. The once great Su family was almost completely wiped out, leaving only the patriarch's blind old mother and a child under the age of 5. The forged suicide note by Zhang Ji pointed the finger of blame at Shenlang of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Zhang Ji also held a grand funeral for the Su family. The young child of the Su family was too young to endure, so Zhang Ji personally acted as a filial son, kneeling in front of the memorial hall. For every guest that arrived, he knelt down to pay his respects. Zhang Chong attended the Su family's funeral, and even acknowledged the mother of the Su family's patriarch as his adoptive mother, drawing astonishment from all present. The unrest in mythical Turtle City wasn't limited to the Su family. The territory of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion also saw the arrival of uninvited guests, who committed acts of burning, killing, and looting against the villagers. They were immediately discovered by the Count's mansion's patrolling cavalry. Long before, this man with a scar, who had conflicts with Shenlang, drew his sword and charged at the villains. Unexpectedly, his full-force strike was easily blocked, and under the mocking smile of the opponent, his sword shattered instantly, and the man with the scar was sent flying. Jean's sword lady's expression immediately became serious. "I didn't expect the gap to be this big." Facing the pirates emanating a brutal aura, Jean's sword lady showed no fear, drawing her sword to prepare for battle. This scene, however, caught the eye of the pirate king's son, Qiu Xiao, who took a liking to Jean's sword lady's defiance. "A stubborn woman, I like it. You're mine now." Seeing this, Jean's sword lady's face was filled with disgust as she charged at Qiu Xiao, who laughed heartily. "Don't worry, I won't kill you." Just as the two were less than 2 meters apart, a huge sword collided with Qiu Xiao's curved blade first. It turned out that the newcomer was Jean Shuring, the top expert of mythical Turtle Count, and also the deputy commander of the Count's mansion's private soldiers. After the collision, both parties stepped back, and Qiu Xiao saw the mythical Turtle Count himself coming forward. He immediately addressed the mythical Turtle Count as his father-in-law. "Father-in-law has arrived." left. Chiu Xiao pays his respects to father-in-law. Where's my wife Mulan? Why isn't she here to greet me? Father Jin frowned, without responding, but questioned Chiu Xiao. Why are you here now when the time has not yet come? Chiu Xiao then took out a contract, indicating he was here for money, a total of 100,000 gold coins, to be repaid over 30 years, with an annual repayment of 9,000 gold coins including principal and interest. This was agreed upon in the peace treaty between the previous mythical turtle count and Furious Tide City. You're not going to deny this treaty between the previous mythical turtle count's mansion and Furious Tide City, are you? It turns out that the previous mythical turtle count, wanting to emulate his ancestor Jin Zhou and fighting pirates to expand his territory, ended up being defeated, with his army and fleet entirely annihilated by the Pirate King. Subsequently, due to relentless retaliations by the Pirate King, the previous mythical turtle count, unable to withstand the pressure, signed a peace treaty with Furious Tide City, agreeing to compensate them with 100,000 gold coins, the compensation to the Pirate King, the massive debt to the Hidden Origin Society, and the maintenance of 3,000 private soldiers, put such a heavy burden without exploiting the people. If not for Father Jin's conservative and even rigid way of governance, it would have been impossible for the mythical turtle count's mansion to stabilize again over 20 years. However, under the new policy, the mythical turtle count's mansion once again found itself in a difficult situation. This year, Chiu Zhao's arrival was 2 months earlier than usual, just as Father Jin was suspecting whether the Pirate King might be collaborating with Zhang Chong. Chiu Xiao asked again, where's my wife Jin Mulan? A few years ago, she lost a martial contest to me. According to our maritime rules, she's already my wife. Look at my chest. Why isn't there a tattoo? This spot is reserved especially for Mulan. Although I've had hundreds, even thousands of women, not one has taken the place on my chest. Chiu Zhao's tattoos are all portraits of women, and his reason for arriving 2 months early was because he had already received news that the mythical turtle count's mansion was on the brink of collapse. He feared that in 2 more months, his wife would no longer be there, and he couldn't bear to lose Jin Mulan, a beauty without parallel. Father Jin didn't want to hear anymore and ordered Jin Shiriying to take action. Immediately, Jin Shiriying charged at Chiu Xiao on horseback. In the moment of their clash, Jin Shiriying's giant sword broke, and he was wounded across the chest, while Chiu Xiao remained unscathed, gaining the upper hand. However, his precious horse was killed by Jin Shiriying, which made Chiu Xiao laugh out loud in excitement. As the two faced off again, exchanging taunts, it was revealed that Chiu Xiao already knew Jin Mulan had married Shenlang. Aside from wanting to kill Shenlang, he showed no other emotion. Now, seeing Jin Mulan was not present, he demanded Father Jin to pay up immediately. Father Jin, restraining his anger, remembered Shenlang's words. Chiu Xiao could not die yet. He was a major asset against Zhang Chong, a treasure to help them escape the new policy, so he needed to be kept alive until the right moment to be eliminated. Therefore, Father Jin had 3,000 gold coins brought out to give to Chiu Xiao, stating that the remaining 6,000 gold coins would be given when the contract expired. Chiu Xiao did not refuse. Before leaving, he cast a glance at Jin's sword lady, then returned with his men. Meanwhile, by another lakeside, Jin Mulan was using her lap as a pillow for Shenlang, who began to explain the method to break the meteor from beyond the heavens. Jin Mulan sat up straight to listen attentively. Practitioners of the meteor from beyond the heavens sword technique must consume a special metallic powder daily, derived from meteoric iron from beyond the heavens. Thus, their bodies contain a large amount of this special metal, creating a unique magnetic field. When they release their inner strength and true energy, it carries a natural magnetism. Therefore, the meteor from beyond the heavens sword technique is like a tornado, the natural magnetism disrupting your sword movements. Within its range, you're instantly repelled by the tempest. And with Tang Yan's decade-plus study of swordsmanship, his skill is profound. Unless your inner strength greatly exceeds Tang Yan's, there's no solution. Seeing Jin Mulan becoming more anxious as she listened, Shenlang signaled her to relax. Learning the method to break it won't take 2 hours. The secret of meteor from beyond the heavens is divided into light and dark. The front for the sword technique, the back for the method to break it. The solution is simple. A tornado is immensely powerful, but its eye is the safest place. The tornado storm of meteor from beyond the heavens also has an eye. Finding the eye breaks meteor from beyond the heavens. And crucially, during the battle with Tang Yan, you must use a wooden sword. Jin Mulan looked astonished as she studied, and she understood why. This generation's sword king wanted to kill his wife, because once the method of breaking it was exposed, the dominance of the southern sea sword island would crumble. Jin Mulan's pretty face blushed with admiration as she looked at Shenlang, and then, unable to control herself, she kissed Shenlang. After realizing what she had done, an embarrassed Jin Mulan quickly left. 3 days passed in a flash, and the Su family held their funeral. After the burial of the head of the Su family and Su Chanqian, Zhang Ji cried in sorrow until he fainted. Seeing this, the Su family's grandmother personally took out the marriage certificate, intending to return the dowry and cancel the marriage. But just then, a now awake Zhang Ji refused, snatched the marriage certificate, and crawled to Su Chanqian's grave, proclaiming, "I bow to heaven and earth." Second bow to the high hall. The couple bows to each other. From now on, Chanqian is no longer my fiancée, but my officially wedded wife, for life, and for all eternity. With such a performance, everyone inside mythical Turtle City praised Zhang Ji, as if Zhang Ji had truly become a man of deep love and loyalty in everyone's eyes. At night, at the Su family's tomb, 2 tomb robbers were digging up the grave of the head of the Su family, but upon opening the coffin, they were met with dismay, for not a single burial item was found, leaving them extremely disappointed. Then, cursing and swearing, they left. At this moment, another figure approached the tomb of the head of the Su family, put the body of the head of the Su family back into the coffin and covered it, crying as she shoveled the soil. This person was Su Chanqian, whom everyone thought was already dead. She swore a poisonous oath to avenge the Su family by any means necessary. In Su Chanqian's bedroom, there was a secret underground chamber, used to hide important documents. The original document of the dye formula given by Shenlang was also among them. After the incident with the Western region merchants, Su Chanqian immediately suspected Shenlang of playing tricks with the original document, so she went to carefully check the formula for the dye. Unexpectedly, she saw written on the back of the formula, "Zhang Ji will kill you." Although she did not understand why she had not seen these words before, Su Qianqian thought it was a divisive tactic by Shenlang. Still, she stored food and water in the secret chamber, not anticipating that Zhang Ji would act so swiftly. The gentle words spoken beside the bed and the fierce fire tormented Su Qianqian's heart, leaving her no chance to save her father. Su Qianqian soaked her clothes with the water she had originally intended to drink, then used them to block the thick smoke seeping through the cracks. The fire burned for 2 full hours, and the air in the secret chamber gradually thinned. Fear and despair overwhelmed Su Qianqian, and countless times she thought she would die then and there. Perhaps it was hatred that kept her going, not against Shenlang, but against Zhang Chong. Zhang Ji, in herself, the Su family had become a burden, and the Zhang family, unconcerned about the reputation of being cruel officials, cared about the prestige of their moral conduct. Thus, they deliberately left a half-blind old man and a naive child alive to stage a drama of deep love and loyalty. Su Qianqian, who escaped, witnessed this entire scene and was instantly engulfed by hatred. After the Zhang family dealt with the Su family, Prefect Zhang Chong and the envoy Yan Wujing from the province of the Southern Journey arrived at the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. They came to mediate the relationship between the mythical Turtle Count and the Jin High Count. Father Jin did not want to say much about Zhang Chong's insincere kindness. Zhang Chong did not hide this either and took his leave. After all, his visit was just for show. The horn signaling the strangulation of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion had officially sounded. Starting from the dispute over the Isle of Gold Mountain, tonight, the city of Mythical Turtle began its curfew early. A team of people headed towards the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, sent by the sovereign. The entire mythical Turtle Count's family knelt outside to welcome them. After a moment, a luxurious carriage stopped, and a person stepped out. This person had significant status, being the sovereign's 4th prince, followed by the governor Zhu Rong of the province of the Southern Journey. Father Jin was completely surprised. To solve our mythical Turtle Count's mansion, they actually sent a prince. The 4th prince glanced over the people of the mythical Turtle Count, especially lingering on Jin Mulan for a while, then allowed them to rise, and proceeded to the main hall of the Count's mansion, loudly proclaiming, "His Majesty decrees, mythical Turtle Count, meal to receive." The main point was to announce that the dispute over the Isle of Gold Mountain would be presided over entirely by the 4th prince. After scanning the crowd, the 4th prince did not see Shenlang present and asked, "Where is Shenlang? Isn't he the mythical Turtle Count's strategist?" The eunuch, understanding his master's intent, then asked Father Jin, "Mythical Turtle Count, why is your son-in-law Shenlang not here?" Father Jin explained, "Shenlang is not feeling well, fearing he might pass his illness to the 4th prince. He did not come out." Hearing this, the 4th prince hummed meaningfully, "I and Governor Zhu are here only to listen, not to speak. You may say anything." The next moment, a few ancient books were presented by the Jin High Count as evidence that the Isle of Gold Mountain belonged to their Tang family. Then, looking towards the 4th prince, he requested him to administer justice. The 4th prince nodded in acknowledgement. The Tang family still understands their duty as subjects. Then, turning to the mythical Turtle Count, these ancient books indeed record that the Jin High Count owns the Isle of Gold Mountain, and it is reasonable and legal. Mythical Turtle Count, do you have anything to say? Father Jin directly responded, "We object." This immediately caused the 4th prince's displeasure, not providing any documents and just saying so. "Do you not understand the rules?" However, Jin Mulan also made a clear stance. "A butcher slaughters a pig, yet expects the pig to perform well before dying. Please forgive us, we cannot do that. According to the laws of the Yu Kingdom, as a vassal, our family has the right to independent defense. Even if the feudal lord comes, he has no right to take over the Count's mansion's defense. But it seems that the laws of our ancestors do not apply anymore after hundreds of years." The 4th prince's eyes narrowed. He did not expect the confrontation to escalate so quickly. At this moment, Father Jin asked the Jin High Count, "Brother Tang, may we discuss this in the study?" Hearing that the 4th prince did not decline, Jin High Count accepted the invitation. Unexpectedly, inside the study, they encountered Shenlang. Shenlang began by saying, "The Isle of Gold Mountain has been protected by our Jin family's ancestors. Back then, it was the Jin High Marquis himself who knelt and begged our ancestor Jin Zhou to send troops, promising to gift the Isle of Gold Mountain to the Jin family after the success of their endeavors. We won't even discuss the life-saving grace our family has provided to yours for the moment. Why are you now reneging on what was promised?" These words turned Jin High Count's face extremely dark. Tang Yan's brother, Tang Yun, shamelessly retorted, "Is there any contract or evidence for giving the Isle of Gold Mountain to the Jin family 100 years ago?" Originally, there were 3 copies of this contract, one in Jin High Count's mansion, one with the sovereign, and another in the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Unfortunately, the copy in the mythical Turtle Count's mansion went missing after the sudden death of the ancestor Jin Zhou. Shenlang responded, "Fine, we can leave these old matters aside. If the mythical Turtle Count's mansion falls under the new regime, wouldn't the fire eventually reach you too? Therefore, our 2 families should unite and assist each other." However, Tang Yun merely responded with, "Better him than me." Shenlang was surprised that this saying also existed in this world. He asked, looking very distressed, "Jin High Count, must we really fight each other to the death?" Jin High Count stated outright, "I, Tang Yuan, have always been loyal to my country and emperor. I am ashamed to be associated with you." Tang Yun laughed. "Shenlang, we understand your desire to survive. Your Jin family is already finished." Reluctantly, Shenlang began to negotiate. "Let's talk. Of the iron produced by the Isle of Gold Mountain every year, 60% will go to you, and we'll keep 40%. Tang Yun merely chuckled lightly, then left the study with his father. Before they left, Shenlang put on a very pleading demeanor to retain them. After they had completely left, Shenlang spat disdainfully. In fact, Shenlang had been acting all along. That demeanor indeed misled Jin High Count and his party into thinking that Shenlang's reputation for being clever and resourceful was exaggerated, that he was merely a jumping clown. Their caution towards Shenlang dissipated. A moment later, Shenlang joined Father Jin in the main hall. The 4th prince glanced at Shenlang, then at Jin High Count, and realized realized that the mediation had failed. So, shall we proceed as per the usual tradition? Neither party had objections. Following this, the fourth prince read out the imperial decree. This time, to resolve the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute once and for all, the competition will permanently determine the ownership of the Isle of Gold Mountain. The dispute over the Isle of Gold Mountain will consist of 3 battles. The first battle is a literary contest with questions set by the sovereign. The second is a martial contest, a duel between 2 individuals. The final battle is a military contest, with each side deploying 100 men to battle until annihilation or surrender. However, the literary and martial contests must be personally undertaken by the direct descendants of the 2 families, with no replacements allowed. To outsiders, the Jin family is bound to lose in both the literary and martial contests. Jin Mutsong and Jin Mulan are unlikely to match Tang Yun and Tang Yin. Thus, the dispute over the Isle of Gold Mountain seems a certain loss for the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Following this, the mythical Turtle Count and Jin High Count each stamp the contract, confirming the agreement is irrevocable. Meanwhile, in a village within the domain of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, Su Chanqian, who had suffered the destruction of her family, was now determined to seek revenge for her Su family. For this purpose, she would even seek help from Shenlang, whom she had looked down upon. However, as Su Chanqian was heading to a village in the Count's domain, she sensed something was amiss. Suddenly, she heard some noise ahead and stealthily moved closer to investigate. The scene before her eyes shocked her. Pirates from Furious Tide City were throwing dead bodies into the well from which the villagers drank, with the goal of creating a plague. This would result in the death of thousands in the domain of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Su Chanqian cursed these pirates as beasts, but knowing she was just a weak woman, she could not stop these pirates. She intended to leave and inform Shenlang, but accidentally stepped on a branch. Just when Su Chanqian realized her mistake, the pirates had already surrounded her. Seeing that Su Chanqian was a beauty, they instantly became excited, showing greedy, lecherous smiles as they approached her. Su Chanqian urgently questioned them. Encountering a peerless beauty like me, why not present me to your young master? Aren't you afraid of dying in an ugly manner? The fat pirate leader grabbed Su Chanqian by the neck and told her, we can just not tell the young master and kill you afterwards. Su Chanqian argued logically, among you 15 pirates, there are 3 women. Are they going to sleep with me? Are they also willing to take this risk with you? Even if they don't act, do you dare guarantee others won't report you? The leader, a hefty pirate, was intimidated by her words. Previously, someone had failed to present a beauty to their young master and was flayed alive upon discovery. Reluctantly, they decided to bring Su Chanqian to their young master, foregoing their immediate desires. Su Chanqian's mind raced, thinking, I haven't avenged my family yet. I cannot give up like this. Imagining how Shenlang would handle such a situation, she quickly devised a plan. She pretended to sprain her ankle, then collapsed to the ground, scattering a few gold coins she had on her. The sight of gold made the pirate's eyes gleam, and a hefty leader quickly grabbed Su Chanqian, demanding to know where she got so many gold coins. Su Chanqian tearfully indicated, I am just a girl from a common wealthy family. The leader didn't buy it, questioning, how could a girl from a common family have so many gold coins, and wandering around during curfew? Then, placing a knife near Su Chanqian's ear, he threatened, tell the truth, or I'll cut off your ear. Su Chanqian, feigning terror, revealed her identity as the miss of the Su family. The leader, thinking she was lying, kicked her away, believing Su Chanqian had perished in the fire at her family's home. At this moment, a female pirate vouched for Su Chanqian, having seen her frequently during past transactions. The leader became even more excited, suspecting Su Chanqian held a significant secret. Su Chanqian, where were you headed in the middle of the night? Su Chanqian, looking pitiful, said, I wanted to retrieve some money from a secret treasury hidden by the Su family, and then flee far away. Upon hearing the treasury contained approximately 30,000 gold coins, the leader's eyes widened. With that much gold, why would I continue being a pirate? He immediately told his comrades, with this money, we can retire and become landlords. Blinded by the promise of gold, the leader lost all interest in Su Chanqian as a woman. Su Chanqian, lead us to the secret treasury, or I will kill you. Shortly thereafter, they arrived at the dilapidated warehouse next to the burned-down Su family home. Su Chanqian opened a secret passage, leading the pirates inside. Soon, they saw a few treasure chests, but upon opening them, found only a pitiful amount of gold coins. Furious, the hefty pirate grabbed Su Chanqian, demanding, where are the 30,000 gold coins? Su Chanqian pointed to a large porcelain jar, indicating that the gold coins were inside. The pirates hastily used a knife to try to smash the jar, only to find it incredibly hard. As they discussed how to break it open, Su Chanqian took the opportunity to run away. The hefty pirate, picking up a large wooden stick, struck the porcelain jar. The next moment, agonizing screams echoed through the cellar. This place was not a secret gold treasury, but where the Su family stored sulfuric acid. Due to the production process, the sulfuric acid, having been stored for a long time, was under high pressure inside the jar. The moment the pirates broke the jar, the container exploded. After escaping the cellar, Su Chanqian quickly blocked the exit, unmoved by their curses and screams. Once everything had quieted down, Su Chanqian was shaken, thinking, I've killed people. Then, with a twisted smile, she said, I killed 5 pirates on my own. I escaped the trap by myself. After an unknown period, when Su Chanqian emerged outside, dawn had already broken. At that moment, her gaze was incredibly determined as she looked towards the direction of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Meanwhile, Shenlang had made ample preparations for the dispute over the Isle of Gold Mountain. Starting with the literary contest, Jin Mutsong was to compete with Tang Yun in drafting a policy essay and a poem. Shenlang searched the wisdom database for ancient masterpieces, preparing 19 potential topics for Jin Mutsong and organizing 130 immortal poems for him to draw inspiration from, which was a tough challenge for Jin Mutsong. However, considering the survival of the Count's mansion, Jin Mutsong had no complaints. Jin Mulan's contest was not a major concern. The final aspect was the military contest. Analyzing the Count's mansion's 40 consecutive losses, Shenlang identified the defeat's root cause causing the significant gap in equipment. With Shenlang's intervention, things were about to change. Utilizing metallurgy data, Shenlang developed improved forging techniques. The war blade in Jean Hui's hands was a product of Shenlang's technological enhancements. Father Jean, astonished by the quality, noticed a significant difference in a test where Shenlang's forged war blade was compared against one used by Jean Haicount. The blade from Jean Haicount nearly broke, while an armor plate struck by Father Jean split in two. In contrast, armor forged with Shenlang's improvements only sustained a minor scratch, leaving Father Jean ecstatic. Shenlang had not spared any effort in his plans, intending first to use all resources to win the dispute over the Isle of Gold Mountain. His second step involved using Cliffwatch Island and the Hidden Origin Society to counterbalance each other. The third step was the Slaughter Pig strategy, turning Cliffwatch Island into bait and a trap to eliminate enemies coveting the Jean family. The final step was the Stormy Wave strategy, aiming to defeat Zhang Chong and permanently neutralize the threat of the new regime. As Shenlang was contemplating how Jean Mulan would reward him, he was informed by the butler that Su Chanqian requested to see him. Shenlang smirked. So, this woman didn't die after all. Su Chanqian, too, stood before her enemy, Shenlang. Her once pampered body bore countless scars, but she seemed unfazed. Upon meeting Shenlang, she immediately informed him, the wells in the villages within the territory have been poisoned by pirates, intending to create a plague. Hearing this, Shenlang ordered Jean Hui to lead experts to eliminate the pirates, identify which wells were poisoned, and seal them with lime before the Count's mansion allocates funds for new wells. Jean Mulan also joined the mission, leaving Su Chanqian and Shenlang alone. Su Chanqian, somewhat uneasy. My warning saved many people in the Count's mansion's territory. Shenlang, you owe me a favor now. At that moment, Shenlang suddenly addressed Su Chanqian. Su Chanqian, you've just killed someone, haven't you? Su Chanqian looked shocked, unable to comprehend how Shenlang could tell, but Su Chanqian didn't care. Instead, she gritted her teeth and said, I want to take revenge, to destroy Zhang Chong and Zhang Ji, to make them die without a place to be buried. Can you do it? Yes, but are you willing to pay any price? Any price. Seeing Su Chanqian nod, Shenlang pinched Su Chanqian's chin and asked her again, really any price? I said, any price. Su Chanqian replied firmly, slowly lifting her skirt. However, Shenlang turned his head and said, no, you're not sincere. Then what do you want? You haven't bathed for days, and you still claim to be sincere? If you were truly earnest, you would have made yourself clean and fragrant long ago. An exasperated Su Chanqian wanted to curse at Shenlang, but after teasing her, Shenlang seriously told her, enough, I don't need you to do anything for me. I just need you to go to a place, to do one thing, to seduce someone, and that someone is the daughter of the pirate king of Furious Tide City, the young lady of Furious Tide City, Zhou Yaoer. Hearing this, Su Chanqian's pretty face turned pale. Isn't she the notorious killer who has slain men all over the world? But she's especially nice to women, especially beautiful and fragile ones. Although she didn't understand what Shenlang was up to, she liked men, so she refused Shenlang. Shenlang was speechless. Didn't you say you'd do anything for revenge? Su Chanqian shook her head. Even in seeking revenge, I need to stay alive. Furious Tide City will surely join the siege on the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Qiu Tianwei is in collusion with Zhang Chong. If I go to Furious Tide City, wouldn't I be walking into a trap? Zhang Chong and his allies have already spun a vast web over the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, and behind them, the real power intent on destroying the Jean family is the sovereign. No matter how clever you are, it's like throwing eggs against a rock. You have unparalleled wisdom and should not be confined to this small place. You should be assisting someone with greater power. For example, the third prince. Because Zhang Chong is the crown prince's man, if we want to eliminate them, we can only seek refuge with the third prince. The third prince is now the sovereign's favorite son. If you are willing, I will go and offer myself to become his concubine. Then, you could become the third prince's advisor, and I would act as his financier. Together, we could become confidants of the third prince, ensuring a future of glory, wealth, and power. However, if you cannot bear it, I can be your concubine. However, Shenlang found Su Chanqian too smelly. Chanqian, your scent is too strong. I can hardly stand it. Angry Su Chanqian distanced herself from Shenlang. How about it? Come with me now, and let's seek refuge with the third prince together. But Shenlang refused without hesitation. Su Chanqian was puzzled. The mythical Turtle City was about to fall, and Shenlang's actions would surely lead to his dismemberment by those people. Shenlang just smiled. I've only said one thing. I want to protect my family. Su Chanqian was incredulous. Ridiculous. A person like you having feelings? Shenlang responded, nonsense. Not to mention others. Just you and me. A couple for a night owes 100 days of grace. I still have feelings for you. But this statement made Su Chanqian's gaze murderous. If you really had feelings, would you let my family be destroyed? Seeing Shenlang so resolute, knowing she couldn't sway him, she planned to leave. Next year at this time, I will offer sacrifices for you. After all, a couple for a night owes 100 days of grace. Shenlang called out to her. Su Chanqian was puzzled. What, do you want to detain me? Shenlang looked reluctant to part. You, a frail woman, going to the third prince is like a lamb entering a tiger's den. I can't bear it. Su Chanqian cursed at Shenlang. Pa, do you care about my life or death? Stop pretending to be reluctant. Shenlang suddenly became serious and countered Su Chanqian. Do you think in the struggle for the Isle of Gold Mountain, we are bound to lose? To this end, Shenlang and Su Chanqian made a bet. If they win the conflict on the Isle of Gold Mountain, she would follow his plan to go to Furious Tide City and seduce Zhou Yaoer. If he loses, they would together seek refuge with the third prince. Su Chanqian hesitated. Although there's no guarantee of Shenlang's character, his abilities are undeniable. Maybe he really has a way to turn the tables. Su Chanqian chose to trust Shenlang once more. Shortly after, Jean Mulan came to Shenlang's study after taking a bath, informing him, all the pirates have been killed, all the poison has been burned, all the contaminated wells have been treated with lime and then sealed. Unexpectedly, Jean Mulan suddenly asked about Shenlang's delicate ex-wife. Where did your delicate ex-wife go? Her tone almost spilling with jealousy. Shenlang replied with a smile. Su Chanqian left. Jean Mulan countered. Left? What did you do do to Su Chanqian? Pretending to be outraged, Shenlang responded, Jean Mulan, can't you trust me a bit? Am I that kind of person? Jean Mulan's cheeks blushed slightly as she kissed Shenlang, rewarding him for his fidelity. Yet Shenlang expressed regret, all my chastity, and I only get a kiss. Jean Mulan said, my lord, I want to kill Qiu Xiao. This person is inhumane and deserves to die. Shenlang hugged Jean Mulan's waist. Soon, very soon. Now Qiu Xiao is still valuable and can't be killed, but his days are numbered. We won't let him die easily. But at dusk, Zhang Chong sent an invitation, asking Shenlang to attend a banquet hosted by the fourth prince alone. Shenlang, taking the invitation, remarked, only me, not inviting Mulan? Interesting. Meanwhile, at the Zhang family mansion, Zhang Chong signaled to his son, tonight, the cousin of Shu Tingyu from the Hidden Origin Society, Miss Qi of the Qi family, will come. You should get close to her. The Qi family is known as the wealthy spice magnates. Besides agreeing, what puzzled Zhang Ji was the reason for inviting Shenlang. Zhang Chong explained it was to test Shenlang. This made Zhang Ji even more puzzled. Isn't the mythical turtle Count already doomed to lose in the Isle of Gold Mountain conflict? Zhang Chong slightly shook his head, teaching Zhang Ji a lesson. There's no such thing as a sure win in this world. We should despise the enemy strategically, but take them seriously tactically. Then he asked Zhang Ji to call his sister, Zhang Chanhua, over. When Zhang Chanhua arrived at the study, Zhang Ji immediately asked her, can you take down Shenlang tonight? Zhang Chanhua, hands on her hips and full of confidence on her charming face, replied, Father, what do you think? Zhang Chong, somewhat speechless, simply stated, go, take down Shenlang. Meanwhile, at the mythical Turtle City Lord's mansion, the venue for the banquet, Zhu Wending and his son, who had previously been tricked by Shenlang, were preparing to attend the fourth prince's evening banquet. They planned to use the relationship with Zhu Rong, the governor's distant relative, to propose marriage to Zhang Chong, making it difficult for him to refuse. He warned his son Zhu Wenhua, before this, you must not reveal our intentions because Zhang Chong is unaware of this. We will settle it with a single blow when the time comes. The cunning Zhu Wending had already thought about the benefits to be divided after the downfall of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Since Zhang Chong is the host, as long as we are married into the Zhang family, we can also partake and bite off a big piece of the profits from the corpse. At the same time, on his way to the banquet, Shenlang spent 200 gold coins on a new outfit and reminded himself not to give anything away tonight, not letting Zhang Chong, that cunning old fox, sniff out the truth. Suddenly, Shenlang heard a guard say, be careful, young master. When he regained his senses, he saw Zhang Chanhua already inside the carriage. Shenlang, save me, save me. Tonight, someone wants to ruin my lifelong happiness. Elope with me, let's turn the raw rice into cooked rice. In reality, Zhang Chanhua was testing Shenlang's reaction. If Shenlang showed excitement and was more frivolous than her, it would mean he was very confident about the Isle of Gold Mountain conflict. If Shenlang sat upright and seriously refused her, it would indicate that Shenlang was disguising his true feelings, and they should be wary. Shenlang's reaction was to first freeze, then appear attracted by Zhang Chanhua's beauty. This convinced Zhang Chanhua that Shenlang had no plan for the Isle of Gold Mountain conflict. After all, the initial pause showed Shenlang was preoccupied, and his dazed eyes indicated his despair. Now heating up again only shows he's attracted by my beauty. At this moment, Shenlang signaled Jin Hui to keep driving. He was fine. Then he asked Zhang Chanhua, Miss Zhang, what were you saying just now? Shenlang, save me, save me. Someone is about to ruin my lifelong happiness. Shenlang said that's not right. Next line, turn the raw rice into cooked rice. Shenlang smiled and nodded, signaling Zhang Chanhua. Alright, let's start then. The conversation heard inside scared Jin Hui to death. Was this something he was supposed to hear? When he heard Shenlang asking if he heard anything, he quickly said no. Inside the carriage, Zhang Chanhua stopped Shenlang's advances, blushing and indicating this is on the main road though. However, Shenlang didn't listen and was about to kiss Zhang Chanhua. Zhang Chanhua was truly panicked, not expecting Shenlang to actually go through with it. But suddenly, Shenlang stopped his movements, causing Zhang Chanhua to be suspicious. Young Master Shen, what's wrong? Shenlang said, Miss Zhang, haven't you always had a crush on me? Last time, you even wrote me a love poem and invited me to meet at the covered bridge. I was stopped by my wife as I was leaving and she beat me up. Zhang Chanhua looked surprised. Is Jean Mulan that fierce? Yes, she's quick to hit and scold me. Just now, she almost broke my arm, all because I accidentally misspoke. Zhang Chanhua began to comfort Shenlang again and, with a flushed face, asked him, Shenlang, then do you like me? Shenlang nodded, I do. Seeing this, Zhang Chanhua pressed further. Then, do you want to be with me forever? Shenlang nodded twice. Zhang Chanhua then placed Shenlang's hand on her face. How about you leave the mythical Turtle Count's mansion and become a son-in-law in my family? Not a live-in son-in-law, but a son-in-law, and my father will find you an excellent future that will not disappoint your talent. However, Shenlang refused, holding Zhang Chanhua tight and saying, I can't leave the mythical Turtle Count's mansion at the most dangerous time. Wouldn't that make me heartless and a scoundrel? I can't betray my wife. Hearing this, Zhang Chanhua, with a darkened face, asked Shenlang, then what are you doing right now? Shenlang, with a look of deep affection, replied, I love Jean Mulan, but I also love you. How about this? If there's a major upheaval in the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, I'll come to marry you then. Zhang Chanhua was utterly speechless. Wow, so I'm just a backup plan? At this point, Shenlang asked Zhang Chanhua, Chanhua, have you ever heard the saying, it's not about lasting forever, but about having once possessed. Everything is past and gone, so we should enjoy the moment. If love is enduring, then it doesn't matter whether it's every day or occasionally. A single moment of meeting is worth more than countless others. Zhang Chanhua was initially admiring Shenlang's eloquent and beautiful poetry, but then Shenlang wanted to turn the raw rice into cooked rice again. Zhang Chanhua felt helpless. Such a talented scoundrel. I've never seen one like you before. Shenlang, do you only want my body? If you had to choose between me and Jean Mulan, who would it be? Shenlang shook his head, clearly choosing Jean Mulan. Zhang Chanhua, puzzled, asked, why? Doesn't Jean Mulan mistreat you every day? My wife may mistreat me 1,000 times, but I treat her as if it's first love. So, Zhang Chanhua, I do like you, but I'm sorry, she came first. But who says love can only be singular? Have you ever seen a teapot pot that only has one teacup? This statement led Zhang Chanhua to slap Shenlang, cursing him as a shameless scoundrel. I must have been blind to have fallen for you. Then she ran out of the carriage without looking back. Jin Hui, pale-faced and trembling, said, Young master, I swear I didn't see anything, and I won't talk nonsense when I get home. Shenlang shook his head. How can you say you didn't see anything? It was clearly Zhang Chanhua who came to seduce me, and then I firmly rejected her. I even got slapped. Hearing this, Jin Hui nodded frantically, understanding Shenlang's implication. Satisfied with this, Shenlang began to admire his own handsomeness again. Meanwhile, in another part of the banquet hall, Zhang Chong saw his daughter return and asked how it went. Upon hearing this, Zhang Chanhua exploded in anger. Scum, jerk, pervert, a ghost deserving of 1,000 cuts. To see him is to know he's the lowest of the low. Seeing his daughter like this, Zhang Chong realized she had suffered a loss, but still inquired if she had managed to test Shenlang. If you don't like Shenlang, I won't force you. However, Zhang Chanhua shook her head. It's not that I dislike him. Though he's a scoundrel, he's an enchanting one. Then she turned and left to take a bath. Not long after, at the entrance to the Lord's mansion banquet, when Zhang Chanhua saw Shenlang, she behaved like a proper lady. But as they brushed past each other, Shenlang found a note in his hand. The note was a plea for help from Zhang Chanhua, asking Shenlang to stop Zhu Wenhua's marriage proposal. As the fourth prince's banquet began, Zhang Ji introduced the dignitaries present to Shenlang, including the heir of the peaceful stability count's mansion. Shenlang nodded in greeting. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside. The guest of honor, the fourth prince, had arrived, followed by Zhang Chong and his entourage. Shenlang glanced around and noticed the absence of Jin Hai Count and others, likely avoiding the event to prevent the impression of royal favoritism. However, he noticed Chiyu, the daughter of the spice magnate, standing beside Zhang Chanhua. Despite not being from a scholarly family, she exhibited more of a scholarly aura than the others, with a strong sense of cunning. Moments later, the banquet officially started. While the host was introducing local delicacies to the fourth prince, Zhu Wenhua couldn't wait to confront Shenlang. Shenlang, I heard that your mythical turtle count's mansion owes a lot to the Hidden Origin Society, a debt you can't repay in this lifetime. If the mythical turtle count's mansion falls, what will become of you, brother Shen? Shenlang nonchalantly responded, it's yet to be seen who will have the last laugh. Brother Zhu, you speak too soon. Unbeknownst to Zhu Wenhua, his father was somewhat disappointed in him. Now was not the time to trouble Shenlang, who was seen as doomed, but to propose marriage to Zhang Chong to get a piece of the mythical turtle count's mansion. The next moment, Zhu Lanting stood up, toasting Zhu Rong the governor, hinting at something. Although Zhu Lanting and Zhu Rong shared the same surname, they were distant relatives. Zhu Rong's willingness to facilitate the match was not because of their distant kinship, but due to Zhang Chunhua's enchanting and potentially troublesome beauty. He feared losing control over Zhang Chong if Zhang Chunhua married into the royal family. During the conversation, he looked towards Zhu Wenhua. Zhu Wenhua, I've heard of your talent. Why not seize this opportunity to recite a poem for everyone's enjoyment? Zhu Wenhua indicated he was ready, and his gaze shifted towards Zhang Chanhua, showing that his poem was dedicated to her. On the surface, Zhang Chanhua appeared expectant, but inside, she was cursing. If this continues, I really will have to marry Zhu Wenhua. Then Zhu Wenhua unfolded his fan and recited the poem he had written with great emotion. The Miss Qi of the Qi family was the first to applaud, praising the poem. Then, looking enviously at Zhang Chanhua, she said, the poem is truly beautiful. Sister Chanhua, he is praising your virtues. Zhang Chanhua could only respond awkwardly. However, after seeing her father also praise Zhu Wenhua, she desperately looked toward Shenlang. Shenlang, you scoundrel, won't you come and save me? You've taken so much advantage of me. Isn't it only right that you help me now? Among those present, no one could openly stop Zhu Rong's matchmaking. Some didn't want to offend Zhu Rong, while others cared about their reputation and didn't want to be branded as villains, like the fourth prince. Only Shenlang, being everyone's enemy here, didn't care about Zhu Rong's opinion. Shenlang then spoke up, questioning, Zhu Wenhua, is there any point in praising the daughter of the Zhang prefect like this? Comparing her to the purest jade and vying with the orchids for fragrance, don't you find that too exaggerated? Zhu Wenhua looked coldly at Shenlang. What do you mean by that? Shenlang smiled and retorted, I just dislike your exaggerated poetry and flattery. We're all men here. Such groveling to women, elevating them beyond reason, is like inflating the price of meat. When all men can no longer afford a wife, not a single sycophant is innocent. Zhang Chunhua's eyes filled with blood upon hearing this. Shenlang, is this how you save me? By pushing me into a pit and then offering a hand to pull me out? The fourth prince also scolded Shenlang, inflating the price of meat? Shenlang, do you realize that with those words, all women will see you as an enemy? Is this the extent of your talent to produce such vile and lowly words? Just for that comment alone, you deserve a slap. Zhu Wenhua, seeing the fourth prince scolding Shenlang, wore a look of smug mockery toward Shenlang. As for Zhu Wenhua, Shenlang really didn't want to say anything more. Idiot, do you really think the fourth prince is helping you? He's just not wanting Zhu Rong to propose marriage for you. That's why he's deliberately adding fuel to the fire, highlighting these four words as extremely vulgar. Because such vulgar words are loved by the common folk, they'll become widely spread as slang, potentially turning into an idiom or proverb. By then, Zhu Wenhua, you'll become synonymous with a sycophant, and Zhang Chanhua will become associated with meat. Therefore, Zhang Chanhua looked at Shenlang with anger. Being a talented woman herself, how could she not understand Shenlang's intentions? As for the naive Zhu Wenhua, still challenging Shenlang, if you think my poem is not good, then please write one for Miss Zhang Chanhua. I'd like to see how outstanding and dignified it is. Shenlang certainly satisfied him. However, this poem is not for Zhang Chanhua, but for Miss Chiyu. The involved Chiyu was completely bewildered. I don't know young Master Shen. Shameless Shenlang didn't care. Miss Chi may not know me, but I have been spiritually acquainted with you for a long time, effectively silencing Chiyu. This time Zhang Chanhua spoke up. I actually want to hear young Master Shen's poem. Sister Chi is both beautiful and wise, a heavenly being, and no praise is too much for her. Shenlang then stepped forward, announcing his poem was titled to Chiyu. Shenlang recited his poem. The Su family seeks noble connections, visiting the powerful. Zhang, a gentleman with talent, yet lacks sincerity. Pity the flames that start startle in the dead of night. No sight of Qian Qian, only ghostly spirits emerge. The poem had just been recited. Zhang Ji immediately stood up, all because the poem spoke of the Su family seeking wealth and status, and wanting to ally with the powerful and influential Zhang family. But Zhang Ji, despite his talents, lacked virtue. Far from bringing wealth and glory to his family, this move invited disaster that led to their downfall. Zhang Ji wanted to erupt in anger, but found it inappropriate to do so. He could only forcibly sit down, suppressing his feelings. Xinlang's poem was a direct confrontation, clearly stating, if Ji Yu intends to marry Zhang Ji, consider first the tragic fate of the former Su Qianqian. Governor Zhu Rong marveled at Xinlang's prowess, a genius, using poetry as his weapon. At this moment, Zhu Wenhua was internally anxious, worried that Xinlang had complicated matters. It was then his father stepped forward. He reported to the fourth prince about an issue. It was regarding a book Xinlang had written, Boundless Romantic Affairs. In it, a character, a concubine named Li Pinger, shared a name with one of fourth prince's concubines. Thus, he felt Xinlang's book was an insult to the fourth prince, asking the fourth prince to punish him. What Zhu Lanting didn't know was, the fourth prince had read Boundless Romantic Affairs and understood what was said. But in Yu Kingdom, it was rare to be punished for one's words or writings, because once a minister seized upon some text as a pretext for attack, it could set a precedent, leading to a plethora of literary cases, causing all scholars to live in fear. The fourth prince could not bear such a responsibility. In his zeal to punish Xinlang, Zhu Lanting had also apprehended Deng Xian, responsible for printing and selling Xinlang's works. Watching Deng Xian plead for Xinlang's help, the fourth prince internally calculated, if Xinlang were to be killed now, and the mythical turtle count seized the opportunity to declare the contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain null and void, that would be troublesome. But Deng Xian's death would be inconsequential. Not only would it not affect anything, it would also preserve the royal family's dignity. Therefore, the fourth prince decided not to punish Xinlang. Instead, he planned to punish Deng Xian with 20 heavy beatings. However, at this moment, Zhang Chong stood up, indicating he had an idea. That was to have Xinlang compose another poem, but this poem must defend Deng Xian. If the poem was well crafted, Deng Xian would be acquitted. Hearing Zhang Chong's condition, the fourth prince was initially confused, until Zhang Chong said, of course, this poem must not only defend Deng Xian, but also express your sentiments regarding the situation of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, especially since the contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain is imminent. A decisive moment that will determine the fate of the Jin family is approaching. You must be moved. Not only did the fourth prince understand, Xinlang also felt a chill in his heart. He cursed Zhang Chong as an old fox. Poetry comes from the heart. It can reflect a person's emotions. In such haste, it's even harder to refine. It must come straight from the soul. But seeing Deng Xian's plea for help, Xinlang couldn't remain indifferent. Yet the poem had to reflect his love for the Count's mansion and also display a pessimism about the future. Otherwise, it would give the game away. Xinlang's deliberation lasted only a few seconds. He then verbally agreed. Zhang Chong gestured for him to proceed. Xinlang closed his eyes and was silent for a moment. Then he began to recite. In the late evening, the lamp is not bright. Alone, I appear at the grand feast. The setting sun is infinitely beautiful, but it's about to fall into dusk. Upon hearing this, Zhang Chanhua was shocked and slightly opened her mouth. The poem not only matched the mood, but the use of the words for lamp, appear, not, and fall. Wasn't it a homophone for Deng Xian's innocence? The fourth prince internally marveled at the brilliance. He actually did it. Xinlang's poetic talent is astonishing. Governor Zhu Rong felt the same. This poem perfectly conveys the situation Xinlang himself is in. At this point, Xinlang mentioned he was feeling unwell, saying they would meet again at the Isle of Gold Mountain in 4 days. With that, he turned and left. What they couldn't see was that on the other side, Xinlang was already planning how to kill them in 4 days. After Xinlang left, the banquet continued. Zhu Lanting began his probing, signaling to the fourth prince and others, the fall of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion is imminent. We should take in talents like Xinlang into our residence. But the fourth prince slightly shook his head, saying his father did not like him, and thus ended the topic. This came as a surprise to Zhu Lanting, who had been worried that Xinlang's talent might lead him to other influential figures, and that he might have to fear retribution. Now, with a single sentence about the sovereign's dislike, Xinlang is doomed. Shortly after the banquet, within the Zhang family's old mansion, Zhang Chanhua was visibly furious. She thought the Zhu Lanting father and son deserved to die, feeling her father was blind to want to marry her to Zhu Wenhua. Seeing his daughter glaring at him, Zhang Chong felt helpless in his heart, lamenting that the situation is now completely different from before. The current situation has changed dramatically, with new policies sweeping away the old. Both the Northern Guard Marquis and Distant Guard Marquis, two major figures, have compromised. The old nobility is leaderless, already disunited. Zhu Lanting's family is indeed no longer the best choice, so he also wanted his daughter to find another man she liked. Zhang Chanhua, unable to contain her anger, questioned her father. Do you think my heart is a toilet, allowing men to come and go as they please? I am unrestrained, but not promiscuous. Hearing this, Zhang Chong's face darkened as he covered his head, and Zhang Chanhua seriously asked her father, Father, is Xinlang truly doomed? Zhang Chong shook his head. The sovereign's view of him cannot be changed. No one dares to employ him. Don't worry, your father will definitely find you a better man. Hearing this, Zhang Chanhua looked sorrowful. Ah, none better than Xinlang are as interesting. You got me involved with him, and now the consequences have arrived. I fear even if I marry someone else, I'll still end up seeking him out for an affair. Zhang Chong, resigned, told Zhang Chanhua to stop being dramatic, and mentioned Xinlang's behavior tonight was problematic. Zhang Chanhua was puzzled. His last poem was a genuine expression of despair and desolation. However, Zhang Chong wasn't referring to Xinlang's poem, but to Xinlang's actions. He was too eager to save Deng Xian, a person facing certain death. How could he still be in the mood to save others? Deng Xian was just his publisher. They were acquaintances without emotional ties. Facing his own end, Xinlang should have been extremely despondent, his senses numbed, a natural instinct of human nature, a mental self-defense. Yet, he cared about the life and death of someone irrelevant, so Xinlang's behavior was very abnormal. Zhang Chanhua, after listening, felt her father made a lot of sense. However, the contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain Mansion is already without suspense. In the 3 contests of literature and martial arts, the mythical Turtle Count's mansion is bound to lose. There's no doubt about that, right? Zhang Chong agreed with this point, so Zhang Chunhua thought that Shenlang had already considered his way out. Once the mythical Turtle Count's mansion falls, he would be activated. Then, father, will you be able to spare Shenlang's life when the time comes? Zhang Chong did not respond, leaving his intentions unclear. Meanwhile, Shenlang returned to the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Jean Mulan glanced at him and asked, "Is Zhang Chunhua pretty?" Shenlang instantly opened his mouth, realizing Jean Mulan must have followed him. He immediately went behind Jean Mulan to massage her shoulders, never mentioning that Jean Mulan's action was to follow him. "My lady, you are worried about my safety, so you've been protecting me in secret. You are so good to me. I am so moved." However, Jean Mulan just smiled and indicated, "Men occasionally going out to play their roles is understandable to me, as long as the heart is at home. As long as one does not stray in spirit, it's not considered straying." These words instantly made Shenlang feel a chill down his spine. Thus, Shenlang began his diversion tactic. "My lady, I made a mistake today. Zhang Chong has been probing me, first sending Zhang Chunhua and then asking me to compose a poem. I handled everything without any mistakes, except for a small oversight that let Zhang Chong see some flaws." Jean Mulan's attention was successfully diverted. She looked at Shenlang seriously. "If I were in danger, I would save you first." These words moved Shenlang deeply, holding Jean Mulan tightly in his arms. "I feel the same, because you are more important to me than myself. No one can replace your place in my heart." However, Jean Mulan whispered in Shenlang's ear, "Then why does a teapot not match with just one teacup?" Shenlang tightened his grip on Jean Mulan's hand. "Nonsense, my lady. I'm already doing my best to deal with you alone. How could I have the energy to bother with others? You really are overthinking." Jean Mulan, satisfied, playfully scolded Shenlang as annoying. "My lord, is it a problem that Zhang Chong saw some flaws?" Shenlang indicated it was not a problem, but just in case, we still need to make some arrangements. I hope no one will be targeted by my decisive actions. However, at the Zhang family's residence, they had already begun dividing up the spoils for after the fall of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Those present were essentially the main force against the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. For their own interests, they also started to vie for shares. Some wanted all of the mythical Turtle Count's mines, others wanted all the salt fields, and still others wanted thousands of acres of fertile land, among other things. If not satisfied, there was even a tendency to turn hostile. Zhang Chong watched the scene. He did not participate in the division, because no matter how the spoils were divided, the mythical Turtle Count's fiefdom and army were the sovereigns, and Zhang Chong did not want treasures, nor properties. He only wanted a future, specifically the position of governor of the glamorous province. The marriage between Zhang Ji and Miss Qi of the Qi family was already a certainty, just waiting for the right moment to announce. Then, with the wealth of the hidden origin society, the position of governor was almost guaranteed. So, as long as the mythical Turtle Count's mansion falls, Zhang Chong would rise to a new peak of power. Meanwhile, inside the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, the sound of Jean Mutsong's constant scribbling could be heard. Shenlang had given him topics and poems, which he had copied hundreds of times. He had memorized what needed to be remembered. Yet despite this, Jean Mutsong was still afraid of losing the Tang Yun and dooming his family's fate. Shenlang, hearing this, comforted him. "Losing is normal. Winning would be strange. You don't have to worry about this match." Shenlang gave Jean Mutsong a bunch of portraits, telling Jean Mutsong to take a good rest. There wasn't much Shenlang could do for Jean Mutsong, but easing his mood was still possible. Soon after, inside Jean Mulan's bedroom, even someone as strong as Jean Mulan worried about losing to Tang Yan, worried about what to do if Tang Yan didn't use meteor from beyond the heavens. Shenlang patted her head. "Don't worry, Mulan, follow my lead, and you won't go wrong." Initially, because of Shenlang's tight embrace, Jean Mulan complained that it was uncomfortable, asking Shenlang to loosen his grip. Shenlang complied, but Jean Mulan then turned around and hugged Shenlang tightly, anxiously asking him, "My lord, everything is under your control, right? No matter what happens, you have a solution, so our family will definitely win, right?" Seeing Jean Mulan in this vulnerable state, Shenlang, with a smile yet firm tone, responded to her, "In heaven and earth, across the seas into the wilderness, only I am unbeatable." Jean Mulan immediately wiped her tears and exclaimed, "In 3 days, we will definitely annihilate them." Time swiftly advanced to 3 days later. To demonstrate fairness, the contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain was set in the new river hunting grounds, a location unaffiliated with either the Jean or Tang families. The decisive 3 contests that would determine the fate of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion were to unfold here. Though nominally a hunting ground, it was actually a vast military camp. The competition between the 2 families attracted countless spectators, curious whether the mythical Turtle Count's mansion could survive. After all, from what was evident, the mythical Turtle Count was undoubtedly doomed to defeat. Of course, there were also those who disliked Jean Hai Count, considering that during the ancestors of the Jean family, Jean Hai Count was merely a dog. At this time, the referees appeared, and they were significant figures, because for the contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain, Zhu Rong the governor could not serve as referee, nor could the 4th prince, who was to announce the sovereign's decree. The referees had to meet 3 criteria: highly virtuous and respected, top-tier nobility, and of a detached status. These 3 were the former crown prince's grand tutor, the sovereign's uncle, and the head of Yu Kingdom's Ministry of War. Apart from the one still in office at the Ministry of War, the other 2 had long retired from politics, living their final years in peace, unable to refuse the sovereign's decree. Thus, they were present, but they were all of an age close to death. Everything else they could let go of, except their reputations. In short, this contest was to be absolutely fair and just. The mythical Turtle Count's families respectfully greeted each other. Father Jean understood in his heart. The sovereign deemed their Jean family undoubtedly doomed to defeat, and disdained to intervene. Subsequently, the rules of the contest were announced. Whether in martial or military battles, injuries and deaths were inevitable due to the dangerous nature of weapons, so signing a life and death agreement was required. In fact, the mythical Turtle Count and Jean Hai Count had clashed many times with numerous casualties. Even the heirs of both families faced uncertain fates. contests. 2 generations of heirs from the mythical Turtle Count's mansion died in contests, and Gene High Count's mansion had even lost 3 generations of young masters. Since then, Gene High Count learned his lesson, specifically selecting someone within the family to train in martial arts, but this person could not be the heir. Thus, Tang Yen, obsessed with martial arts, emerged. His existence was initially just for the Isle of Gold Mountain contest, but now, with his exceptional martial skills, he would become the next Southern Sea Sword King, a Grandmaster of Yu Kingdom. The contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain was no longer a concern for Tang Yen. At this moment, the sovereign's uncle presented the literary contest topics, personally chosen by the sovereign. Apart from the sovereign, no one knew what the topics were. Father Gene and another were called forward to inspect the seal, ensuring it was intact. After verifying its condition, the box was kept by the 3 of them, to be officially opened only on the day of the literary contest. Gene High Count was indifferent. Gene Mutsung could not possibly be a match for his family's Tang Yun. Meanwhile, Shenlang activated his perspective eye. Scanning the box, he was slightly surprised. I gave Gene Mutsung so many topics, and not a single one was a match. But no matter, your brother-in-law will soon help you draft a groundbreaking strategic essay, then a millennium-defining poem that will astonish everyone, including top scholar Tang Yun, and shock everyone. It's just that time is tight, and you'll have to stay up late copying furiously again. After both parties confirmed, a quarter of an hour later, the first martial contest will begin. Just 2 minutes before the contest started, Tang Yen was still curiously looking at a mosquito, simply because he had just failed to hit it. I think I need to study this carefully, to see if I can figure something out. His brother, Tang Yun, looked incredulous. Such an important match, and you're focused on a mosquito. But never mind, Jean Mulan won't be able to defeat him anyway. At that moment, Gene High Count reminded Tang Yen, you can defeat Jean Mulan and cripple her martial arts, but do not kill her. There are many important people interested in her. Also, absolutely do not damage her skin, or leave scars on her, as that would displease the important people. Would a wound as small as a hair be acceptable? Yes. To flap more than 2,000 times in a single breath, mosquitoes are indeed formidable. Time was up. It was Tang Yan's turn to enter the arena. When Tang Yan arrived at the New River Hunting Grounds Hall, Jean Mulan had already been waiting in the arena for a long time, and behind her sat people associated with the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Behind Tang Yan were the nobles who showed they did not oppose the new policies and submitted to the sovereign. As for the other side, it was the neutral seating. Listening to Zhang Ji and Qi Yu predicting the winner, Zhang Chunhua scoffed disdainfully in her heart, very curious about what Shenlang was planning. At this moment, Shenlang's lips couldn't stop curving upwards. Jean Mulan, let these people truly witness your strength. With the sound of a drum, the first martial contest began. When Tang Yan saw Jean Mulan's beauty, he understood why his father had instructed him not to harm Jean Mulan. Even he, who had no interest in women, was stunned by Jean Mulan's appearance. In the next moment, Tang Yan unleashed the meteor from beyond the heavens, a technique perfected over tens of millions of sword swings throughout the years. Under his brother Tang Yan's expectant gaze, Jean Mulan drew a wooden sword. To the astonishment of everyone present, Jean Mulan's pupils dilated slightly, for she had found the eye of the storm and meteor from beyond the heavens. The sole flaw, her wooden sword easily penetrated the wind pressure, striking Tang Yan directly. In an instant, meteor from beyond the heavens was broken, and Tang Yan was sent flying, crashing heavily to the ground. Jean Mulan had defeated Tang Yan in seconds, leaving the arena in utter silence, an outcome no one had anticipated, and all the more shocking for being accomplished with a wooden sword. Suddenly, the dropping of a water cup broke the silence. Jean High Count was trembling, unable to believe they had lost. The crowd, too, snapped back to reality, their faces filled with disbelief. Tang Yan had been defeated by Jean Mulan, and with a wooden sword, Jean Mulan had been prepared to finish Tang Yan, but upon seeing his dazed expression, she decided to spare him. Perhaps we won't be enemies in the future, and I'm also somewhat thrilled. The unbeatable Tang Yan was defeated by me, and all thanks to my husband. But then Jean Mulan noticed Shenlang, apparently exchanging flirtatious looks with Zhang Chunhua. Immediately, Jean Mulan's killing intent surged. However, 20 seconds earlier, Shenlang had felt someone watching him. Turning around, he saw it was Zhang Chunhua, who even blew him a kiss. Really, flirting with me in front of everyone. Suddenly, Shenlang felt someone else looking at him, and the gaze was filled with danger. Turning his head, he saw Jean Mulan. Shenlang immediately knew he was in trouble. Realizing that Jean Mulan had definitely seen that moment, he hurriedly began clapping and praising Jean Mulan to cover up his own inner guilt. At this time, Jean High Count was truly sweating bullets. He had never considered the possibility of losing the first match in the contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain. He even wondered if Tang Yan had taken a liking to Jean Mulan and thrown the match. Impossible. Tang Yan had no place for women in his eyes. Although Tang Yan was also sweating profusely, he still comforted his father. It's okay. It's a best-of-3 contest. Losing one match doesn't mean anything. Despite this reassurance, Jean High Count's complexion was still pale. Amid everyone's shocked and astonished reactions, only Zhang Zhong sensed something was terribly wrong, and he also understood why Shenlang had revealed flaws at the previous banquet. Today, Shenlang was even flirting with Zhang Chunhua without a hint of pessimism or despair, meaning he had absolute confidence in the remaining 2 contests. On the other side, Jean Mulan's cousin, Su Jianting, was also restless. How could Jean Mulan defeat Tang Yan if the mythical Turtle Count's mansion doesn't fall? How can I appear before Jean Mulan as a savior if you don't fall into dust? How can I save you? I won't allow any man to succeed with a woman associated with me. At this moment, Father Jean approached Jean Mulan with a smiling face. Though happy, he was not overly excited, as if all this was to be expected. After all, the contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain was assured of victory, something Shenlang had mentioned no less than 500 times. And on the field, Tang Yan had not yet recovered from his defeat. For 14 years, he had always been the one defeating his opponents in seconds. But today, it was his turn to be defeated in such a manner. Tang Yan once asked his master when he could learn sword techniques beyond meteor from beyond the heavens. He vividly remembered his master's reply: when you have been defeated, then consider learning other sword techniques. So, Tang Yan was not unable to accept his defeat. On the contrary, he was incredibly excited. Aha, I lost. I actually lost. Losing is good. To others, Tang Yan might seem overrated, but in Shenlang's eyes, a grandmaster was about to rise. Today's defeat would only make Tang Yan stronger. Yet Shenlang was not concerned, for although Jean Mulan might not be a peerless genius, she had him by her side. She would surely become a top-notch master in the future. Beside them, the sovereign's uncle, Ning Qi, inquired. Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. Sua Xian, what do you think? I don't understand martial arts. I saw it as a poem. Mighty Duke, as a grandmaster and top martial artist, what is your opinion? Do you want the truth? Of course, the truth. Who in this world could make you, Mighty Duke? Speak falsely. I've never been a fan of the meteor from beyond the heaven sword technique. All flash, no substance. But in the future realm of martial arts, Tang Yan will surely have a place. At this moment, Ning Qi stood up. Mighty Duke, your insights are profound. Ning Qi then officially announced, the first contest of the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute is over, with the mythical Turtle Count's mansion victorious. Prepare, mythical Turtle Count's mansion and Jean Hai Count's mansion for the second and third battles tomorrow. However, after the first battle, Shenlang faced Jean Mulan's judgment. Seeing Jean Mulan approaching, Shenlang hurriedly admitted his mistake. My lady, I was wrong. I truly was. Please don't twist my hand. I still need to help Jean Mutsung with his essay. Or let's not fight here. Can we go home and discuss it slowly, please? Yet Jean Mulan just bent down to look at Shenlang. I won't hit you. It's a Jean family rule. A woman should not strike her husband. Hearing this, Shenlang breathed a sigh of relief. But Jean Mulan suddenly leaned closer to Shenlang, then opened her mouth and bit Shenlang's face, signaling this as his punishment. Scoundrel husband, you need to behave, understand? Shenlang nodded promptly. Then, Shenlang accessed his brain's database, selecting an essay and a poem from the works of numerous literary giants to plagiarize. Next, he went to Jean Mutsung's room. Seeing Jean Mutsung writing furiously, he couldn't help but marvel. This young man types over 10,000 words a day. Terrifying indeed. He has the potential to become a great literary figure. Fatso, stop copying the old stuff. Copy these new articles and poems instead. This is what will be on the test tomorrow. Jean Mutsung was visibly delighted, but upon seeing Shenlang's face, Shenlang quickly interrupted him. Bitten by your sister. What about it? Your sister loves me deeply, so she bit deeply. Yet, she couldn't bear to really hurt me, much less leave a scar. Hence this perfect tooth mark on my face. Listening to Shenlang's utterly nonsensical explanation, Jean Mutsung was somewhat speechless. This is something you wouldn't understand. For someone like you, a homebody, apart from a dog, no woman would bite you. These devastating words transformed Jean Mutsung's sorrow and anger into power, and he began to copy frenziedly. Tang Yan, you just wait. So you're the top scholar, huh? In tomorrow's literary contest, I must defeat you. I'll make sure you all understand. Homebodies are not to be trifected with. Homebodies can defy the odds. Maybe then, some young lady will fall for me. Meanwhile, at Jean Hai Count's location, they had already assumed Jean Mutsung was bound to lose, so they shifted their focus to the military contest. Jean Hai Count was very confident about the military contest, thanks to his superior iron ore and forging techniques, naturally overpowering the equipment of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Zhang Chong agreed. He even secretly learned that Jean Hai Count had developed a new forging technique. Yet, that was still not enough. Defeating Shenlang would not be that simple. Jean Hai Count took Zhang Chong to the armory where the war armors were stored, handing over a battle saber forged with the new technology for Zhang Chong to inspect. This saber surprised Zhang Chong, being even better than the equipment of the nation's most elite troops. Then, Jean Hai Count brought out the best battle saber from the mythical Turtle Count's mansion for a comparison. In a direct clash, the mythical Turtle Count's saber broke, while Jean Hai Count's saber only sustained a nick. They then tested it against the mythical Turtle Count's mansion's armor, cutting through it instantly with a single strike. This was the source of Jean Hai Count's confidence. Unbeknownst to them, Shenlang had already upgraded their equipment. The armor and sabers Jean Hai Count was using were generations behind the current versions. Although Zhang Chong was unaware of these updates, he was still not at ease. To ensure no chance of failure, Zhang Chong asked Jean Hai Count to recruit additional experts from other nobles to be secretly mixed into their forces. Jean Hai Count was reluctant. Borrowing troops at this time, the cost will be significant. Zhang Chong immediately rebuked him for his short-sightedness. How significant can it be compared to the outcome of the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute? What is a little cost? Jean Hai Count, do not deceive yourself. As long as victory is assured, your Jean Hai Count's mansion will not suffer a loss. But if the first battle scenario repeats, then you'll be in trouble. With no other option, Jean Hai Count had to agree. But Zhang Chong also wanted to inform Ning Qi about this plan. Moments later, at the residence of the three judges, Zhang Chong told Ning Qi about Jean Hai Count's plan to borrow troops. Ning Qi was somewhat displeased. You shouldn't have told me this. I'm 78 this year. I don't want to tarnish my reputation at this late stage. After consulting with the other two judges, Ning Qi informed Zhang Chong, fairness and justice must prevail. Since Jean Hai Count can borrow troops, then the mythical Turtle Count's mansion can also borrow troops. He also warned Zhang Chong, the military contest is settled this way. Don't think about favoritism or fraud in the literary contest. The essays produced will be announced to the world. We do not wish to tarnish our reputations. Zhang Chong respectfully nodded in agreement. Subsequently, Jean Hai Count, at the cost of 3 sea ships and 3,000 acres of land, borrowed a total of 30 top military experts from the Northern Guard Marquis and Peaceful Stability Count. However, it wasn't Jean Hai Count's own land being offered, but the anticipated spoils from the downfall of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. As Jean Hai Count was organizing his forces, Su Jianting approached him. I have 10 military newcomers wishing to gain some experience in Jean Hai Count's mansion's forces. The conditions? None, just purely for the experience. Hearing this, Zhang Chong and the others were astounded. Distant Guard Marquis' house is a leader among the old nobility, and also related by marriage to the mythical Turtle Count. You're not lending troops to the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, but instead are kicking them while they're down. Distant Guard Marquis' house has stooped this low, while others demand immense benefits for lending troops. You're lending them for free? Zhang Chong did not refuse refuse. Su Jianting merely smiled slightly. Upon seeing Jean Mulan, he decided she could only be his. The next morning, due to the weather, Ming-Chi announced that the military contest would proceed first, with the literary contest to be held indoors in the afternoon. As Father Jean was preparing to leave, Ming-Chi approached him, asking if he had any familiar friends within the hunting grounds. Father Jean, puzzled by the question, related to Shenlang upon returning. Shenlang immediately understood Ming-Chi's hint. They should seek out experts from other nobles, suspecting Jean Haikount had already broken the rules. Moments later, Shenlang went to Jean Mulan's room, accidentally encountering her changing clothes. Shenlang couldn't help but kiss Jean Mulan. Jean Mulan blushed and told Shenlang to stop causing trouble. Annoying, don't delay me from changing my clothes. Shenlang shook his head and told Jean Mulan, you don't need to change your clothes. You're going to the battlefield to participate in the military contest next. Jean Mulan was puzzled. I've already participated in one battle. I can't join another. The rules have already been broken by others, so you don't need to follow them either. Jean Mulan was furious. She had already prepared her formal attire, intending to dazzle everyone and assert her dominance with her appearance. But now, she could only warn Shenlang. Then today, you're not allowed to look at other women, especially not to flirt with that vixen Zhang Chunghua. Seeing Jean Mulan getting ready to change into her armor, Shenlang, grinning, took it and wanted to help Jean Mulan put it on, only to be rejected by her. Shenlang was immediately displeased. Why? Jean Mulan explained. If my legs go weak, how will I fight later? This immediately cheered Shenlang up. So that's why. It seems I'm too formidable. Meanwhile, at Father Jin's side, he had approached all the established nobles but failed to borrow even a single person. Father Jean was furious. A bunch of short-sighted fools. Don't they understand the principle of when the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold? Shenlang signaled to Father Jean not to worry. Those guys are smart, but whether they're being too clever by half remains to be seen. It won't be long before those people are kneeling before you, crying out about the lips and the teeth. Next was preparing for the military contest. Originally, it involved cavalry charges, which were too bloody even for the sovereign to bear, leading to a switch to infantry combat. Thus, all the Jean family soldiers participating in the battle were solemn and prepared for sacrifice, believing they might not return, but fearless even in the face of death. Because of the need for secrecy, Shenlang hadn't distributed the new armor and sabers to them, keeping them in the dark. Once they saw the actual new equipment, their confidence soared. With Jean Mulan's command, change equipment, everyone uniformly began to don the new gear. Then, Shenlang reminded Jean Mulan, be very careful. You must not sustain a single scratch on your body. Jean Mulan nodded at Shenlang's words, and with a pat from Shenlang, it was her turn to enter the field. On Jean Haikount's side, everyone was fully armed and ready. Jean Haikount's mobilization, all were spirited, shouting about crushing the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. However, as both sides took to the field, Jean Haikount was stunned to see the mythical Turtle Count's army's equipment, which was completely different from before, admiring Zhang Chang's decisiveness internally. If it weren't for the 40 experts we borrowed and our new forging technology, we might have been the ones crushed. As the battle drums officially sounded, Ming-Chi announced the start of the military contest. The clash between the mythical Turtle Count's army and Jean Haikount's forces took everyone by surprise. What was expected to be a one-sided affair for Jean Haikount turned on its head when their sabers broke upon striking the mythical Turtle Count's shields. Conversely, the mythical Turtle Count's blades sliced through Jean Haikount's armor. Not just Jean Haikount's forces, but also the mythical Turtle Count's army was in disbelief, uninformed that their new equipment was so formidable. A counterattack ensued, and Jean Haikount's forces couldn't breach the mythical Turtle Count's defense, rapidly losing numbers. This astonishing turn of events also dumbfounded Ming-Chi and the other judges. Jean Haikount was in shock, unable to comprehend the magic behind the mythical Turtle Count's rapidly improved equipment. Zhang Chong marveled at Shenlang's uncanny abilities, good at poetry, writing, dyeing, charming women, and now even metalworking. What is it that you can't do, Shenlang? Yet, Jean Haikount's breaking of rules by inserting 40 top warriors into their ranks did have an effect, preventing a total annihilation by the mythical Turtle Count's army, and even managing some retaliation. Meanwhile, in the midst of battle, Jean Mulan heard a familiar voice. She quickly advanced and removed the man's mask, recognizing him as Su Tianan from the distant guard Marquis's house. Jean Mulan's anger surged instantly. So it's you. What exactly is your Su family trying to do? On the other side, Shenlang and Father Jin's gazes both turned towards Su Jianting, while whispers of mockery reached Su Jianting's ears. After all, no one likes a traitor. Father Jin, suppressing his anger, ordered Su Jianting to go to Jean Haikount's side, deeming him unworthy to sit with them. However, Su Jianting denied having anything to do with the matter. The battle on the field did not cease. The experts from Jean Haikount's mansion were hesitant in their attacks on Jean Mulan, remembering Jean Haikount's instructions not to harm her, given the interest from significant figures. Recalling Shenlang's words, Jean Mulan thought, we are not afraid to lose this military contest, so protect yourself well. If defeat is imminent, just concede. But Jean Mulan was unwilling to do so, preferring to fight to the end. Winning the military contest would mean outright victory for them. Knowing his daughter's temperament, Father Jean proposed a draw for the military contest. Jean Haikount disagreed, but the reality was that the mythical Turtle Count's side had about 70 people remaining, while Jean Haikount's forces had fewer than 20. Even with more experts, a direct confrontation would likely result in the mythical Turtle Count's victory. But Father Jean, worried about Jean Mulan and compassionate towards his soldiers, did not wish to continue the fight. Despite this, Jean Haikount still wanted to fight it out. Father Jean scoffed disdainfully. Of the remaining 20, how many are actually from your Jean Haikount's mansion? Immediately, Father Jean declared, as long as the swords are raised, soldiers of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion will not attack. Hearing this, those on the field raised their swords to signal a ceasefire, since they were not Jean Haikount's men and had no reason to risk their lives. With the situation resolved, Jean Mulan ceased her actions. After further consultation, the three presiding judges agreed to a draw. Jean Haikount was furious. I paid so much for the military contest, only to end up with a draw. draw. He knew, however, this was the best outcome. As long as Tang Yin won, it would be 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw, leading to a tiebreaker. Then it would come down to a battle between the mythical turtle Count and Jin High Count. Confident in his martial prowess over the mythical turtle Count, Jin High Count, albeit reluctantly, agreed to the draw in the military contest. Subsequently, he expressed his gratitude to Zhang Chong. Without his foresight, they indeed would have lost. However, while everyone else seemed assured of their victory, Zhang Chong did not share the sentiment and chose not to voice his doubts, preferring to take his leave. After all, being the only sober person among the intoxicated can lead to isolation, and he did not wish to end up completely friendless. Upon returning to his residence, Zhang Chong pondered what he might have overlooked. Everyone believed Jin Muzong couldn't surpass Tang Yun, including his son, Zhang Ji. The literary contest questions are sealed in a box, known only to the sovereign. How could Jin Muzong have found a way to cheat? Yet, this question led Zhang Chong to recall Shenlang's triumphs at the gambling house, sparking an unbelievable thought. Do you think it's possible that Shenlang knew the literary contest questions in advance and prepared essays and poems for Jin Muzong? Hearing his father's speculation, Zhang Ji was also taken aback. How could that be possible? Shaking his head at all the impossibilities, Zhang Chong concluded there was only one answer. He then asked Zhang Ji to call Zhang Changhua. Shortly after her arrival, Zhang Chong inquired, "Did you notice Shenlang's expression at the end of the military contest?" Zhang Changhua recalled, when the mythical turtle Count proposed a draw to stop the battle, Shenlang seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, but then he frowned, realizing something was amiss. Zhang Chong asked, "Is Jin Mulan the type to fear death?" Zhang Changhua denied. Jin Mulan is not afraid of dying. Rising suddenly, Zhang Chong pieced everything together. If Jin Mulan isn't afraid of death, her behavior is problematic. Today's military contest was a matter of life and death for the mythical turtle Count's mansion. She should have disregarded her own safety, but as soon as a draw was proposed, she complied and ceased attacking, showing no intention of fighting to the death. Zhang Changhua also realized the issue. Does that mean Shenlang has a contingency plan for the literary contest? Zhang Chong nodded. Shenlang must have known the literary contest questions in advance. Otherwise, Jin Muzong couldn't possibly defeat Tang Yun. Zhang Chanhua's expression hardened. "Father, I agree with your assessment." After confirming his suspicions, Zhang Chong hurriedly went to Ning Qi's residence to share his conclusions. However, Ning Qi was skeptical. The seal and wax on the box haven't been tampered with. Is Shenlang a deity, then, to know the questions in advance? Thus, Ning Qi was not willing to change the questions based on Zhang Chong's speculation. Yet, Zhang Chong did not give up. After leaving, he immediately sought out Zhu Rong the governor. Although Zhu Rong also doubted Zhang Chong's guess, the risk of losing was too great, but persuading Ning Qi would be challenging. Zhang Chong then proposed. The sovereign surely prepared a backup set of questions, sealed in an identical box. Your Excellency could accidentally damage the seal and wax under the guise of inspecting the questions. This way, for the sake of fairness and justice, Ning Qi would have to use the backup questions. Zhu Rong was shocked by this bold idea, but agreed with Zhang Chong's suggestion. As the queen's brother, even if Zhu Rong accidentally damaged the box's seal, Ning Qi could at most reprimand him without placing blame. Indeed, as Zhang Chong and Zhu Rong anticipated, after Zhu Rong broke the box by dropping it, he was admonished. Ning Qi had no choice but to switch to the backup questions, knowing well that Zhang Chong must have been behind this scheme. Seeing Zhang Chong kneeling outside, Ning Qi approached him, commenting profoundly, "Such a deep strategist you are." Zhang Chong, with his head on the ground, respectfully admitted, "I am guilty." Ning Qi waved him off, signaling Zhang Chong could stand up, but Zhang Chong bowed deeply again without rising, repeating his admission of guilt. Ning Qi left him be. "Stay kneeling then." Under the looming clouds, the Ministry of War's head, Mighty Duke, approached Zhang Chong, praising, "Zhang Chong, well done." Zhang Chong bowed once more. Witnessing this, Zhang Ji was thrilled. Mighty Duke holds significant sway over the position of governor in the glamorous province. Gaining his approval is excellent news. Under the flashing lightning and thunder, a torrential downpour drenched Zhang Chong, yet he refused to stand up, even rejecting the umbrella offered by Zhang Ji. Zhang Ji, puzzled, asked, "Father, you did this for the sake of the reforms and the Ning royal family. Why demean yourself so?" Zhang Chong scolded his son. "Naive. If you argue about right and wrong with your lord, you'll never get ahead. But then, why aren't those from Jin High Count's side here suffering with us?" Zhang Chong retorted, "How can you appear capable if your companions are not incompetent? Now go, stop fussing. A day in the rain won't kill anyone." Meanwhile, inside the New River Hunting Grounds literary contest venue, due to the need for a quiet environment for the literary contest, besides the contestants and the counts from both sides, only the 3 judges were present. After the counts inspected the question box, the contest began immediately. Ning Qi personally unsealed the box and took out the questions, allowing both heirs to start reviewing them. The first essay question was on the ultimate virtue of rewards and punishments, and the second was to compose a poem with mythical turtle as the theme. Seeing the questions, Tang Yin was disdainful. "I am most proficient in these topics. Even if I took them to the imperial examination, I could secure the top scholar title again." However, Jin Muzong appeared terrified. "This is wrong. This isn't the 2 questions my brother-in-law told me about yesterday. Could he have miscalculated?" "Oh no." At that moment, Jin Muzong felt as if the sky had fallen. "My plan to defeat Tang Yun is ruined. I might even be crushed into dust by him." Tang Yun, seeing Jin Muzong's panic, felt contempt. "Comparing literary skills with me, a top scholar, to such a useless person is truly beneath me." Just as Jin Muzong was at a loss, he took a closer look at the questions. "Wait a minute, I remember this. Isn't this one of the questions my brother-in-law anticipated?" Shenlang, aiming to grasp the sovereign's core interests, had input all known preferences, personality traits, and habits of the sovereign into his brain's database. The brain successfully created a model of the sovereign as clever, radical, and sparing in kindness. One of the essay topics predicted by the brain was indeed the one presented, and the poetry topic was deduced from a deep analysis of the sovereign's view of the mythical turtle Count. At this revelation, Jin Muzong felt rejuvenated. "Ha ha ha, I'm alive. I've come back to life. Brother-in-law, you almost scared me to death." Tang Yun, you just wait. This time, I'll crush you into dust. Subsequently, Ningqi announced the literary contest would last for 3 hours, with everyone but the judges waiting outside. As the written examination began, Jin Mutsong eagerly wrote down all the answers from his memory, while Tang Yun composed his responses with calm deliberation. Ningqi, watching, sighed internally. Poor kid, even if you're clueless, you should pretend to ponder before starting. Outside, Tang Yun sneered upon seeing Jin Mutsong's fervent writing, starting to write without even understanding the questions clearly. What a waste. But it doesn't matter. After all, victory is assured for the Tang family today. However, within a quarter of an hour, Jin Mutsong had finished writing the essay, or more accurately, copying it. Seeing this, Ningqi and Sua Xian Marquis were incredulous. Finished the essay so quickly, it couldn't just be random scribbling, could it? Tang Yun, after spending an hour in thought before beginning to write, had already dismissed Jin Mutsong as less than trash. Shenlang, today you will witness the literary grace of Yu Kingdom's #1 Imperial Examination top scholar. As he wrote, Tang Yun became increasingly immersed, amazed at his own ability to produce such a brilliant piece, feeling it was unparalleled in history, even admiring his own work. After finishing, Tang Yun reviewed his essay 3 times. My God, did this perfect prose really come from me? Then, adjusting his emotions, Tang Yun stood, bowed to the judges, and submitted his work. On his way out, glancing at the still writing Jin Mutsong, he remarked, "Waste, losing to me is your honor." Jin Mutsong continued to write his poetry meticulously, heeding Shenlang's advice not to hand in his paper early, to avoid arousing suspicion. An hour later, he finally completed his poetry. Looking at his work, he felt immensely satisfied. Each word here has been crafted with my soul. Noticing Tang Yun had already left, he thought, that show-off is gone, then I can submit my paper too. He then rose, bowed to the 3 judges, and, dragging his weary body, he left, his figure casting a particularly desolate shadow. After both participants had left, Ningqi stood up and announced, the literary contest is over. The mythical turtle count and Jin High Count may enter the examination hall. Upon Ningqi's command, 4 eunuchs responsible for copying, and the 2 counts entered the hall. Ningqi asked the counts to select a eunuch to copy the essays and poems of both participants, to ensure public transparency and fairness. The chosen eunuch first copied Tang Yun's essay, admiring and respecting the work as he did. However, before even starting to copy Jin Mutsong's essay, just by reading it, he showed a surprised expression. Tang Yun, watching from the side, expected this reaction. It seems that the literary talent of this count of the mythical turtle has thoroughly disgusted this young eunuch. After copying, Jin Mutsong and Tang Yun's original manuscripts were sealed for the judges to review later. The copied manuscripts were then given to the 3 judges for evaluation. Since Mighty Duke was a military man with less expertise in literature, Ningqi and Sua Xian Marquis took the lead in reviewing. Opening one of the essays, Sua Xian Marquis couldn't help but exclaim at its quality, suggesting it would excel even in the imperial examinations. The poetry also earned his praise. Ningqi, observing Sua Xian Marquis' reactions, assumed this must be Tang Yun's work. It seems the outcome is decided. Upon opening the other manuscript, Ningqi was stunned from the first paragraph. The simple yet powerful language made an impact, impressing him greatly. After reading the essay, he eagerly moved on to the poetry. Even Mighty Duke noticed Ningqi's reaction. Indeed, the phrase "an old steed in the stable still aspires to gallop 1,000 miles, and a dying hero's heart remains as ambitious as ever" immediately resonated with Ningqi. This line, grand and thought-provoking, is truly remarkable. It surpasses mere excellence, reaching a level worthy of reverence. Sua Xian then interrupted Ningqi's contemplation. Ningqi, you must see the essay I have. It's astonishing. After exchanging manuscripts, Ningqi frowned upon reading. What is this? Though it seems fluent and elegant at first glance, compared to the previous one, it's rubbish. Sua Xian, upon reviewing the manuscript in his hands, was also shocked. My God, this is a timeless masterpiece, a classic for the ages. Mighty Duke, unable to contain his curiosity, stepped forward to examine the poetry and couldn't help but praise it. For a military man with little interest in literature to commend it so highly speaks volumes about the poem's exceptional quality. However, the judges faced a dilemma because the style of the work clearly differed from Tang Yun's, and it was unlikely Jin Mutsong could have produced such depth. After some consideration, Mighty Duke boldly speculated that Shenlang was behind the submission, a notion Ningqi agreed with, admiring Shenlang's talent. The boundless romantic affairs was impressive enough, and now such essays and poems, such talent is wasted at the mythical turtle count's mansion. Ningqi lamented. Sua Xian remarked on the realization that Shenlang had indeed anticipated the exam topics, as Zhang Chong had suspected. Ningqi concurred. This explains why Jin Mutsong could start writing immediately. Mighty Duke questioned whether this amounted to cheating. It's not cheating. No one knew the questions beforehand, and it was indeed written by Jin Mutsong, was the consensus. Ningqi was conflicted. Clearly, Jin Mutsong is the winner, but this will not only shock Yu Kingdom but also hand the Isle of Gold Mountain to the mythical turtle count, potentially against the sovereign's wishes. To rule Jin Mutsong as the loser, once these papers are made public, anyone literate can see the obvious disparity. This could tarnish not just our reputations, but label the sovereign as unjust. Moreover, if the sovereign can act against established nobles today, might he also cut royal allowances in the future? Deciding to play the elder card before the sovereign, Ningqi aimed for a fair and just resolution of the literary contest. They then had the sealed original manuscripts retrieved and compared. Indeed, the superior work was attributed to Jin Mutsong, or rather, Shenlang's handiwork, but Jin Mutsong's handwriting received praise. Sua Xian Marquis noted Jin Mutsong's writing lacked spirit and sharpness, but followed his father Jin's straightforward nature, predicting he would become a significant calligrapher. With a deep breath, Ningqi looked to the other judges. Then, let's settle the literary contest this way, and they agreed. We follow Prince Uncle's decision. Outside the examination hall, despite the pouring rain, dozens to hundreds awaited the dramatic outcome, especially those flattering Jin High Count, hoping for crumbs from the mythical turtle count's mansion's defeat. Jin High Count mockingly suggested to the mythical turtle count, "Aren't you going to change? change? Put on your Jin family's latest gear for the upcoming duel. Ignoring him, Tang Luan's ridicule intensified. Does the mythical turtle count know he's going to lose and thus isn't bothering to change? Despite Tang Luan's provocations, the mythical turtle count remained calm, meditating with eyes closed, trusting in his son-in-law and son to secure victory. The literary contest was already beyond doubt, yet the mythical turtle count's silence only invited mockery from those around him. Jin Mutsung, on the verge of exploding with anger, still held back. Wait till the results are out. I'll make sure your faces swell. I may not be capable, but I have an incredible brother-in-law. Is copying from one's own family really considered copying? Suddenly, someone taunted. Mythical turtle count, don't be upset. After all, you haven't had control over the Isle of Gold Mountain for years. You should be used to it by now. This comment turned the mythical turtle count's face ashen, and Jin Hui and others nearby were barely able to restrain themselves from retaliating. As tensions escalated, Prince Uncle Ning Chi and the judges emerged to announce the results. Stepping into the rain, they declared the winner of the literary contest for the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute, son of the mythical turtle count's mansion, Jin Mutsung. The announcement stunned everyone, particularly Tang Luan. How could his son, a top scholar, lose to a fool? The mythical turtle count, though smiling outwardly, silently relieved the weight from his heart. Amidst the shock, Jin Mutsung's triumphant yell cut through. Where are you, Tang Yun? I told you I'd crush you. I'd defeat you swiftly, and now I have. Ha! Tang Luan, drenched, approached Prince Uncle to question if there had been a mistake. Ning Chi, understanding his disrespect, did not reprimand him, but simply restated. Let me announce it again. In the third literary contest, Jin Mutsung wins. Tang Yun loses. Did everyone hear clearly this time? Tang Luan was devastated, realizing the Tang family's loss meant losing a significant portion of their wealth and wondering how to sustain his private army without it. In a fit of rage, he accused the contest of being unfair and insinuated foul play, pointing at Jin Mutsung. Everyone knows what Jin Mutsung is like. How could he possibly beat Tang Yun, the Imperial Examination's top scholar? His comments incited the Tang family's followers to chant about injustice and suspected cheating. As the situation descended into chaos, Mighty Duke's thunderous roar silenced the crowd. Seeking death! Suddenly, no one dared to say another word in the presence. Ning Chi, seeing Jin High Count daring to publicly question him, was also very annoyed. He immediately ordered to have the articles of Jin Mutsung and Tang Yun posted for public display so that everyone could see for themselves whether there was any private cheating or not. Soon, the guards publicly displayed the articles, and instantly, everyone crowded in front of the posting board. However, Jin High Count didn't even bother to look at it, insisting that Prince Uncle was cheating and he would not accept it. Ning Chi, pointing at the public notice board, angrily said, Jin Mutsung's article this time is far superior to Tang Yun's. It's clearly posted on the wall now. Anyone who has read a bit can see the difference. If you don't accept it, then go complain to the sovereign. I am ready to accompany you at any time. But Ning Chi's face darkened. If anyone continues to make trouble now, don't blame me for the sharpness of my knife. If anyone dares to continue making trouble, take them down immediately. Upon this order, all Blackwater platform guards drew their swords and stood off, scaring everyone present silly, and Jin High Count, seeing this, could only be angrily silent. Meanwhile, inside Tang Yun's room, he was pretending to be carefree, holding a book, waiting for the news of his victory. Though he appeared to be reading, in reality, he was fantasizing about the shocked expressions of the three dignitaries upon reviewing his strategies and poems, firmly believing he would surely win the literary battle against Jin Mutsung and that the Tang family was certain to win the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute. Just then, a servant rushed into the room in a panic. Tang Yun, pretending, flipped a page of the book before casually scolding, What's the fuss about? It's just beating that useless Jin Mutsung. What's there to make a fuss about? However, the servant said with a trembling voice, Young master, you lost. Tang Yun's gaze turned cold. How dare you joke about this? The servant quickly explained, Young master, it's true, you lost. Tang Yun angrily stood up and closed the book. How could I possibly lose to Jin Mutsung? This is absolutely a huge mistake. Seeing Tang Yun angry and disbelieving, the servant quickly knelt on the ground, urging him to see for himself at the scene. Moments later, the two braved the rain to arrive at the posting board. He first carefully examined his own paper. Yes, it was indeed his own, but he couldn't understand why such an excellent work lost to Jin Mutsung, the fool. However, when he saw Jin Mutsung's articles and poems, he was completely shocked. They lacked fancy words, but had much deeper implications, and the poetry made him feel utterly ashamed. At that moment, he fully admitted defeat, as did the entire Tang family, losing the Isle of Gold Mountain competition. Moreover, he could even foresee becoming the laughingstock of everyone from then on. Such a talented top scholar to lose to a fat house. Jin Mutsung. Just then, a bolt of lightning flashed, and Tang Yun stood dumbfounded in the rain, motionless until he heard the concerned inquiry of a servant beside him. He snapped back to reality, but the servant's kindness made him very embarrassed. He turned around, angrily telling the servant to scram. After the servant ran away, Tang Yun lowered his head, letting the merciless ice rain hit him. No, this can't be Jin Mutsung's own work. It must be Shenlang. It must be him. Thinking this, Tang Yun opened his arms and roared crazily towards the sky, filled with resentment and pain. A gentleman must avenge his wrongs. Shenlang, you and I are irreconcilable. I will have you torn to pieces. The scene shifts to Shenlang's resting place. Shenlang, too, was pretending to read a book like Tang Yun. At this moment, he showed that annoyingly smug expression again. I just want to be a good-for-nothing son-in-law living off my wife, but you all force me to show my unparalleled talent. How annoying. Just then, Jin Mutsung ran in, rushed and excited. Brother-in-law, I won. I completely crushed Tang Yun. Shenlang just took a sip of tea indifferently. So, you won. Isn't that to be expected? However, Jin Mutsung playfully scolded Shenlang for fooling him, because the exam topic wasn't what he told him last night, but was the strategies and poems he had memorized before. Hearing this, Shenlang was so surprised he spit out his water. Jin Mutsung, still cluelessly, asked, What's wrong, brother-in-law? Shenlang quickly covered up his embarrassment. What was today's topic? Jin Mutsung thought for a moment. It was the strategies and poems about the utmost and penal loyalty and the mythical turtle that you had me memorize. Shenlang was stunned. stunned. How could this be? I clearly used X-ray vision to see the exam topic. How could it suddenly change? He realized he had shown his hand in the military strategy game because he had made Mulan too conservative. After all, Jean Mulan, who has always regarded family honor as her life, why would she fight so cautiously in this military game? Zhang Chong, your thoughts are indeed very profound. You sensed something was wrong in the second military game, so you had Jean High Count borrow elite warriors, and then you sensed a crisis in the literary contest, prompting you to ask Ning Qi to change the exam topic. You almost turned the tables. Thankfully, the heavens were on my side. At this moment, Shenlang also felt a wave of fear inside, and Jean Mutsong, seeing his brother-in-law's changing expressions, asked him what was wrong. Shenlang quickly laughed it off. Nothing. I just think you did a splendid job this time. Unaware, Jean Mutsong wanted to boast some more to his brother-in-law, but Shenlang got up and walked outside, saying, the real battle for the Isle of Gold Mountain has just begun. Next, we'll start with the Orchid Mountain Viscount. The 3 battles for the Isle of Gold Mountain have ended, but the sky was still filled with lightning and thunder, and the heavy rain seemed not to stop. Inside the residence of the 3 dignitaries, Zhang Chong was still kneeling in the courtyard under the pouring rain, while Zhang Ji and Zhang Chunhua, unable to persuade their father, knelt behind him. Zhang Chong said, Zhang Ji can stay here with me. Zhang Chunhua, you go back. Zhang Chunhua immediately retorted, I am also a member of the Zhang family. How can I just stand by and watch if my father is suffering here? Zhang Chong scolded, you, a girl dressed so thinly, getting soaked by the rain. What kind of decency is that? Reminded by her father, Zhang Chunhua realized she was soaked through, her clothes sticking to her body, almost as if she was wearing nothing. She then ran towards the house. A moment later, hearing a thud behind him, Zhang Chong looked back to see Zhang Chunhua wrapped in a raincoat, continuing to kneel in the rain with her father. Zhang Chong was quite comforted by this. Unity in a family is the most important thing. Although his children have many faults, just the virtue of filial piety was enough to smooth over these faults in his heart. More than an hour later, the 3 dignitaries returned to their residence and were stunned to see Zhang Chong and his children still kneeling in the courtyard. This is the heavy rain at the end of autumn. The Zhang family kneeling in this cold rain for hours must be suffering, especially the little girl, Zhang Chunhua, also getting drenched. Seeing this, Ning Qi quickly walked up to Zhang Chong and said, Zhang Chong, I am no longer angry. Please, get up and take your children back home. However, Zhang Chong still refused to rise because he knew that he was not only seeking to appease Prince Uncle's anger but also wanted to be punished for his own mistakes. Seeing this, Ning Qi sighed and said, Zhang Chong, your guess is correct. Shenlang might indeed have known the exam questions. Even though we switched to the backup questions, Jean Mutsong still won the final battle. The mythical Turtle Count's mansion has won the final victory. Hearing this news, Zhang Chong was struck as if by lightning. His gaunt face twitched violently, and before he could speak, he blacked out and collapsed to the ground. Zhang Ji and Zhang Chunhua were terrified and rushed to awaken their father. Ning Qi, unable to bear seeing him lying in the rain, instructed them to quickly carry Zhang Chong back inside to rest. However, Zhang Chong soon regained consciousness on his own, but his complexion was ashen and his lips were purple, looking utterly defeated. Yet, in just a moment, he regained his composure and simply said, Thank you, Prince Uncle, and then continued to kneel rigidly without moving. The 3 dignitaries were shocked to receive such a blow and yet recover so quickly and regain his fighting spirit. We never imagined there could be such a resilient person in the world. Reluctantly, Ning Qi had to lower his stance. Lord Zhang Chong, I beg you, please stop kneeling. The wrong one is not you, it's me. Then he ordered his men to forcibly take him back to his residence. Not long after returning, Jean High Count arrived with a group of people seeking to see Zhang Chong, but was blocked by Zhang Ji at the door. However, seeing their opportunity slipping away, they refused to give up and started shouting outside the door, demanding that Zhang Prefect come out to restore justice. Seeing they couldn't stop these people from causing a commotion outside, Zhang Chunhua stepped out and said, My father is indeed unwell. Let me convey a message to you all. We have lost this round. Do not linger in battle. We must immediately move to the next round. Do not act rashly. Wait until I have carefully considered our next step. Everyone, upon hearing Zhang Chunhua's message, was at a loss and didn't know how to react. Then, before they could respond, Zhang Ji closed the door, telling them their father needed rest and asking them to come back another day. Seeing that Zhang Chong had completely given up on this round, Jean High Count was also extremely annoyed. Since you, Zhang Chong, won't come forward, then we will find our own solution. Meanwhile, at the mythical Turtle Count's mansion residence, everyone was raising their glasses in celebration of the victory. Laughter and cheerful voices filled the entire place, with everyone loudly proclaiming the son-in-law and the heir as incredible. From now on, the Isle of Gold Mountain would belong to the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. In the study, the family of the mythical Turtle Count was holding a secret meeting. However, in the midst of their intense discussion, Shenlang noticed that Jean Mutsong had already fallen asleep. Fatso, what are you doing? Brother-in-law, I find it boring to listen. Can I copy books here instead? Shenlang was speechless. You fathead. You just defeated top scholar Tang Yun, and you're still thinking about writing? Can't you aim for something higher? But seeing his father-in-law's face about to explode with anger, Shenlang could only wave his hand in agreement to his request. Watching Jean Mutsong leave happily, the 3 people present could only sigh internally. Then getting back to the matter at hand, Shenlang said with a serious expression, Although we seem to have won the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute, the real fight to the death is just beginning. Having secured this initial victory, we can now turn from defense to offense. The next step is the Cliffwatch Island strategy. We've won the Isle of Gold Mountain, and everyone will think we'll deploy all our strategic resources here to maintain ownership, but we must not do so. We will neither station troops nor develop it. I want to turn the Isle of Gold Mountain into a meat grinder, draining every drop of the enemy's blood. Of course, the enemy won't just sit around waiting to be slaughtered, and they're certainly plotting a sinister scheme right now. Indeed, just as Shenlang thought, Jean High Count and others were secretly holding a meeting to counterattack the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. The first to suggest a plan was Orchid Mountain Viscount, who wanted to use the heavy rain to flood the mythical Turtle Count's mansion and its lands. The flood would destroy destroy fields and towns, resulting in countless deaths and a catastrophic blow to the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Hearing Zhu Landing's suggestion, Jin Hai Count was also very excited. You, Zhang Chong, keep saying not to act rashly, but should we wait for Shenlang to put the knife to our necks? Then don't blame us for taking matters into our own hands and seeking revenge. Standing up, he continued, the mythical Turtle Count will have to divert all resources to disaster relief. By then, even Shenlang, no matter how cunning, won't be able to reverse the outcome. Peaceful Stability Count also voiced his full support. Given that Shenlang had caused the deaths of so many of his people, he certainly wouldn't miss this opportunity for revenge. Just then, someone in the crowd suddenly said, by committing such an act against heaven and reason, won't we be harming our own virtue? Once the dam breaks, many people will die. Upon hearing this, everyone looked at him indignantly. Struggle requires using any means necessary. How did such a naive person even make it into this circle? Tang Luan then sarcastically asked him, do any of the dead happen to be your family members? The man was frightened and hastily waved his hands to indicate no. Tang Luan sneered, since there aren't any, what do their lives or deaths have to do with you? Zhu Landing then continued to explain, this torrential rain is rare, a once-in-decades event. The dam breaking is a natural occurrence, and when the flood comes, it will be blocked by the mountains. At that time, only the mythical Turtle Count's mansion will be destroyed. There's absolutely no need for anyone to worry. After Zhu Landing finished, Jin Hai Count slammed the table. It's decided then. Among them, only one person wanted to back out, Northern Guard Marquis' second son, Nangong Ting. After all, his father had joined this struggle to maintain military power and for the future of him and his elder brother. But now, things seem to be spiraling out of control in a bad direction. Of course, all these plans were already anticipated by Shenlang. When he analyzed the situation to the mythical Turtle Count, the Count was immediately plunged into thought. If it's as Shenlang predicts, the casualties could be unimaginable. Shenlang continued, for this competition, we brought 800 elite troops from our mansion, leaving behind only women and the elderly. The other 2,000 private soldiers are leaderless. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the mythical Turtle Count was about to issue an order for Jin Mulan to lead Jin Shuring and Jin Hui back. However, Shenlang shook his head. Above the lands of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion are 3 dams, impossible to defend against. Reinforcements would be too late. Our only option now is to take the initiative. He then pointed at the map. Father-in-law, here's the Orchid Mountain Viscount's mansion, situated in the valley. We need to strike first. Our task is to destroy the dam above their estate, letting the floodwaters pour into their property. Once the water level above decreases, our mythical Turtle Count's mansion territory will be safe. The mythical Turtle Count hesitated after hearing this, as initiating a flood would result in casualties. This isn't the style of our mythical Turtle Count. Shenlang, seeing his father-in-law's concern, continued, don't worry, father-in-law. As long as the breach isn't too large, people in the valley will have enough time to escape. We just need to ensure the destruction of the Orchid Mountain Viscount's mansion, submerging his castle. The mythical Turtle Count still trusted his son-in-law's judgment. He then called for Jin Hui, instructing him to quickly return home, lead people to destroy the dam above the Orchid Mountain Viscount's estate, and repeatedly emphasized not to make the breach too large, to ensure the civilians had enough time to escape. Shenlang also instructed to have Shen 13 create a breach in the eastern Bitter Water Dam, which was uninhabited, to divert the floodwaters there, reducing the water level in the reservoir and securing the mythical Turtle Count's mansion lands. Jin Hui was troubled at first. The dams were built with stone and would take a long time to dig through with just manpower, and the dams were guarded. Even if they could breach the defenses, it was unrealistic to open a gap before reinforcements arrived. Shenlang, aware of this, asked him, do you remember my 3rd secret chamber? Go find Little Bing for the keys to the 3rd chamber, then take out the box inside. Just make a small opening in the dam, insert the box, light the fuse, and the dam will be blown open. Also, have Shen 13 help you to test his loyalty. Jin Hui immediately accepted the instruction. Meanwhile, Jin Hai Count's secret meeting was still in progress. Tang Luan decided to ensure no defectors within, requiring families involved to send experts to participate. Hearing this, some hesitated, which could lead to disaster if exposed. At that moment, Peaceful Stability Count stepped forward. Anyone who knows about today and dares to back out won't be allowed to leave this room. Then turning to Orchid Mountain Viscount, you proposed this, so you lead the way. Orchid Mountain Viscount was taken aback, sensing trouble, but said, I can't just do this for nothing, can I? Jin Hai Count coldly replied, Orchid Mountain Viscount, do you think after you crossed Shenlang at the last banquet, he would let you off? Recalling the incident at the banquet, Zhu Landing clenched his teeth in silence, but then stated, I can do the job, but not for nothing. Hearing this, Jin Hai Count immediately extended 2 fingers. I'll give you shares for 2 sea vessels. You buy the ships yourself, but you can join our trade routes and trade with other countries. Zhu Landing was overjoyed upon hearing this. Jin Hai Count and pirates had always been engaged in highly profitable sea trade, which many people were eager to join. Now, by simply purchasing 2 ships, he could join the route and easily recoup his investment. Just a few trades. Zhu Landing then declared, alright, I'll lead this task. He then turned to Qiu Xiao, the young master of Qiu family. We might need to use your family's name again for this. At that moment, Qiu Xiao, who was drinking flower wine, readily agreed. Yes, Shenlang stole my woman and killed my people. I want to kill thousands of his. Tang Luan then reminded, we don't know when this heavy rain will stop. Once the water level drops, the destructive power of the flood will weaken, and we won't be able to completely submerge the mythical Turtle Count's mansion lands. Zhu Landing Viscount, you need to act quickly. Zhu Landing clearly understood Tang Luan's hint and started to mobilize after a simple acknowledgement. Soon, all the noble families present sent out their best fighters, assembling hundreds of warriors. Led by Zhu Landing and Qiu Xiao, they braved the heavy rain and hurriedly rode towards the mythical Turtle City to execute their plan under the cover of night. At midnight, within the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, Mulan was lying in bed, nestled in Shenlang's arms, worried about the heavy casualties in the upcoming struggle. Shenlang comforted her. No, the dead will all be our enemies. Mulan then expressed her concern. What do we do then? Will there ever be an end? Shenlang, propping himself up and looking at Mulan, reassured her. Don't worry, there will be an end. Once we complete the fourth step of our strategy, we can push back the sovereign's will, and our family will be at peace. To ease Mulan's worries, Shenlang then playfully wrapped his arm around her waist, his hands becoming restless. Mulan blushed. Her mind went blank, and she thought, with her husband by her side, there was nothing more to worry about. Jin Hui rushed back to the mythical Turtle Count's mansion in the rain, found Jean Sword Lady, informed her of the outcome of the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute, and ordered increased patrols. Jean Sword Lady ordered 3 teams of 100 each to patrol and guard the 3 dams to the north. Jean Sword Lady immediately sensed the severity of the situation. Brother, is someone planning to destroy the dam and flood us? Jin Hui responded, if you encounter enemies, just keep an eye on them. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary. Our elites are at the new river hunting ground. You'd be at a disadvantage if a fight breaks out. Jean Sword Lady worriedly asked, so we just let them destroy the dam? Destroy our home? Jin Hui reassured her, don't worry, your brother-in-law is well prepared. Jean Sword Lady, your brother-in-law is excellent, but he's terrible. Brother, stop. Don't you dare speak ill of your brother-in-law, or I won't talk to you for 3 days. Meanwhile, Shin 13 was in his room, contemplating his situation. Since arriving at the mythical Turtle Count's mansion months ago, Shin 13 felt as if he had been forgotten. He mumbled to himself, it's been months. I've been here for months. Did Shenlang recruit me just to warm the bench? Am I, Shin 13, not talented? On the other side, Shin 13's mother became good friends with Shenlang's mother and Big Fool's stepmother, Mrs. Song. They even started looking for a wife for Shin 13. Just then, Jin Hui found Shin 13 and informed him of a task to be done. Shin 13 excitedly got ready to act. They found Little Bing and asked for the keys to the 3rd underground secret chamber. When Little Bing handed over the keys, she warned them, close your eyes. Don't look at my arm. I am the master's woman. Jin Hui, speechless, said to Shin 13, have you ever thought about getting married? Look outside. With the master here, we won't find wives in the mansion. Jin Hui and Shin 13 took 2 boxes from the secret chamber. Jin Hui warned, the boxes must not get wet. Don't open them. Just dig a hole and quickly put the boxes in. If anyone intercepts, kill without hesitation. If you can't beat them, run for your life. If you really can't escape, light the fuse and die together. The boxes in your hands must not fall into anyone else's hands. Understand? Then, the 2 split up and hurried to their respective tasks. Hours earlier, Zhu Lanting and Qiu Xiao gathered over 200 elite troops and headed to the Golden Sequence Dam. The Golden Sequence Dam, the largest and longest dam in the New River Reservoir, spans between 2 valleys. This dam witnessed the hard work and determination of the Jin clan leader, named Jin Su, who spent over 3 years and tens of thousands of man-hours to complete it. Standing on the mountaintop above the dam, Zhu Lanting looked down at the structure they were about to destroy, filled with jealousy and resentment. Why should the Jin clan be so much more prosperous than me? The more magnificent it is, the more spectacular it will be when I destroy it. As for the lowly people on your lands, blame their fate for being born as Jin's subjects. Soon, your mythical Turtle Count's mansion lands will become a vast ocean, and the Jin family will be utterly ruined, and make the Jin family and Shenlang regret being our enemies. He then turned to his subordinates and ordered, send out 300 warriors to clear nearby Jin outposts and patrol soldiers. The rest, take your tools and dig the dam with all your might. Early the next morning, in the New River Hunting Grounds Martial Arts Hall, today marks the significant day for the Isle of Gold Mountain ownership agreement. Mulan, dressed in a gorgeous gown and holding Shenlang's arm, made a grand entrance, her beauty overshadowing all present, captivating not only the men but also astonishing the women. Shenlang felt a great sense of vanity, thinking, among all the noble ladies here, none can compare to my Mulan. Meanwhile, Shenlang noticed that Zhu Lanting and Qiu Xiao were missing from the hall's guests, thinking, these people really are as unprincipled as I expected. To deal with such shameless foes, one must repay tooth for tooth, blood for blood. Ning Qi suddenly commanded silence with a shout, silence. He then announced, I declare the contest for the ownership of the Isle of Gold Mountain officially concluded. The contest was fair and just. The outcome is legitimate and effective. The final victor of the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute is the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, the Jin family. From today onwards, the ownership of the Isle of Gold Mountain will permanently belong to the Jin family. The warriors of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion cheered below, while the opposing side was filled with curses, loudly claiming the contest was rigged. However, all resistance was futile. The next step was for both parties to sign the contract. The mythical Turtle Count quickly signed his name, while Jin High Count's hand trembled, hesitating to sign. Our family has managed the Isle of Gold Mountain for decades, and now it falls into the Jin family's hands. Ultimately, under the watchful eyes of all, Tang Luan had no choice but to sign. At this moment, seeing Tang Luan's dejected demeanor, Shenlang couldn't help but feel smug, thinking, Jin High Count, if you're not satisfied, then keep fighting. Although Zhang Chong looked somewhat haggard, his resolute gaze was admirable. When Zhang Chunhua saw Shenlang, she quickly averted her gaze, leading Shenlang to think, this vixen really can't take a loss. She was all over me when winning, but now that I've won a small victory, she ignores me. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through Shenlang's waist, causing him to cry out in surprise. At this moment, Shenlang was in so much pain that tears were almost falling. Turning his head, he saw Mulan's beautiful face still wearing a gentle smile, yet her hand was executing another 180-degree rotation at his waist. The combination of her beautiful appearance and fierce strength made Shenlang almost faint from the pain. However, for the sake of his life, in the next second, Shenlang actually kissed Mulan's lips. This move indeed worked, as Mulan instinctively let go of her grip, but this was a public kiss, witnessed by all present, causing a stir among the audience. At this moment, Mulan was also blushing with shame, lowering her head. Seeing this, Ning Qi shook his head helplessly. In such a setting, Shenlang, you dare to take liberties with your wife. How does the mythical Turtle Count allow someone like you to survive under his watch? After the contract was signed, Zhang Chong came forward to congratulate the mythical Turtle Count. After exchanging pleasantries, Zhang Chong turned to bid farewell to Ning Qi and the other dignitaries. Ning Qi surprisingly returned the gesture with a a bow, saying, "Take care, Zhang Chong." After Zhang Chong left, Ningqi suddenly said to the mythical turtle count, "I will soon return to the capital and report everything here to the sovereign, but I have a piece of advice for you. With the tide comes fortune, against it leads to ruin. Your family may have won this round, but it likely won't change the overall situation. There's still room to maneuver now, but once it comes to a head-on clash, disaster may follow." The mythical turtle count was taken aback upon hearing this, realizing Ningqi was looking out for him. He then bowed deeply in thanks. "The family's foundation is passed down from our ancestors. It cannot be destroyed in my hands. Better to be broken jade than intact tile. Thank you, Prince Uncle." Ningqi, upon seeing the mythical turtle count's lack of appreciation, could only say a word of farewell. After that, the three elders no longer paid attention to anyone else and left. At this moment, Tang Yun, who was behind, revealed a smile that was not well-intentioned. "Mythical turtle count, just wait for the good news from your fief." However, what Tang family didn't expect was, hours ago, Jin Hui had already arrived early at the Orchid Mountain Dam. Then, taking advantage of the rainy night when no one was guarding, he quickly sneaked into the Orchid Mountain Dam sentry post. When he pushed open the gate of the sentry post, the scene in front of him stunned him. The room was a mess with the smell of alcohol overwhelming, and several sentries were sprawled across the beds. Seeing this, Jin Hui drew his sword and approached the hungover sentries, quickly disposing of them one by one. Just as he was about to proceed with the next step, a noise behind him immediately put him on alert. He then dashed out like lightning, pinning the person behind him against the wall, only to discover it was a disheveled woman. Her hands were tied, her mouth was gagged, and her body was covered in wounds. Anyone could guess what this woman had just been through. Jin Hui looked fiercely at the dead bodies behind him and said, "These beasts truly deserve to die." He then said to the pitiful woman in front of him, "I will release you, but don't think about running. Pretend you didn't see anything I do next. After it's over, I'll take you out. Your fate will be decided by someone else." However, the woman who had just been freed suddenly picked up a stone from her feet and, like a madwoman, charged at him. Jin Hui instinctively dodged to the side, only to realize the woman was smashing the stone onto the dead bodies on the ground, venting her inner hatred with each blow. Jin Hui, standing behind her, could understand the woman's angry feelings at this moment, so he did not stop her. The woman continued until she had smashed the dead body's head into a pulp. Then she stopped, panting heavily. Though her rage was vented, the physical harm she had suffered could never be erased. Thinking this, the woman again raised the stone towards her own head. Jin Hui, with quick reflexes, blocked it with his hand in front of her forehead, and then, fearing she might seek death again, he knocked her out with a palm strike to the back of her neck. Without further delay, he picked her up and took her out together, thinking to himself, what a pitiful person. Moments later, he braved the rain to reach the top of the dam. After placing the woman aside, he began his operation. He energetically chiseled an opening in the dam, then stuffed the box given to him by Shenlang into it. A crooked beam leads to skewed rafters. The Zhu family's pack of beasts deserve to die. I, Jin Hui, am ridding the people of a menace. Thinking this, he resolutely lit the fuse. Then, using his lightness skill, he picked up the woman and ran towards safety at the fastest speed. Just as they reached a safe distance, a huge explosion sounded from behind. The ground all around was shaking. Jin Hui looked back, only to see the Orchid Mountain Dam bursting into flames, stones flying into the sky. At that moment, the entire dam seemed to have been torn open by a giant, and the floodwater accumulated from the torrential rain burst forth like a wild beast, raging and spilling over. Watching the scene before him, Jin Hui was stunned. He hadn't expected the secret weapon given by Shenlang to be so terrifyingly powerful. A small box had destroyed the immensely sturdy dam. Meanwhile, inside the Viscount of Orchid Mountain's estate, the noise from the servants outside startled the sleeping legitimate son, Zhu Wentai. He looked outside, bleary-eyed, wondering why it was so noisy. The moment he opened the window, he was shocked into a cold sweat by the torrential floodwaters. The next second, he didn't care about his appearance and jumped straight out the window, being chased by the floodwaters at a sprinting speed. In just a moment, the flood had swept through the entire estate and territory. The scene Zhu Lanting once imagined of destroying the mythical turtle count's mansion and territory was now happening in his own estate. Zhu Wentai, now escaped the mountain, looked down at the floodwaters engulfing his family's century-old foundation in despair, the shock of this moment causing him to emotionally collapse. Meanwhile, at the Golden Sequence Dam side, the torrential rain was already diminishing. Zhu Lanting had just received the news. The mythical turtle count's mansion dam sentry post was actually unattended. Why didn't the Jin family send someone to guard it in such a torrential rain? But even with doubts, the torrential rain is about to stop. With time pressing, Zhu Lanting could not afford to think too much, and immediately arranged for the returning warriors to dig the dam together. At this moment, Zhu Lanting kept urging everyone to hurry, but manpower could not compete with explosives. Even if 100 or so warriors exerted all their strength to smash, the solid strip stones only cracked a shallow layer. On the other side, at the Bitterwater Dam, Shin 13 also successfully completed the blasting task, but he was very annoyed. Along the way, not a single obstacle. Just like that, the dam was easily blown open. How can I show off in front of Shenlang? Will they still let me sit on the bench in the future? And such a huge vibration made Qiu Xiao, supervising the Golden Sequence Dam, aware. Just as he was puzzled, a soldier shouted loudly, "Boss, the water level seems to be dropping." Hearing this, Zhu Landing by the side hurriedly looked towards the water surface. Indeed, in no time, the flood peak indicator of the reservoir was revealed. Seeing this scene, Zhu Landing panicked. Even if the rain stops, the water level cannot drop so quickly, unless someone is releasing water elsewhere. At this moment, he suddenly thought of a terribly possible scenario, and couldn't help but panic, his body falling backwards. Fortunately, someone supported him. Having regained his composure, Zhu Lanting hastily gathered his troops to rush back. Qiu Xiao grabbed him and asked, "Why leave? The water level is just dropping. Even if the dam is breached, the flood might not be fierce, but it can still flood the mythical turtle count's mansion domain, right?" Zhu Lanting was so anxious that he kept shaking his head. "It's impossible now. It must be someone who has dug through the dam at a lower place to release the water. Next, the water level will drop below the dam. Relying on the valley alone is enough to stop it. It won't flood the mythical turtle count's mansion anymore. Having said that, without waiting for Qiu Xiao to continue asking, he led his men to rush towards his own manor at full speed. Along the way, he kept reassuring himself. It must be the Bitterwaterlands dam that collapsed. That's why the water level dropped so quickly. My family's century-old foundation will definitely be alright. Definitely. On the other side, the team from the mythical turtle count's mansion was on their way back to the city of mythical turtle. Inside the carriage, the mythical turtle count was asking Shenlang, "Shenlang, do you think Lord Jinhai will smoothly hand over the Isle of Gold Mountain to us?" Shenlang expressed, "Not at all, and moreover, I hope they don't hand it over so easily." The mythical turtle count was puzzled. Shenlang explained, "This time, Zhang Chong will surely persuade the Tang family to give up the Isle of Gold Mountain and also offer it to Qiu Tianwei. You must know, Qiu Tianwei has always relied on trading with the Tang family to obtain weapons. Now with the opportunity to get his hands on the Isle of Gold Mountain, his greedy nature will definitely not let this chance pass. Once our Jin family settles on the Isle of Gold Mountain, we will clash with Qiu Tianwei. At that time, if Jin family warriors are not a match for the Qiu family pirates at sea, it will surely lead to a bloodbath. Once we suffer a major defeat, losing various investment resources and strengths, the Hidden Origin Society will come to collect debts from us. By then, if the Sovereign awards Cliffwatch Island to the Hidden Origin Society, we will be left with nothing." The mythical turtle count was shocked after hearing Shenlang's analysis. If things really go as Shenlang suggests, then the Jin family will be completely doomed. At this moment, Mulan was also confused. If the Isle of Gold Mountain is useless to the Jin family, then why did we go to all this effort to win the right to decide its fate in this battle? Hearing Mulan's question, Shenlang revealed a sly smile. "Because we wanted Zhang Chong to make this move, and we aim to take Qiu Tianwei off the board. You see, once the Isle of Gold Mountain is in our hands, Qiu Tianwei will surely be drawn to it. Then, we'll strategically withdraw, allowing Qiu Tianwei's forces to station there. Meanwhile, we will create a commercial miracle on Cliffwatch Island, making it an island with even greater benefits than the Isle of Gold Mountain. At that time, the greedy Qiu Tianwei will definitely send his son to snatch it. When I slaughter his son, what do you think will happen?" The mythical turtle count immediately responded, "Then Qiu Tianwei will surely lead a large army to attack Cliffwatch Island." Exactly. We want Qiu Tianwei to focus all his military power on attacking Cliffwatch Island. At that time, I will secretly make arrangements, turning Cliffwatch Island into a massive trap, making it so Qiu's forces can come but not return. By that time, Furious Tide City will become a powerless shell. Taking down Furious Tide City and seizing Thunderous Isle will be easy. And once Thunderous Isle is taken, the northern kingdom of Wu will, following the example of the Yu kingdom allying with the mighty Duke, show goodwill towards the Jin family. At that time, father-in-law, you can submit a petition to the sovereign, claiming the Jin family has eradicated pirates for the expansion of the Yu kingdom's territory and seized Thunderous Isle. What do you think the sovereign will decide?" The mythical turtle count said excitedly, "Then the sovereign will surely confer upon me the title of Marquis, and past grievances will be forgotten, no longer mentioning the new policies. My Jin family will secure its foundation for centuries." "Exactly, father-in-law. This is my complete strategy to resolve the family crisis once and for all." Both were momentarily stunned by Shenlang's boldness. At this moment, just thinking about it made the mythical turtle count's blood boil. "I never imagined my son-in-law would dare to use both the Isle of Gold Mountain and Cliffwatch Island, these critical islands, as bait to lure Qiu Tianwei in exchange for tens of thousands of square kilometers of land on the Thunderous Archipelago. This strategy of ruling the sea is indeed brilliant." At that moment, Mulan suddenly asked, "Was sending Su Qianqian to infiltrate Qiu Yaoer's side also a part of this chess game, aimed at taking Furious Tide City?" Shenlang nodded and said, "Exactly. Now that we have won the struggle for the Isle of Gold Mountain, she should have gone to join Qiu Yaoer as we agreed beforehand. I have high hopes for Su Qianqian. Although I know she can't be completely relied upon, I also hope she will keep her promise and not disappoint me." Her ex-husband, on the other side, next to the new river, there stood a humble farmhouse. This place was once the dwelling of Zhang Chong in his early years of destitution. Without any backing, he experienced the hardships of climbing the official ladder here, which made him adopt the habit of coming here whenever he faced problems, looking at the turbulent waters of the new river outside the window to dissolve his inner troubles. But today, because of the matter with the mythical turtle count's mansion, he returned here again. Could it be that Shenlang, behind the mythical turtle count, is truly the stumbling block in my life? Zhang Chong felt unwilling inside. I, Zhang Chong, am like the waters of this new river. Even if the mythical turtle count's mansion is a stubborn rock, it ultimately cannot stop my overwhelming tide. One day, I will break it apart. Just then, Zhang Chonghua came over with a bowl of medicinal soup and also kindly asked her father to move away from the window to avoid catching a cold. Zhang Chong took the medicinal soup, but his eyes were filled with guilt towards his daughter. For his own career, he made his daughter sacrifice her emotions. However, Zhang Chonghua shook her head, showing an indifferent attitude. Romantic love is just a pastime and leisure. What does it count for compared to fate? What is emotion but a breeding impulse? Ultimately, for that moment of shudder, Zhang, who was still feeling melancholy, almost spat out the medicine he had just sipped upon hearing his daughter's words. Then, Zhang Chonghua asked, "Now that Shenlang has won the Isle of Gold Mountain, are we going to face an even worse situation?" Zhang Chong sighed helplessly. As long as the sovereign's determination for new policies remains unchanged, the crisis of the Jin family will never be resolved. You know, to eliminate the mythical turtle count's mansion, I could have used the mildest method, but now I am forced to shed more blood to ruin the mythical turtle count's family. Moreover, this plan also involves cooperating with Qiu Tianwei. If it weren't absolutely necessary, I would never want to cooperate with such a beast. Zhang Chonghua was shocked by the realization. So, it's the Jin family who's actually in a predicament. This victory has made their situation even more perilous. Then she thought to herself, this could be a good thing. Once the mythical turtle count's mansion is completely destroyed, I can go and sleep with Shenlang. Zhang Chong was speechless at Zhang Chonhua's comment. My daughter always manages to end conversations conversations with such statements in front of me. Meanwhile, over the Grand Jin High Count's mansion, loud sounds of destruction could be heard. At this moment, Jin High Count was venting his frustration over the loss at the Isle of Gold Mountain by destroying things inside his mansion. The guards outside, terrified, dared not make a sound, especially since in his rage, Father Tan had already killed 4 servants. Just then, Zhang Chong appeared in the mansion, striding towards the interior. Hearing footsteps behind him, Tang Luan, swinging his great sword and cursing, charged over. But when he saw it was Zhang Chong, he stopped his sword just in time. Although dissatisfied with Zhang Chong's actions, he had to suppress his anger because Zhang Chong was a confidant of the sovereign. Zhang Chong then stated, "I've come to understand what Jin High Count plans to do next." Tang Luan bluntly said, "What does it matter if the mythical turtle count won this round? Even if I sign the contract, the idea of me handing over the Isle of Gold Mountain is ludicrous." Zhang Chong simply responded, "What if the sovereign orders you to hand over the Isle of Gold Mountain? Would you still refuse?" Jin High Count, "I advise you to hand over the Isle of Gold Mountain to the mythical turtle count's mansion immediately, and all the facilities on the island must not be damaged. You have to transfer everything intact to them." Tang Luan, enraged, exclaimed, "Zhang Prefect, have you lost your mind?" Zhang Chong calmly continued explaining, "If the Jin family gets the Isle of Gold Mountain intact, they will invest heavily in it. At that point, you should sign a secret contract with the pirate Xiao Tianwei, giving him 70% of the Isle of Gold Mountain on the condition that he sends troops to capture it. When they both start a war, the sovereign, who intends to eliminate the Jin family, will not send a single soldier. That will be the moment of the Jin family's downfall." Tang Luan, hearing Zhang Chong's plan, could not help but laugh. "Why should I hand over the island? What benefit does eliminating the Jin family bring me? Even if I don't hand over the island, the Jin family will collapse in a year or two, and the Isle of Gold Mountain will still return to my hands." Seeing Tang Luan so uncooperative, Zhang Chong stood up to give him one last chance. The Isle of Gold Mountain must be handed over in the shortest possible time. Tang Luan then confronted Zhang Chong. "Zhang Prefect, you, as the prefect of the New River, surely can't control the Jin High Count's mansion, can you?" Zhang Chong's expression darkened. "If you refuse to hand over the island, then I have no choice but to report to the sovereign and force you to surrender it. The fist of the new policies can change direction and wipe out your Tang family first. After all, you are also part of the old nobility." Tang Luan, furious, grabbed Zhang Chong by the collar, raising his voice, "You dare touch the Tang family? Just try it." Zhang Chong, unfazed, coldly stated, "Jin High Count, the sovereign's decree is about to be issued. If you have the courage to defy the order, try not submitting the island and see what happens. I want to see if your spine is as strong as Jin's was." Upon hearing Zhang Chong's words, Tang Luan was so frightened that he stepped back and sat down on a chair. Seeing this, Zhang Chong continued to press, "If I were you, Tang Luan, I would hand over the island before the sovereign's decree arrives. This would demonstrate loyalty and cooperation with the sovereign." Tang Luan, whose backbone was certainly not as strong as Jin's was, otherwise he wouldn't have betrayed the old nobility to join the sovereign's camp. Now, gritting his teeth while looking at Zhang Chong, he made the final compromise and agreed to hand over the Isle of Gold Mountain. Meanwhile, another scapegoat, Zhu Lanting, was still frantically rushing, desperately running towards his estate. Although he kept reassuring himself inwardly, the closer he got to his estate, the stronger the bad premonition became. Now, spurring his horse on, he arrived at the foot of his estate's mountain. Unable to wait any longer, he abandoned his horse and climbed up using his lightness skill. After an enormous effort, he reached the top at the fastest speed. But when he looked towards his estate, the sight of vast waters left him stunned. He collapsed powerlessly to the ground. "It's over. The Zhu family's century-old foundation is completely gone." Then, Zhu Lanting burst into a roar. "Shenlang, damn you!" Suddenly, a severe pain in his chest and a mouthful of fresh blood spewed out. The next second, he fell headlong from the top of the mountain. One day after the Isle of Gold Mountain conflict ended, the carriage of the mythical turtle count's mansion, after a day of exhausting travel, finally arrived at its destination in the evening. At this moment, the mythical turtle count could no longer restrain his inner impulse and wanted to share the joy of victory with his wife. Jin Mutsung also hastened his steps, wanting to tell his mother that it was he who had turned the tide and won the Isle of Gold Mountain. However, as father and son rushed towards Lady Jin together, they were unexpectedly bypassed. Lady Jin went straight to Shenlang, continuously praising him. "The reason we won the Isle of Gold Mountain conflict is all thanks to my wonderful son-in-law." She did not forget to belittle her own husband and son. "If it were up to these two, who knows how badly we would have lost." With those words, the father and son behind her were immediately embarrassed to the point of having no place to hide. Jin Mutsung was on the verge of tears. "I clearly contributed the most this time. I spent the entire month desperately copying and memorizing books just to gain my family's recognition." Seeing his wife so biased, the mythical turtle count couldn't help but sigh, while also sympathetically patting his son. "You've also worked hard." A moment later, in the study of the mythical turtle count's mansion, Jin Hui and Jin 13 also came to report back to Shenlang. The woman tied up behind them caught Shenlang's attention. "Jin Hui, couldn't find a wife, so you took the opportunity to abduct one back?" Jin Hui quickly explained and narrated the whole incident to Shenlang. Shenlang was very annoyed after listening. "The upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked. Zhu family warriors daring to commit such atrocities openly in the sentry post. It's utterly brazen." Then, Shenlang asked Jin Hui, "Did she see what you did?" Jin Hui couldn't hide it and admitted that the woman had seen everything. Shenlang frowned deeply. "This matter of gunpowder must not be exposed. In the act of blowing up the dam, if leaked, is punishable by death." After pondering for a moment, Shenlang suddenly said, "Since this woman has seen our secret, we cannot leave any survivors. Anything we do must not bring fatal risk to our family." Jin Hui, upon hearing Shenlang had murderous intentions, became anxious. He, who usually wouldn't disobey, knelt down and banged his head on the floor, begging Shenlang to spare the woman. Then, he turned his head and urged the woman to swear to the son-in-law that she would never speak of what she had seen. However, the woman was unyielding. She turned her head away without saying a word, refusing to look at them again. Seeing this, Shenlang also became interested in observing her. This woman has delicate skin and a proud character. Such a temperament must not come from an ordinary family. But why would a woman of noble birth go alone to the vicinity of Orchid Mountain Viscount's mansion? At this moment, Shenlang noticed something unusual and actually leaned over to the woman's chest to listen to her heartbeat. Indeed, the heartbeat is irregular. It seems her lips are purple, seemingly charming, but actually, it's a heart problem. This is a typical case of heart disease. Suddenly, an idea popped into Shenlang's mind. He looked serious and asked, Jin Hui, do you like her? The sudden question made Jin Hui blush, and he quickly lowered his head. Seeing that he didn't speak, Shenlang stood up and said, if you don't like her, then kill her. Hearing this, Jin Hui was stunned in place, and then, tears streaming down his face, he kept kowtowing to Shenlang, begging him to spare the woman's life for his loyalty. And the woman, seeing Jin Hui do so much for her, suddenly had a gentle look in her eyes. Seeing Jin Hui so unhelpful, Shenlang was speechless, and simply turned around, saying, forget it. Since you caused this trouble, you solve it. Take her home and keep a close watch. If she runs away, you'll pay with your life. Jin Hui, seeing Shenlang relent, was immediately overjoyed, thanked his brother-in-law, and hurriedly went to untie the woman, making sure to explain, don't worry, I have a sister at home, and you'll have a room to yourself. I absolutely won't step inside. Then, after turning to thank Shenlang, he pushed the woman to leave. Shenlang, seeing this, was inwardly frustrated. You, Jin Hui, can't even handle a woman. What use is there in the count raising you? After the two left, Shenlang looked at Shen 13, seriously saying, you've also worked hard on this mission. When things quiet down, I'll personally instruct you in martial arts. Shen 13 internally rolled his eyes. Master, you can't even beat little Bing, and you want to teach me martial arts? Please, stop bragging. Of course, he dared not say this out loud. After flattering Shenlang, Shen 13 also stood up to leave. At that moment, the mythical turtle count emerged from the back room and then said, Shenlang, we both might have thought of the same thing regarding this woman's identity. Despite being defiled, is Jin Hui really qualified to marry her, given her special status? Shenlang replied with a smile, why not? This woman likely has had a heart condition since childhood, which caused her personality to be extreme. Her way of thinking is different from ordinary people. To not even glance at a man of my handsome and graceful demeanor shows she likes someone like Jin Hui, a silent but deeply emotional type. The mythical turtle count was speechless. His son-in-law, truly, never misses a chance to boast about himself. Then, Shenlang suddenly asked, father-in-law, Fatty is also 18 this year. Why hasn't his marriage been arranged? The mythical turtle count sighed helplessly. Actually, Jin Mutsung and the Shui family from the Martial Peace Count's mansion have a marriage agreement. Shenlang was surprised. The power of the Martial Peace Count's mansion is even greater than that of the mythical turtle count's mansion, isn't it? The Martial Peace Count's mansion has always been low-key, but they actually control many islands in the Southern Sea. Though they publicly claim to have only 2,000 private soldiers, they actually also control over 2,000 disciples of the Southern Sea Sword faction. The mythical turtle count told Shenlang, 100 years ago, our ancestor Jin Zhou was the master of the then Martial Peace Count, Shui Qianche, and it was Jin Zhou who helped prop up the entire Shui family. Since then, our two families have been close, providing mutual aid for centuries. But 2 years ago, they suddenly became distant from us and stopped mentioning the marriage between Shui Li and Jin Mutsung. Now they neither cancel the marriage nor proceed with it, just dragging it on like this. Hearing his father-in-law's story, Shenlang felt disgusted. These so-called century-old allies really fly apart at the first sign of trouble. Before the sovereign's blade even falls, the Martial Peace Count has already hurried to distance themselves from the Jin family. Unreliable, completely unreliable. Just then, little Bing hurriedly and flusteredly came to report, Su Chanchan has come for a secret visit with you, sir. Seeing this, the mythical turtle count very wisely took little Bing and left, knowing his son-in-law lacked some boundaries and some things were better off unseen. Moments later, before Shenlang saw her, a fragrance of rouge and powder wafted over. Then, Su Chanchan, who had specially bathed and changed into plain clothes, appeared before Shenlang. Seeing this, Shenlang hurried over and said cheekily, Chanchan, I haven't seen you for a few days, and you've gotten thinner. I'm so heartbroken. Su Chanchan playfully retorted, isn't that because I'm so lovesick for you that I can't sleep at night, so I lost weight? Seizing the moment, Shenlang asked, Su Chanchan, does our previous agreement still stand? Su Chanchan had no intention of breaking the agreement. My body, rather than being ruined by a man, might as well be taken by a woman. Then she threw the question back to Shenlang, how are you so sure that after I become Qiu Yaoer's confidant, I won't betray you? Don't you want to sleep with me before I leave, to have me bear your child? Upon hearing this, Shenlang immediately feigned a sudden realization. You're right, if you got pregnant, it would indeed garner more sympathy from Qiu Yaoer. He then began to calculate Su Chanchan's ovulation period. Su Chanchan was shocked. Holy, Shenlang, are you actually serious? And how do you know my ovulation cycle? At that moment, Shenlang dramatically threw himself onto the couch. Come on, today, let yourself fully enjoy my body. Su Chanchan silently extended her hand and firmly pinched Shenlang, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Then, Su Chanchan got up, saying, I'm leaving tonight, just wait for the news. But as she walked to the door, her steps slowed, expecting Shenlang to call her back for some last-minute advice. However, there was no call, no word from Shenlang as she left. On the other hand, in Zhang Chang's riverside residence, he was intently studying a map in front of him. Olive Gold Mountain and the Thunderous Isle. The area of these islands is almost the size of New River County. In this lawless land, Pirate King Qiu Tianwei rules, creating a pirate paradise, Furious Tide City, truly the Lord of the Seas. But now, to thoroughly deal with the mythical turtle count's mansion, I must take this step and cooperate with Qiu Tianwei. Since there's no other choice, might as well play it big. What the Jin Count achieved 100 years ago, I might be able to do as well. He then looked towards Zhang Chanhua. Chanhua, I need you to go to Furious Tide City. Hearing her father's plan, Zhang Chanhua was startled, wondering if her father intended to send her to Qiu Tianwei, that beast. Zhang Chong, seeing his daughter jump to such a conclusion, was speechless. Even if I'm ambitious, I wouldn't be so monstrous as to throw my own daughter into the fire. He then explained reluctantly, I just want you to meet Qiu Tianwei's daughter, Qiu Yaoer. Zhang Chanhua was again again shocked. Dad, you're not thinking of having me seduce that legendary female demon, are you? I may be good at seducing men, but I've never tried seducing women. Zhang Chong was speechless once more. He told Zhang Chanhua, once you meet Zhou Yaoer, you must establish a good relationship with her and become an indispensable person by her side. Zhang Chanhua let out a sigh of relief. Good thing I'm not being sent to seduce anyone. My charm has already been spent on Shenlang. Switching targets might really not work out. Thus, Zhang Prefect and Shenlang's two female generals were about to engage in a battle of wits and charm. Meanwhile, Su Chanqian, already on the ship and disguised, stood in a corner listening to merchants enthusiastically discuss furious Tide City's Miss Zhou Yaoer. According to these people's assessment, she was terrifying, especially brutal towards men. She had once skinned several pirates who insulted women and hung them on spear poles as a warning. Moreover, she had been waging war at sea for years, amassing countless pirates under her command, making even Qiu Xiao, the young master, seem less influential than his sister. Hearing the merchant's assessments of Zhou Yaoer, Su Chanqian thought, to intimidate a scum like Qiu Xiao, she must indeed be a dangerous and powerful femme fatale. But this is good. The stronger she is, the more likely my revenge will be successful. Just then, someone on the ship shouted, "Look, furious Tide City is in sight." Looking up, a bustling city came into view. "Zhou Yaoer, here I come. Shenlang, I will fulfill our agreement. Wait for my news." Simultaneously, inside Shenlang's residence at the mythical turtle count's mansion, he was lying on the bed, allowing Mulan to check the injury on his waist. Seeing Mulan's smiling face, Shenlang, "Dear, how did you get this injury?" Shenlang, fearing Mulan's smile, quickly replied, "Su Chanqian tried to seduce me with her beauty. After being rejected, she got angry and twisted my waist harshly." Hearing Shenlang's words, Mulan's smile deepened, her disdain for the man before her growing. He really thinks I don't know anything? The day Su Chanqian came, I was eavesdropping outside the door and heard everything clearly. At that moment, Shenlang suddenly said, "Wife, did you write scumbag on me somewhere?" Hearing Shenlang's casual remark, an infuriated Mulan pressed on his sore spot, causing Shenlang to yelp in pain and quickly change the subject. Wait, wife, haven't you always been worried about Jin Hui not finding a match? This time, your husband has really helped a lot. Mulan, interested upon hearing it was about Jin Hui, listened attentively as Shenlang explained the whole situation. The scene shifts to Jin Hui's place. When the woman entered Jin Hui's room, the tidy arrangement and the many cats he kept surprised her. This man, capable of killing without blinking, seemed completely different from what she had expected. Suddenly, a shout came from outside, followed by Jin Sword Lady bursting in, leaving Jin Hui scrambling. He quickly told Jin Sword Lady, "Sister, please take good care of this lady. I'll go get some food." He then hurried out, leaving Jin Sword Lady confused. Brother's reaction, it's like how the new recruits look when they see me. When Jin Hui returned with snacks, he was again at a loss. Seeing the two women crying together, Jin Sword Lady was promising the woman, "Red Thread sister, don't worry, I'll ask brother-in-law tomorrow to annihilate the Zhu family for your revenge." The next day, Jin Hui reported to Shenlang, "Brother-in-law, Wang Lian is dead." Shenlang was also surprised. That fast? Jin Hui informed Shenlang, Wang Lian didn't die from illness. He set his room on fire and burned himself to ashes. Shenlang fell silent. Wang Lian was someone who feared death, so his decisively tragic end was unexpected. Jin Hui then handed over a piece of broken tile, the last relic left by Wang Lian. Shenlang examined the tile and the characters on it, finding it strange that even the smart brain couldn't identify it. It was likely written in a moment of lucidity. He then handed the tile back to Jin Hui, instructing him to properly collect Wang Lian's ashes for burial along with the tile. Once everything was arranged, Shenlang began to move forward with his next plan, which involved gathering astronomical sums of gold coins for Cliffwatch Island. For this purpose, he visited a secret cave in the mountains he had specifically constructed. On the way back, he also visited Wang Lian's grave, acknowledging, "Wang Lian, you helped me eliminate Lin Zhua and struck a fatal blow to the peaceful Stability Count's mansion, disrupting the Salt Mountain leader of 1,000 households' attacks and harassment against us. Your merits and demerits are balanced." Suddenly, a cold voice emerged from behind. "Is that the mythical turtle count's son-in-law, Shenlang?" Ahead, the sudden appearance startled Jin Hui and Shen 13, who immediately drew their swords to protect Shenlang. A man exuding a terrifying aura approached them, and as he got closer, even Jin Hui and 13, both skilled fighters, felt intimidated. When he reached them, he asked again, "Was it you who deciphered my meteor from beyond the heaven sword technique?" Hearing this, Shenlang felt fear for the first time, but still answered bravely, "Yes, it was me." At that moment, Shenlang was internally panicking, realizing from the question that this man must be Li Qianqiu, one of the 6 great masters of the Yu Kingdom and the Southern Sea Sword King. Could it be that breaking his sword technique angered him? Knowing Li Qianqiu had dueled with Mulan's master Zhong Chuk and Yen struggle to soar, both ending in instant defeats, and rumors said this man killed even his own wife for the sake of mastering the sword. At that moment, Li Qianqiu suddenly turned and began walking forward, signaling Shenlang to follow him. Jin Hui and Shen 13, seeing this, drew their swords again to protect Shenlang, ready to lay down their lives if necessary. Li Qianqiu spoke again, "I've already spoken with the mythical turtle count. Just come with me." Shenlang was startled. If Li Qianqiu wanted to kill me, it would be as easy as squashing an ant. He wouldn't lie about such a trivial matter. He then ordered Jin Hui and Shen 13 to return first, choosing to follow Li Qianqiu himself. Following Li Qianqiu's lead, Shenlang boarded a dilapidated carriage. When Li Qianqiu climbed aboard and donned a coachman's robe, his appearance transformed into that of a weathered old man. Li Qianqiu then drove the carriage southward with Shenlang in tow. Throughout the journey, Li Qianqiu was like a robot, meditating while Shenlang ate, and even during the drive, remembering the joyful times traveling south with Mulan. Shenlang, who was normally as lively as a husky, found himself bored to the brink of depression, finally understanding who Tang Yan got his personality from. After 2 days of travel, they arrived at Southern Sea Sword Island. Upon landing, Li Qianqiu continued forward without a word. Passing by a cliff, Shenlang saw Tang Yan standing at the edge, sword in hand, lost in thought as if he were a statue. Just as Shenlang wondered if Tang Tang Yan was about to demonstrate some incredible sword technique, Tang Yan suddenly leaped from the cliff. Shocked, Xinlang thought, wow, so the lineage of the Southern Sea Sword King, aside from their abstemious lifestyle and dangerous driving, also practices such an extreme method of training by jumping off cliffs. Soon, Li Qianqiu led Xinlang to a cave and entered without saying a word. Following him into the cave, Xinlang was overwhelmed by a foul smell that nauseated him. Li Qianqiu rushed to a barrier and tenderly called out a woman's name. Wife, your husband has arrived, and I've brought someone with me. Wife, you don't have to seclude yourself anymore. Let's go out and live our lives, shall we? Xinlang was astonished. Was this the same cold and unmatched Sword King? His gentle voice was even more cloying than Xinlang's own. Suddenly, a hoarse and aged female voice came from inside. Get lost. If it weren't for you saving that wretch and bringing her home as our adopted daughter, how could our meteor from beyond the heavens technique have been stolen? I treated her so well, like my own daughter, and she still poisoned me, making me forget the contents of our sword manual. Li Qianqiu, and you even thought of betrothing her to Tang Yan. Ha, you're truly blind. Hearing this, Xinlang understood that the woman behind the barrier was the Sword King's wife. It seemed that the rumors about Li Qianqiu killing his wife to refine his swordsmanship were false, and clearly there was a deliberate plot against them. As Xinlang had analyzed, the meteor from beyond the heavens technique was dual-natured, requiring both husband and wife to practice together. The loss of the manual meant the loss of the technique, explaining why the Sword King's wife secluded herself and why the Sword King disappeared from the martial world. Li Qianqiu, in a state of agitation, banged on the barrier. Wife, you don't have to torture yourself with seclusion anymore. I've brought someone who has fully deciphered the manual. Our family's sword technique won't be lost. Hearing that someone had deciphered their family's sword technique, the barrier slowly opened. In the dim light of the cave, a decaying hand emerged from behind the door, revealing a woman whose body was as rotten and oozing with pus as a toad's. Li Qianqiu then turned to Xinlang and bowed. Young master, I'm troubling you with this. Seeing the situation, Xinlang no longer hesitated and agreed to help. He was soon brought to Li Qianqiu's residence. However, once he actually began transcribing, he started to feel overwhelmed internally. This is hundreds of pages of sword manual. Does Li Qianqiu want to work me to death? Suddenly, I really miss my brother-in-law. After 2 days and nights of relentless effort, the entire sword technique was finally restored. Li Qianqiu, trembling with excitement upon receiving the recovered manual, rushed out without even thanking Xinlang. When Li Qianqiu's wife saw the manual, she was moved to tears, deeply touched that their family's sword technique was truly restored. Li Qianqiu then hurriedly took this opportunity to persuade his wife to come home with him. Wife, don't live in this cave anymore. It's bad for your health. Hearing this request, Li Qianqiu's wife quickly retreated behind the barrier. Her consciousness had returned to normal, and naturally, she did not want her husband to see her in such a state. Li Qianqiu, seeing his wife upset, quickly left. Though he didn't manage to convince his wife to come home today, he was still happy, feeling that his wife's mood had improved significantly from before. Meanwhile, in a Zhu family shelter, Zhu Lanting, who had been revived, looked gaunt and frenzied, rambling incoherently in a state of madness. My family's century-old foundation, destroyed by Xinlang. Zhu Wenhua, beside him, roared, Father, let's report Xinlang to the governor. We must make Xinlang pay with his life. Zhu Lanting suddenly stood up, screaming, how do we report? Do you have evidence? Since that beast has left me with nothing, I'll go to the Autumn Breeze Pavilion. I will spare no expense to kill Xinlang. The Autumn Breeze Pavilion is the strongest assassin organization in the Yu Kingdom. Any target they accept, whether wealthy merchants or nobles, dies silently and without a trace. Not only is the Autumn Breeze Pavilion powerful, but its background is also very deep. Rumors link it with the Southern Sea Sword faction, the Shui family, and even the third prince of the Yu Kingdom. The next day, Zhu Lanting, with a fierce momentum, arrived at the Autumn Breeze Pavilion and immediately asked loudly, how much to kill the mythical turtle Count's mansion son-in-law, Xinlang? However, the pavilion's manager directly refused. We do not accept. Zhu Lanting was shocked. It's just a minor son-in-law. Why won't you take the job? Don't you know the mythical turtle Count's mansion is doomed? The manager explained. This Xinlang is always protected by a team of warriors and 3 experts. The cost of killing him is too high, and the probability of failure is too great. Zhu Lanting quickly mentioned. No, Xinlang is not in the mythical turtle Count's mansion now, but hundreds of miles away, alone without any expert protection, only accompanied by an old coachman. The manager squinted. Truly no guards with him? Zhu Lanting affirmed that he had people monitoring Xinlang's journey and urged that now was the best opportunity to kill him. The manager's demeanor changed. I can take the job, but it will be expensive. Zhu Lanting asked how much, and the manager pointed to the top of the list. 10,000 gold coins. Isn't this just robbery? Seeing Zhu Lanting's outrage, the manager smirked. No matter, if it's too expensive, you're welcome to seek someone else. Zhu Lanting, gritting his teeth, shouted, I'll pay, but you must bring me his body. I want to flay him, crush his bones to dust. The manager, smiling, handed over an agreement. As you wish. Sign here. At this moment, as Zhu Lanting said, Xinlang was being taken back to his mansion by Li Qianqiu, who had changed his appearance. Sitting in the back of the carriage, Xinlang couldn't help but ask, Senior, did you ever find that adopted daughter of yours? After a moment of silence, Li Qianqiu nodded. Xinlang continued to ask, then, why didn't you just kill her to avenge yourself? Li Qianqiu sighed and told Xinlang, the girl is the daughter of the Shui family. Yen struggled to soar. Shui, and the reason I can't kill her is that she holds the antidote for my wife's poison, which must be taken once a year, otherwise, she will die. Moreover, Shui is about to become the third prince's concubine. Upon hearing this, Xinlang frowned deeply. The Shui family is too vicious, letting their own daughter pretend to be an orphan to harm the Southern Sea Sword King. This century-old ally. No wonder they look down on our mythical turtle Count's mansion. They have already found a powerful backer and want to completely sever ties with us. Meanwhile, a few kilometers ahead, Zhu Lanting and the master of Autumn Breeze Pavilion had been lying in ambush for a long time. Seeing the scout return, Zhu Lanting hurriedly went up to inquire whether there were any experts with Xinlang. The scout reported truthfully that there was only an old driver with Xinlang, and the assassin confirmed that the driver's face did not not match any known expert of the time. Hearing this, Zhu Lanting was overjoyed. Shenlang, today is your day of death. I will make you regret ever offending me, even in hell. At this moment, the master said to Zhu Lanting, just wait here. In 1 hour, I will deliver Shenlang's corpse to you. Then, with an order, all the assassins mounted their horses and rushed out. At this moment, Zhu Lanting also mounted his horse, ready to follow. The master was startled. You're going too? This is against the rules. At this time, Zhu Lanting, unable to wait to see Shenlang dead, roared at the master, I'll pay extra. I want to personally behead Shenlang. On the other side, Li Qianqiu and Shenlang were chatting casually on their way. At that moment, Shenlang suddenly remembered the evaluation of his martial arts talent by Grandmaster Zhong Chuk. And right now, I am following a Grandmaster who is even more formidable than him. Maybe he has already seen through my exceptional qualities and will take me as his disciple. Thinking of this, Shenlang couldn't help but ask, Sword King Senior, could you please see if I have the talent for martial arts cultivation? Li Qianqiu replied without hesitation, not suitable. You don't have the talent for martial arts. Hearing this harsh answer, Shenlang was heartbroken. Sword King Senior, you are too straightforward. Zhong Chuk speaks more pleasantly. Then, Li Qianqiu added, your wife's martial arts talent is very high, but no matter how high, it can't compare to that big fool. I've never seen such heaven-defying meridians. Shenlang was shocked. You actually know Big Fool? Zhong Chuk brought him to see me. Shenlang could already imagine the scene of Zhong Chuk showing off Big Fool to the Sword King. Then, Li Qianqiu sighed again. What's the use of being powerful in martial arts? The Emperor of the Great Flame Empire doesn't know martial arts, but still unified the world. Power is the strongest force in this world. Shenlang then asked him, Senior, your disciple Tang Yan's martial arts talent is astonishing, second only to Big Fool, right? Li Qianqiu shook his head and said, no, there's another person whose martial arts talent is higher than Tang Yan's, second only to Big Fool, the daughter of Pirate King Qiu Tianwei, Qiu Yaoer. Shenlang was again shocked. Is this Qiu Yaoer that amazing? Young Master Shen, if one day the mythical Turtle Count's mansion faces great danger, come to my southern sea sword island. I will surely save your life. After saying this, he turned back around and continued to drive the carriage without saying more. Shenlang, after hearing this, was deeply moved. This Sword King really is a cold-faced, warm-hearted person. Suddenly, Li Qianqiu sensed a hint of danger. Immediately after, assassins from the Autumn Breeze Pavilion jumped out from all directions, surrounding their carriage. At that moment, a haughty laugh was heard from the side. Zhu Lanting, accompanied by a few guards and assassins, was standing not far away, pointing at Shenlang and shouting, Shenlang, you didn't expect this, did you? We meet again. At this moment, Shenlang was initially stunned, then retorted sarcastically, oh my, Viscount Zhu Lanting, how have you become so haggard in just a few days? Zhu Lanting, seeing Shenlang's feigned ignorance, trembled with rage and pointed at Shenlang's nose, shouting, this is all you're doing. You breached the dam and flooded my family's centuries-old foundation. You really are ruthless. Seeing Zhu Lanting pointing at him, Shenlang quickly moved aside and said, Viscount Zhu Lanting, don't falsely accuse me. On that day, I was hundreds of miles away at the New River hunting ground. How could I have possibly breached your dam so quickly? After hearing this, Zhu Lanting snorted coldly, Shenlang, stop acting. Heaven has a road, yet you refuse to walk it. Hell has no gate, yet you insist on barging through. If you don't stay in your shell, who else but you is seeking death? Today, I will kill you. At this moment, the previously silent Li Qianqiu spoke up. Autumn Breeze Pavilion, you actually accepted the job to assassinate the son-in-law of the Count's mansion. Aren't you breaking the rules? The master of the Autumn Breeze Pavilion disdainfully said, a mere son-in-law is as insignificant as an ant. What's wrong with killing him? You seem to be meddling too much, old man. Hearing the name of the Autumn Breeze Pavilion, Shenlang instinctively thought of the Shui family and then said, so, it's your master behind us who wants my life? The master laughed. Not exactly, but our master really dislikes you. For a small fry like you, being disliked means a dead end. Shenlang frowned deeply after hearing this. Could it be not the Shui family, but the third prince? After all, his lackey Li Wenjing was killed by me. The third prince has a reason to dislike me. At this point, Zhu Lanting didn't want to listen to their nonsense anymore. He raised his sword and charged towards Shenlang. Li Qianqiu, who didn't want to reveal his identity, had no choice but to stand up and draw his wooden sword. Seeing this sword, the master of the pavilion was suddenly shocked, a figure flashing through his mind. He hurriedly stopped Zhu Lanting, who was almost upon them. Stop, everyone, stop. May I ask if you are? Li Qianqiu tore off his disguise and said coldly, I am the person you're thinking of. With the true identity of the Sword King revealed, the assassins from the Autumn Breeze Pavilion were instantly terrified. The master pleaded, could we pretend that we have never seen each other today? But when he saw that the Sword King didn't respond and kept walking towards him, his mindset nearly collapsed. Li Qianqiu, we are people of the Grandmaster Yan struggle to soar, with the Martial Peace Count's mansion and the third prince as our backers. You can't kill me. However, this statement only intensified Li Qianqiu's killing intent. Who do you think will know out here in the wilderness? As soon as he finished speaking, without waiting for the master to continue, the Sword King pierced his neck. The moment he fell, everyone present was stunned. The assassins, coming back to their senses, scrambled to run away, but in the next second, a lightning-like figure passed through, and the assassins were instantly splattered with blood. In the blink of an eye, all the assassins from the Autumn Breeze Pavilion were dead. Shenlang was astounded and quickly asked the Sword King, Senior, was that your celestial fall sword play? So cool, I want to learn. But the Sword King only replied, was it necessary to use sword play to kill these people? Hearing Li Qianqiu's words, Shenlang admired him even more and immediately bowed to the Sword King, wanting to become his disciple and learn swordsmanship. However, Li Qianqiu, without turning his head, said, don't waste your time. Shenlang, on the verge of tears, exclaimed, damn, you're really bad at making conversation. Then, Shenlang jumped off the carriage and caught up with the Sword King. Senior, will my wife really be that powerful in the future? Originally, it was impossible, but because of your presence, she will not only be as powerful as me in the future, but will even surpass me. Shenlang, overjoyed by the Sword King's praise, cried with happiness, Senior Sword King, you're really good at conversation. At this moment, Li Qianqiu walked towards Zhu Lanting. Although the guards attempted to resist, their efforts were in vain. vain. Li Qianqiu's sword moved swiftly, killing all without even a hint of a sword flourish being visible. Zhu Lanting watched everything in terror. As the Sword King approached, he trembled and retreated. When the wooden sword was placed on Zhu Lanting's neck, he collapsed, kneeling before them, begging the Sword King to spare him. However, Li Qianqiu sighed and told Shenlang, "I can't kill this man." Shenlang was stunned. "Why?" Li Qianqiu explained, "I come from humble origins, so I've always felt inferior in the presence of nobles. The thought of killing a noble feels like opposing the royal authority of the entire country, so I can't bring myself to do it." Shenlang was speechless internally. "Senior, how can you maintain such a cold and ruthless facade while saying something so cowardly?" Zhu Lanting, hearing this, was overjoyed. Yes, I am a banner of the sovereign's new policy. Who dares to kill me? Who dares?" Following this, Shenlang stepped forward and said, "No worries. If Senior you can't kill him, then I'll do it." Zhu Lanting was stunned. Young Master Shen, I was wrong. Please don't kill me. I promise. I swear I'll never oppose you again." At this moment, all his dignity and arrogance were gone. He kept kowtowing to Shenlang, begging for his life. However, Shenlang took out a small bottle and taunted Zhu Lanting one last time. "You are even worse than Tianheng. Such a lack of backbone really disgraces the nobility." After saying this, he pinched Zhu Lanting's mouth open and poured the liquid from the bottle into it. Instantly, Zhu Lanting felt as if his mouth to his internal organs were being scorched by fire, enduring unbearable pain. This pain and his cries of agony lasted for a quarter of an hour before he finally died in agony. Then, Shenlang began to personally arrange the scene. Li Qianqiu was puzzled. "You should know that if I had acted, even if you arranged the scene to look like a mutual fight, it wouldn't fool anyone." Shenlang explained, "For cases like this, everyone knows who did it, but there needs to be some explanation. Having a false answer is better than no answer at all, otherwise, wouldn't it make things difficult for some people?" An hour later, the two continued their journey northward, and Shenlang started his verbal barrage again. "Senior, have you ever seen Qiu Yaoer? I heard she's stunningly beautiful." Li Qianqiu hesitated for a moment before saying, "I don't know how to describe her." Shenlang quickly continued to ask, "I heard she likes women. Is that true?" The Sword King, not good at gossiping about others behind their backs, could only respond that he really didn't know. But then, Shenlang started gossiping about other things behind the Sword King's back. Finally, Li Qianqiu simply meditated while driving the carriage, ignoring Shenlang. No wonder he chose Tang Yan as his disciple, because he doesn't like to talk. At the same time, the mythical Turtle Count's mansion also welcomed an uninvited guest, the legitimate daughter of the Martial Peace Count's mansion, Xueli, who was also the fiancée of Jin Mutsung in name. This time, Xueli's visit led the mythical Turtle Count to somewhat guess the intention of the Martial Peace Count's mansion, but the Jin family's hospitality was still without fault. However, Xueli's arrogant demeanor was quite off-putting. Upon her arrival, she skipped the basic courtesies and went straight to the point with the mythical Turtle Count. "I have come here to call off the engagement." Upon hearing this, the faces of everyone in the mythical Turtle Count's mansion darkened. What does your Xue family mean by this? So direct, calling off the engagement without even bothering to find an excuse. What do you take our Jin family for? Seeing their reaction, Xueli casually performed a courtesy and said, "My parents have long wanted to call off the engagement but couldn't find a reason, and now that I've reached a marriageable age, I took the initiative to come here and end it. To avoid making it too embarrassing for both families, I request that the mythical Turtle Count personally come to our house to dissolve the marriage contract." Jin Mutsung's face turned red with rage, his eyes bloodshot. Being called off the engagement was a humiliation he had never faced before. Xueli looked at Jin Mutsung with disdain and contempt in her eyes. "You think you, a waste fat pig, are worthy of marrying me? Keep dreaming. It's like a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. I, Xueli, am the adopted daughter of the kind consort, a genius noblewoman. My ideal partner is the son of the Westguard Marquis, the current martial champion. Any single hair of his is more noble than you. Jin Mutsung, you fat pig." The Zhong family of the Westguard Marquis mansion in Yu Kingdom ranks as the second oldest noble family, the second military giant, and a true warlord. The Westguard border army of Yu Kingdom, facing the state of Chu, almost entirely comes from the Westguard Grand Marshal Mansion, which is practically synonymous with the Westguard Marquis Mansion. The kind consort, coming from the Westguard Marquis Mansion and also being the mother of the third prince, has the backing of the Jing family, which gives the third prince the confidence to contend with the crown prince. At this moment, Jin Mutsung, holding back the rage about to burst forth, stood in front of Xueli, grinding his teeth, and said, "Xueli, remember this. Fortunes can change in 30 years. My brother-in-law will definitely not let your Xue family off." The next second, tears streamed down his face, and he turned around and ran out. Jin Mulan was speechless. "You threatened while crying and run away right after. It would have been better not to say anything at all." And Xueli didn't take Jin Mutsung's words seriously at all. She directly gave a formal goodbye to the mythical Turtle Count, saying, "I have delivered the message, so I will take my leave now." After saying this, she left the mythical Turtle Count's mansion without looking back. Jin Mulan watched Xueli leave without saying anything. She knew Shenlang cherished this little brother-in-law the most. It was okay for family members to bully Jin Mutsung, but not for outsiders. It seems the Xue family is in for some trouble. At the docks of Furious Tide City, Su Qianqian had been waiting for days and finally saw Qiu Yaoer returning from her expedition. The dock was packed with people, making it difficult for Su Qianqian to move forward. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Look, Miss Qiu is coming out." When Su Qianqian looked up, she was stunned by the figure in front of her. On the deck stood a tall, majestic woman, surrounded by numerous blood-stained sacks, her trophies. This woman, known as the female pirate and called the blood demon, Qiu Yaoer, exuded an overwhelming presence, especially with the twin swords on her back. Su Qianqian was mesmerized, finding this woman incredibly attractive, to the point where even she, a straight woman, was moved. As Qiu Yaoer walked through the crowd, Su Qianqian could feel her powerful aura even from a distance. Now, Su Qianqian faced a dilemma, because the real Qiu Yaoer was nothing like she had imagined. How could she infiltrate Qiu Yaoer's side and become an indispensable person to her? At that moment, a personal maid handed Qiu Yaoer a secret letter. Upon opening it, it read, "Daughter of New River Prefect Zhang Chong." 2/4 of an hour later, at Qiu Yaoer's residence for receiving guests, Zhang Chunhua, who had just seen Qiu Yaoer, was also taken aback by the beauty and aura of the woman before her. Zhang Chunhua confidently said, "Miss Qiu, I have a plan to help you defeat Qiu Xiao, become the young master of Furious Tide City within 6 months, ascend to the throne of Furious Tide City within 2 years, unify the Eastern Seas in 3 years, and achieve a Marquisate as a woman within 5 years." Zhang Chunhua knew that as a strategist, it was crucial to be direct, impress the listener, and speak to their deepest desires before proceeding with the discussion. However, Qiu Yaoer didn't play by the expected rules. Not interested, send the guest away. Zhang Chunhua was confusedly escorted out by the guards. Half an hour later, a maid announced that Su Chanqian, the daughter of the dying family Su, requested an audience. Upon seeing Qiu Yaoer, Su Chanqian put on a pitiful and delicate demeanor, tears in her eyes. She recounted her hardships. Then, she coyly crawled towards Qiu Yaoer, confessing she was attracted to the general from the first glance and wished to stay by her side forever to serve her. However, Qiu Yaoer responded indifferently, "I don't like women." Then, Su Chanqian was picked up by the guards, ready to be thrown out of the city. In the next second, realizing her situation, Su Chanqian struggled free from the guards and ran towards Qiu Yaoer, kneeling before her and crying, "General, I am really at my wit's end. Please save me." After speaking, she couldn't resist touching Qiu Yaoer's sexy thigh, marveling at how the skin of this female demon was even better than her own. Qiu Yaoer then said, "I've heard about your situation. I didn't expect you to still be alive. I can take you in, but you'll have to live with the other women I've rescued." Su Chanqian immediately thought this wouldn't do. Her goal was to become indispensable to Qiu Yaoer. She then pitifully said, "I've been terrified these past few days. Now, I only feel safe by your side." "General," Qiu Yaoer asked, "can you cook, wash clothes, serve tea, and pour water?" Su Chanqian quickly replied, "I can learn all these." Qiu Yaoer was unimpressed. "Everyone who stays by my side has some skills. What use do I have for you, Su Chanqian, if you can do nothing?" Su Chanqian hurriedly said, "My best skill is managing accounts." She thought if she could manage Qiu Yaoer's accounts, she would definitely become her confidant. But Qiu Yaoer poured cold water on her plans again. "I only deal with killing and looting. There are no accounts to manage." Su Chanqian was shocked. "No accounts to manage? Then where do all the treasures you loot every day go?" But before she could ask, Qiu Yaoer impatiently said, "Since you're useless at everything, go sweep the yard." Following her words, 2 guards approached Su Chanqian again, leaving her on the verge of tears. Moments later, Su Chanqian, broom in hand, appeared in the backyard. "This is ridiculous. I came here to be a femme fatale, and now I've somehow become a janitor." Looking around, she thought, "Wow, the competition for this position is fierce. There are more beautiful women sweeping here than in the sovereign's harem." At the main mansion of Furious Tide City today, Count Jinhai, Tang Luan, following Zhang Chang's instructions, came to propose a marriage alliance with the pirate king Qiu Tianwei. Qiu Tianwei, as if he had heard the world's biggest joke, let out a terrifying laugh. Then his expression darkened as he said, "Why would a noble like you want to form a marriage alliance with a pirate like me?" Tang Luan explained, "You are not just any pirate, but the ruler of order in these seas. Both the third prince and the crown prince are seeking your alliance. If you agree, you could be the future Marquis of Furious Tides." Hearing this, Qiu Tianwei was naturally pleased, then asked, "Are you planning for my son to marry your daughter?" Count Jinhai shook his head. "No, I want my son to marry your daughter, Qiu Yaoer." Qiu Tianwei snorted coldly. "It would be easy if it were about my son getting married, but my daughter's marriage is not something I can dictate." Seeing this, Tang Luan began to flatter, "Marquis of Furious Tides, marriages among nobility are usually decided by the parents. If you agree, I am willing to offer 50% of the Isle of Gold Mountain as a dowry. What do you think?" Qiu Tianwei laughed out loud. "Count Jinhai, have you forgotten? Your Isle of Gold Mountain has already been lost to the Jin family." Tang Luan waved his hand dismissively. "It's just a contract. Even if I don't hand over the island, what can Jinj would do to me? But Marquis of Furious Tides, although you are invincible at sea, you can't lay a finger on land. And now, there is a rare opportunity. With the Isle of Gold Mountain, you can use it as a springboard to enter the land. Compared to the Jin family, the sovereign would definitely prefer you to be the island lord. Then, the Jin family's Cliffwatch Island would also be easily within your reach." Hearing Tang Luan's words, Qiu Tianwei was tempted. Qiu Tianwei asked, "Tell me, how many troops do you need me to station on the Isle of Gold Mountain?" Seeing Qiu Tianwei's agreement, Tang Luan immediately said, 5,000 troops, because only that many can resist the mythical Turtle Count's army, and the mining and production will still be completed by my family. Tang Luan was clear in his mind. The Jin family doesn't know when they will fall, and I'm not going to listen to Zhang Chang's words and hand over all the islands to Qiu Tianwei. However, Qiu Tianwei sneered, "I want 70%. Tang Luan's face changed as he shouted, "Marquis of Furious Tides, you are just dispatching troops to guard the island. Isn't half of the profits enough?" Qiu Tianwei then showed a terrifyingly greedy smile. "Count Jinhai, if you don't agree, then I'll just wait for you to hand over the Isle of Gold Mountain and then take the island myself. By then, I can take everything. As for the miners, don't forget, what Furious Tide City doesn't lack is slaves." At this moment, Tang Luan was grinding his teeth in frustration but dared not express his anger. He then said, "Fine, 70% it is. Let's sign the contract." A barbaric pirate like Qiu Tianwei wouldn't sign any worthless agreement with him. As for the marriage alliance, he had only temporarily agreed, but he was curious about which son Tang Luan would have marry his daughter. When Tang Luan mentioned it would be his heir, Tang Yun, Qiu Tianwei asked, "Doesn't he already have a betrothal? It can be annulled." Qiu Tianwei mocked, "It seems that you so-called nobles are only honest in words, but don't actually follow the rules." He then ordered, "All brothers, on my command, gather 5,000 men and prepare the ships. We're heading to the Isle of Gold Mountain." On the other side, Sword King Li Qianqiu had escorted Shenlang into the territory of New River County. "Senior, let's stay at the New River official inn tonight. No more sleeping in the carriage. I, the son-in-law, have money." Entering the inn, Shenlang shouted, "I, Shenlang, the son-in-law of the mythical Turtle Count Count's mansion. Demand the best room for myself, and this building shall not accommodate anyone else. Officials hurried to accommodate the arrival of God of Wealth, though Li Qianqiu felt Shenlang was being too ostentatious, which could easily bring trouble. However, Shenlang was unconcerned, confident in his protection by the Southern Sea Sword King. As night fell, Shenlang settled into the most luxurious room at the inn, while Li Qianqiu, disliking official residences, chose to sleep in the carriage again. But just as Shenlang fell asleep, a haughty woman's voice came from outside. A groggy Shenlang heard someone shouting, "Shenlang, a mere son-in-law, dares to occupy the best suite in the official inn? I, Shueli, don't even regard the mythical turtle count highly, let alone a trivial son-in-law." When Shenlang, dressed and out of the room, saw a woman standing in the courtyard, ranting like a shrew, he realized this was Jin Muzong's fiancée, who had sought him out before he could confront her. Holding back his anger, Shenlang, accompanied by Li Qianqiu, approached Shueli and politely bowed to her. Shueli immediately showed a disgusted expression, cursing Shenlang while gesturing for him to stay away from her. This action thoroughly infuriated Shenlang. Is this woman insane? He then patted Li Qianqiu on the shoulder and said, "Coachman, let's go." As they passed by Shueli, she hurriedly jumped away as if touching them would infect her with a disease. At that moment, Shenlang activated his X-ray vision towards Shueli, and in an instant, he had an idea. "Shueli, watch how I deal with you." Shortly after, Shenlang checked into an ordinary inn. In his room, he set up an array of bottles and jars on the table. Soon, he found a bottle of castor oil extract. The entire castor plant is poisonous, and even touching its leaves can cause countless blisters to form on the skin, accompanied by unbearable itching, making one wish to peel off their flesh. The blisters would continuously break and regrow until the skin scabs over and peels off, revealing new skin, thus ending the agony. This substance would neither leave scars nor endanger life, making it perfect for dealing with Shueli. Next, it was time for Shenlang to implement his plan. He went to the largest silk shop in the area and spent a significant amount of money to have a pair of underwear identical to Shueli's made in the shortest possible time. Back at the inn, Shenlang applied the castor leaves to the underwear and even sprinkled rose essence to mask the odor. With everything ready, the question was how to deliver it without arousing suspicion. Suddenly, he turned to Li Qianqiu, who was drinking tea. "Senior Sword King, you said you owed me a favor. Does that still stand?" Without hesitation, the Sword King nodded. Shenlang then revealed a mischievous smile. "Senior, can you help me switch Shueli's underwear with this pair? That would be using your favor." Hearing Shenlang's request, Li Qianqiu spit out the water he was drinking. "Damn, is my favor as the Sword King so worthless? This promise could save your life at a critical moment. And you, Shenlang, are asking me, the Sword King, to do such a sneaky act?" Seeing Li Qianqiu hesitate, Shenlang immediately launched into his dramatic performance. "Senior, I know this request puts you in a difficult position, but with Shueli surrounded by skilled protectors, you're the only one who can accomplish this task. But it's okay if you refuse. After all, accompanying you to the south was entirely voluntary on my part. You don't need to feel you owe me anything. I will still do my best to treat your wife when we return. Don't feel burdened. As for the maliciousness of this woman from the Shui family, you know it well. Insulting me tonight is a minor matter, but I found out they came from the direction of mythical Turtle City, clearly for the purpose of calling off the engagement. This is nothing less than trampling on the dignity of my father-in-law's entire family." Just as Shenlang was about to continue, Li Qianqiu interrupted him. "You've put it that way, Shenlang. It would indeed be unreasonable for me not to agree." Then, he used the hilt of his sword to pick up the underwear and, in the next second, vanished like a ghost. Half an hour later, as Shenlang was reading, a damp pair of underwear landed on the table. Picking up the underwear, Shenlang couldn't help but admire. The Sword King is really efficient. As for this pair of underwear, let's air it out and give it to Jin Muzong as a gift. Having completed the mission, Li Qianqiu felt a weight lifted off his shoulders, looking forward to a good night's sleep. Yet, just as he dozed off, he dreamt his wife slapped him fiercely, scolding him for engaging in such a despicable act and threatening to divorce him. This terrifying nightmare woke Li Qianqiu up instantly, and he decided he had to send Shenlang back at the earliest opportunity, without any delay. Meanwhile, Su Qianqian, whom Shenlang had sent to infiltrate, was diligently sweeping with her broom at her work post. "Sweeping like this every day, I won't even get to see Qiu Xiaoer's face." Meanwhile, the pirate king Qiu Tianwei was personally leading an army of 5,000, along with a fleet of ships, towards the Isle of Gold Mountain. His ambition was grand, to first swallow the Isle of Gold Mountain and then capture Cliffwatch Island. The next morning, the underwear thief Li Qianqiu, along with Shenlang, had already set off on their return to the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Suddenly, they heard the sound of galloping horses from behind. Turning back, they saw the cavalry escorting Shueli. The leading female guard shouted menacingly, "Out of the way, you mangy cur." Then, she haughtily led the troops away, stirring up dust that Shenlang inadvertently breathed in. He wondered, isn't this road leading to mythical Turtle City? Hasn't Shueli already been there? Shueli's troops made a surprising return, specifically to pass by Shenlang again, with the lead guard repeating, "Out of the way, you mangy cur." Shenlang was astonished. Are they insane? Did they really make a round trip just to tell me to get out of the way and to humiliate me by making me move aside? How does such a tyrannical woman manage to live? After humiliating Shenlang, Shueli and her entourage returned to the capital. Every night, Shueli insisted on staying in the best room of the official inns, driving everyone else out of the courtyard. 3 days passed quickly, and Shueli once again wore the underwear prepared by Shenlang, settling down for the night. In the middle of the night, Shueli felt an indescribable discomfort in her dream. Suddenly waking up, she felt an intense itch. She quickly got up, lifted the covers to check, and gasped at the sight of her condition. The next second, her screams echoed through the inn. Hearing the screams, her female guard rushed in to check on her mistress. Shueli hurriedly dismissed her, claiming she had just had a nightmare. However, Shueli was now in a panic. Despite her arrogance, she wasn't foolish. "I haven't done anything. How could I contract such ailments? This must not get out, or my future with the Jing family is ruined." She decided to return to her family immediately to seek treatment from the female physicians. Without a moment's delay, she ordered her horse readied for the return to Martial Peace City. In the following days, Shueli was in so much much pain that it was unbearable, not to mention riding a horse. Even sitting in a carriage was torture. She was in pain and itchy, but she had to endure it and dared not expose it. The journey was bumpy, and she could not rest for several days in a row. By the time she arrived at Marshall Peace City, she was haggard and had lost more than 10 pounds. In front of the gate of Mythical Turtle Count's mansion, Li Chinchio finally brought Shenlang back to the Mythical Turtle Count's mansion. After exchanging a few polite words, he left Mythical Turtle City as quickly as possible, ignoring Shenlang's retention. Done. It seems I've been disliked by the Sword King. Just back in the mansion, Shenlang immediately heard the good news that Qiu Tianwei had led troops to Isle of Gold Mountain. Then, Shenlang asked the Mythical Turtle Count to quickly gather 2,000 soldiers to head to Isle of Gold Mountain, but they were only to put on a show and not really fight. Next, Shenlang started to plan other small schemes. Now it's time to initiate the Cliff Watch Island strategy. Su Qianqian, you can't let me down. Shenlang went to Jin Muzong's study. Jin Muzong, who was writing vigorously, was suddenly startled by the underwear thrown in front of him. Turning his head and seeing it was from his brother-in-law, he immediately expressed his thanks, but then he told Shenlang that he had already quit. How long have you quit? 17 hours. Shenlang cheekily leaned into Jin Muzong's ear and said, these belong to Shueli. Hearing the name Shueli, Jin Muzong immediately jumped up excitedly, but the next second, he carefully asked Shenlang, brother-in-law, you didn't cuckold me, did you? Shenlang really wanted to slap him to death. Do I look like someone who lacks women? After the two joked around, Jin Muzong turned back to writing. Brother-in-law, no more chatting. I need to start studying. Shenlang was puzzled by Jin Muzong's sudden change of character and moved closer to see. Aren't these the treatises and poems I gave him? The conflict over Isle of Gold Mountain is over. Why is he still copying these? Jin Muzong replied with determination. Brother-in-law, if I don't start putting in effort, I'll never get married. So, I plan to take the imperial examination. I want to pass the exam and become a scholar like Tang Yun. Shenlang hurriedly advised him, you're going to inherit the Count's mansion with all its wealth and luxury. Don't make life harder for yourself by choosing such a difficult path. However, Jin Muzong explained, if I pass the imperial examination and become a scholar, surely some girls will see my talents and fall in love with me. Shenlang was dumbfounded by this unexpected response. People take the imperial exams to become officials, and you're doing it for the girls? So, brother-in-law, please get me more articles. Ideally, 700 to 800 treatises and a few thousand poems. If I don't pass this time, I'll try the next. I refuse to believe I can't succeed even once. Why don't you use that determination to write your own articles? Brother-in-law, how can you say such silly things? How could someone as dumb as me produce any articles? Count Jin Hai personally visited the Mythical Turtle Count's mansion, willingly handing over the Isle of Gold Mountain contract to the Mythical Turtle Count. 2 days later, the Earl of Mythical Turtle led 2,000 private soldiers, 200 metallurgists, 800 miners, and boarded dozens of ships to take over the Isle of Gold Mountain. Tang Yun, the heir of Count Jin Hai's mansion, personally accompanied them. On the deck, Shenlang and Tang Yun began their respective performances. Shenlang, after complimenting Tang Yun, said, the Jin and Tang families have been allies for generations. Now that misunderstandings are cleared up, it's time for our families to let bygones be bygones. From now on, let's renew our friendship and unite as brotherly families. What do you say? Hearing Shenlang's words, Tang Yun, despite his disdain, nodded and agreed. Then, Shenlang brought up that his family's heir, Jin Muzong, was unmarried, and the Tang family also had a daughter of marriageable age. He suggested using this opportunity to form a marriage alliance and continue the centuries-old friendship. Tang Yun was secretly delighted. Who doesn't know that Jin Muzong and the legitimate daughter of the Marshall Peace Count, Shueli, had a marriage arrangement? But Shenlang's statement clearly indicated that the engagement was now dissolved. Thinking this, Tang Yun stated, marriage is a significant matter. I will convey this to my father once we return. At this moment, Jin Hui came over and said, we have arrived at the Isle of Gold Mountain. Shenlang went to the bow and looked forward. Not far away was the contested Isle of Gold Mountain. Following this, the Mythical Turtle Count ordered all craftsmen and miners to start preparations for formally taking over the Isle of Gold Mountain's mines and smelting plants. As the ship docked, all the workers began to disembark onto the island. Tang Yun was sneakily looking around, trying to spot where Qiu Tianwei's pirates were hiding. Suddenly, a series of noisy shouts came from not far away, followed by thousands of pirates armed with machetes rushing down from the hills. Leading the pirates was not Qiu Xiao, but Qiu Tianwei's adopted son, the fourth most notorious figure of Furious Tide City, Qiu Hao. Seeing this, the Tang family's warriors immediately drew their swords in preparation for battle. However, the arrogant Qiu Hao did not take these warriors seriously and quickly dispatched one with a swing of his blade. Tang Yun was shocked. Wasn't it agreed that they would kill the warriors of the Mythical Turtle Count? Standing on the ship, Shenlang feigned confusion. Tang Yun, wasn't the Isle of Gold Mountain already handed over to the Jin family? Why are there so many pirates here? Tang Yun, standing on the shore, also pretended to be innocent, claiming he knew nothing about the situation and had not expected the pirate Qiu Tianwei to be so despicable as to occupy the island. He then theatrically shouted at the pirates, this island has been transferred to the Jin family. You pirates, leave at once. Qiu Hao burst into laughter upon hearing this. You should know, nothing that falls into the Qiu family's hands has ever been returned. The Mythical Turtle Count, upon hearing this, became furious and demanded Qiu Hao to summon Qiu Tianwei for a confrontation. However, Qiu Hao didn't take the Mythical Turtle Count seriously, mocking him as a defeated subordinate of his adoptive father, unworthy of negotiation. Shenlang, pretending to be forcefully restrained, said, Qiu Hao, you pirates daring to brazenly seize the Isle of Gold Mountain is an act against the Yu Kingdom. Aren't you afraid of the sovereign's wrath? Qiu Hao provocatively replied, Mythical Turtle Count, your sovereign would rather see you dead. If you're capable, lead your troops to fight us. Win, and the Isle of Gold Mountain will belong to the Jin family. Seeing Qiu Hao's despicable and shameless behavior, and with thousands of pirates behind him, the Mythical Turtle Count and Shenlang were infuriated yet powerless. At this moment, Qiu Hao grabbed a miner, arrogantly shouting his thanks for the generous gift from the Jin family, claiming the several hundred soldiers, miners, and craftsmen as his own, mockingly thanking the Earl of Mythical Turtle. The Mythical Turtle Count, shaking with anger and ready to retaliate, was interrupted by the sound of war drums. Realizing the danger, Shenlang exclaimed, "This is bad. That's the pirate fleet. It's a trap. We need to retreat quickly." The Mythical Turtle Count, setting aside his anger, immediately ordered, "Set sail. Full speed back." But the ships were too slow. Shenlang hurriedly called Jin Hui, instructing him to throw useless items into the sea to lighten the ships. Instantly, countless supplies and materials were tossed overboard. Qiu Hao, standing on the shore, waved and laughed mockingly. Thanks to the Mythical Turtle Count, not only manpower but also supplies. What a great benefactor indeed. Listening to Qiu Hao's words, the Mythical Turtle Count was so angry that his face turned red, and he almost bit his back teeth to pieces. Unable to hold back any longer, he cursed, "You Qiu family, wait and see. I will report to the sovereign and have you eradicated." After saying this, he spewed a mouthful of blood and collapsed, causing Shenlang and others to panic and rush to help him into the cabin. As the ships of the Mythical Turtle Count's mansion sailed away, boisterous and raucous laughter echoed from the dock. While Qiu Hao was basking in his own triumph, Zhang Chunhua approached. Seeing her, Qiu Hao disdainfully said, "Miss Zhang." The Mythical Turtle Count's mansion was utterly powerless. Zhang Chunhua remained silent. Inside the cabin, the Mythical Turtle Count was rinsing his mouth. Yes, everything, including the spitting of blood, was fake. Shenlang came forward and complimented, "Father-in-law, your acting is superb." However, the Mythical Turtle Count shook his head, disliking deception the most. Although the workers left behind were only temporarily hired, he was still very concerned. Shenlang comforted him, "Father-in-law, to make the act more convincing, some sacrifices are necessary. The enemies will only make them do hard labor, and we can rescue them in just over a month. Moreover, father-in-law, you need to continue pretending to be sick. Even from your sickbed, you must keep submitting petitions to the sovereign, requesting him to dispatch troops to suppress these pirates." This news spread quickly throughout the Yu Kingdom in just a few days. Despite winning the Isle of Gold Mountain conflict, after Jin's retreat from the Isle of Gold Mountain, everyone felt that the Jin family was doomed. Upon returning home, the Earl of Mythical Turtle, Jin Zhua, fell ill. From his sickbed, he wrote several memorials to the sovereign, each more pitiful and lamentable than the last. The sovereign, outwardly furious, immediately decreed a rebuke to Qiu Tianwei, ordering him to withdraw from the Isle of Gold Mountain. However, after the decree was issued, Qiu Tianwei simply ignored it, and the sovereign showed no further interest in pursuing the matter. Thus, the situation was left unresolved, and the Mythical Turtle Count's mansion, having just won the Isle of Gold Mountain conflict, was once again in a precarious state, like a candle flickering in the wind. However, Zhang Chong didn't feel victorious. Instead, he sensed a significant problem with the defeat of the Mythical Turtle Count's mansion. At this time, an envoy from the Hidden Origin Society, Shu Tingyu, came to visit, with the purpose of formally demanding repayment of a colossal debt from 20 years ago. He presented a list detailing all the amounts due, including interest, demanding a one-time payment of 700,000 in debt. However, the Mythical Turtle Count's mansion was facing a financial crisis, and the Mythical Turtle Count was already weak. Facing this enormous debt worsened his condition. Jean Mulan pleaded softly, "Envoy Shu, over the past 20 years, we have repaid 1 million gold coins, doing our utmost. Currently, the total gold coins owned by my entire family do not exceed 20,000. It's impossible for us to come up with 700,000 gold coins." Shenlang also lowered his pride to bow and implore Shu Tingyu, asking for a year's extension on behalf of the centuries-old friendship between the Hidden Origin Society and his family to make some preparations. However, Shu Tingyu still wore his deceptive smile. "I sympathize with your family's plight, but I am powerless in this matter." Jean Mulan cried out, "Shu Tingyu, do you intend to drive us to death? Do you want to watch as my entire Jin family hangs themselves?" Shu Tingyu sneered, "You have 1 month to repay the 700,000 gold coins according to the contract. Otherwise, our Hidden Origin Society will have no choice but to take back Cliffwatch Island, which you have mortgaged. We have already lost the Isle of Gold Mountain, and now you want to take Cliffwatch Island as well. I would rather die than hand over Cliffwatch Island." Facing Shenlang's accusation, Shu Tingyu didn't deny it, but simply responded with a smile. The contract was clearly written. If we don't receive 700,000 in a month, it will be up to the sovereign to decide. However, Shenlang, you've always been quite capable. Perhaps you really can gather this sum within a month. With that, he left amid their angry stares. After Shu Tingyu left, Jean Mulan sighed in relief. Seeing Mulan's perfect cooperation, Shenlang couldn't help but embrace and kiss her, ignoring his seriously ill father-in-law. Although they had fooled Shu Tingyu, Jean Mulan was still worried about gathering 700,000 gold coins in a month. Shenlang mysteriously took Mulan's hand and said, "Wife, let's make a bet. If I can earn 700,000 gold coins within a month, will you take the initiative to sleep with me?" He wrote these words in the palm of her hand.